Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Web Audio TV. If you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the like button.
101. How many abilities do you actually have? On the ancient tree, Yuan and the others of the Star Academy realized that things were going downhill. The captain of the two remaining academies looked up at them. It was obvious that they had been discovered. It was obvious that the enemy had discovered them. As I said, this chaotic battle happened so suddenly that there was definitely something wrong with it. Dongchuan Academy's captain had a black silk ribbon tied around his head. He sneered in disdain. The captain of North Sky Academy also smiled sinisterly. Really? You think you can win the championship in this way? He turned to the captain of Dongchuan Academy. Why don't we band together and eliminate this stupid academy? When the captain of the North Sky Academy suggested this, the captain of the Dongchuan Academy nodded. Paladin, attack. The main troop of the North Sky Academy was the Paladin army. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Spears were hurled at the top of the ancient tree. Retreat, shouted Yuan. North Sky Academy and Dongchuan Academy were both famous academies. If the Star Academy had to face them together, the Star Academy might not be their match. The two academies wanted to band together and attack at the same time. Facing countless spears, everyone displayed their capabilities. They had made it to the top 10, after all. Everyone dodged the spears effectively. But the problem was, they had all scattered in different directions to avoid the spears. Everyone has dispersed, said Yuan. Scammer Su, what do we do? Yuan pulled at Yuan and fled in a different direction. The lords of the two academies had already made up their minds to eliminate the Star Academy. Behind Yuan flapped his wings and followed her. He yawned as if he hadn't slept enough. To him, these battles were meaningless. What do we do? Asked Yuan again. Yuan remained indifferent. Detestable, exclaimed Yuan. The White Dragon Saint's plan with the ever-changing monster was supposed to be foolproof. They had not expected to be discovered this soon. If those two academies hadn't noticed them, they could have used the ever-changing monster to create trouble between them. However, their plan failed. With a monster like that, it was only a matter of time before we were discovered anyway, said Yuan. It's not like there aren't other plans besides the ever-changing monster. Yuan stopped in her tracks. She looked at Yuan in disbelief. What do you mean, Scammer Su? Just say it. Yuan was looking forward to whatever plan Yuan had come up with. She recalled that skeleton soldiers turned into skeleton knights under his ability. Even the golden behemoth occasionally turned into black gold behemoth. The defective ever-changing monster had turned into an effective ever-changing monster because of Yuan's ability. Therefore, Yuan was eager to see what Yuan had planned next. n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. Scammer Su, share your attribute panel with me. I want to take a look. Just this once, please, said Yuan. Yuan hadn't seen his attribute panel in a long time. She was sure Yuan must have gained a lot of new and strange skills. She remembered when he was in a hurry to upgrade the territory core to level 2. She had told him she would do it if he agreed to show her at least one of his abilities. And at that time, Yuan had shown her his attribute panel where she could see one of his abilities. Unfortunately, Yuan hadn't had the opportunity to ask him to show his attribute panel once again. Yuan asked him now but didn't hold any expectations that he would agree to her request. Yuan was too secretive and might not show her anything at all. Yuan was pleasantly surprised when Yuan agreed to show her his attribute panel this time. Yuan's attribute panel appeared in front of Yuan. In the abilities section, there was one very useful ability. Lost in the Night. When this night magic is cast, within the range of the magic array, enemies with weak willpower will be lost in the darkness and become its slaves. This skill is awesome, said Yuan. Don't tell me you can make the enemy troops betray their master. Yuan thought of a special unit in her territory called the Soul Altar. Within the range of the Soul Altar, once the enemy died, they could be revived as their own troop. When she saw the Lost in the Night ability, she thought it might have a similar effect to the Soul Altar. Yuan's lazy voice said, I am not sure. I haven't used the ability before. He yawned. Yuan was now aware of the issue. Scammer Su, you just obtained this ability recently, didn't you? Yuan was sure that he had received this ability recently and hadn't had the time to use it. Not really, said Yuan. I obtained it a long time ago. I just haven't used it because I have too many other abilities. Yuan was frustrated. Too many abilities. She really wanted to know how many abilities Yuan actually had. She calmed herself down. At least, she understood something out of this. I was right. Scammer Su is more suitable in supporting the troops than fighting directly, she thought. Yuan's ability was more suitable to support other troops than fighting himself. She thought about the many times he had strengthened the troops through his ability. She had never seen him fight. Yuan was now even more certain of her guess. Yuan had a stronger auxiliary ability than a combat ability. At that time, Yuan heard creatures chasing her from behind. Werewolves. Yuan was shocked. She hadn't expected that the lords would send werewolves to chase after them. Master, leave me to deal with these pesky creatures, said the White Dragon Saint. He had bloodlust in his heart. He wanted to kill all the werewolves. However, Yuan stopped him. What's the hurry, he said. Let me try my ability on them instead. He activated the Lost in the Night ability. A thick, dark mist spread and surrounded the whole area in a short time. The werewolves had been very angry in the beginning. They were roaring and snapping around, trying to find Yuan and the other lords. However, their roars gradually softened. They quietened and walked to Su Yuan's side, waiting for his command. 102 The scammer is scammer people again. Yuan was stunned by what she saw in front of her. Scammer Su, why are all your abilities so unnatural? Yuan and Su Yuan had been together for a while now, and still, she didn't know much about him. They were still like strangers to each other. Nov, L, B / JNN. Yuan now knew that he had more abilities. She knew about the night shift ability, then there was the chaos realm. Now, she had seen the effect that lost in the night ability could have. Forcefully controlling other troops was too unnatural to be an ordinary ability. Yuan was shocked. Do you want to use them to sow discord among the remaining 2 academies? Said Yuan. Isn't there a limit to your ability? Yuan started to worry. Although she didn't know much about Su Yuan's many abilities, she knew that all of them had their own limitations. She doubted the lost in the night ability could last forever. If that happened, Su Yuan's ability would be truly considered unnatural and heaven-defying. Whenever Su Yuan used his ability, it was accompanied by dark mists. Yuan guessed that the ability would only be effective within the region covered by the mist. If the creatures walked out of the area covered by the mist, the ability would lose its effectiveness. Or, it was likely that they might only be able to stay alive within the area of the black mist. Su Yuan looked into the distance and nodded. There are limitations to my abilities, said Su Yuan. But do you think those lords wouldn't come to investigate the dark mist when they see it? Yuan finally realized his intentions. I think I understand now, she said. Scammer Su, you are planning to trick them, aren't you? She was excited. Su Yuan was planning to trick the lords of the Dongchuan Academy and North Sky Academy to step into the dark mist. Even if the 2 academies are on their guard against the ever-changing monsters, they surely won't be able to defend against this mist. Yuan's small fist clenched tightly. After spending so much time with him, she finally felt like she could understand how his mind worked. There were plans in his mind. Yuan didn't need to know everything, just knowing half of it was enough. Yuan understood the plan, but the White Dragon Saint was still confused. He didn't understand Su Yuan's ultimate goal. Master, what are you planning to do with them? What's the hurry? Said Su Yuan lazily. You will find out soon enough. The White Dragon Saint was a little anxious, but he didn't dare say anything more. He waited patiently. Su Yuan began the first step of his plan. When the Dongchuan Academy lords realized that their troops had disappeared, they followed the trail all the way to the dark mist. That's the paladins from North Sky Academy, shouted a lord from the Dongchuan Academy when he saw a faint figure in the dark mist. A paladin in the dark mist turned around and waved to the Dongchuan Academy lords. Be careful of traps. No one present was stupid enough to follow. When they saw the dark mist, they knew for sure that there was a problem ahead. The paladin was in the dark mist. Something was wrong? Send some cannon fodders in to check the situation first, said the captain of the Dongchuan Academy. A few centaurs stepped into the dark mist. The lords from Dongchuan Academy were nervous. They observed the centaurs to see if anything would happen to them when they entered the dark mist. However, their worries seemed unnecessary. The centaurs seemed fine. It waved at everyone. It seems like there is no problem, said the captain. Send in a few people to explore. The captain of Dongchuan Academy was very cautious. Even though nothing seemed amiss so far, he still was ill at ease. He sent a few lords into the dark mist and waited. The 2 lords, who were chosen to explore the dark mist, trembled in fear. Captain wants us to go in? I don't want to. Everyone saw that the centaurs were fine. However, the centaurs and the paladins were troops. It was different for the lords. They were worried that the dark mist might poison them. What if it was something that only affected lords? What's wrong? Are you not willing to go? Asked their captain icily. The 2 lords shook their heads. They didn't dare disobey their captain. Under the captain's terrifying gaze, they cautiously stepped into the dark mist. Soon, the 2 lords yelled back happily. Captain, there is no problem here. It's safe. I don't feel anything bad. The 2 lords stayed inside the dark mist for about 10 minutes. They were fine. The dark mist wasn't poisonous, after all. Let's go. The captain finally decided to explore the dark mist. They didn't notice the centaurs smiling strangely at them. The paladins held on to their spears. Suddenly, the paladins attacked them, catching the Dongchuan Academy lords off guard. North Sky Academy, what are you doing? Shouted a lord from Dongchuan Academy. D*MN. Could they have found something in the dark mist that they want to keep for themselves? For a moment, everything was in chaos. The lords attacked without a care in the world. The paladins fought and retreated deeper into the dark mist. On the other side of the forest, the North Sky Academy lords also arrived in an area covered by a dark mist. What is this dark mist? Asked a lord from the North Sky Academy. The lords of the North Sky Academy also experienced the same thing as the Dongchuan Academy lords. At first, they didn't dare step into the dark mist and sent out troops to scout the way. Then they chose 2 lords to step into the dark mist to check. After confirming that there was no immediate danger, all of them stepped into the dark mist. They're from Dongchuan Academy. The North Sky Academy lords had found werewolves in the dark mist. The werewolves had attacked them without any warning. What's going on? Dongchuan Academy, are you guys crazy? In the beginning, the North Sky Academy lords were very cautious. They assumed that the Star Academy was playing tricks on them again. However, when the werewolves attacked them without a sign of stopping, they fought back. After the previous experience with the strange and unpredictable spy, the people of North Sky were very cautious. The werewolves charged toward the North Sky Academy lords. 103 The Regional Championship. Brother Wolf, calm down. Is this some kind of misunderstanding? A lord of the North Sky Academy asked. The werewolves' attacks failed, so they launched a second attack. Ha ha ha, laughed the werewolves. Misunderstanding, n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. The treasure in this dark mist is ours. Don't even think about stealing it. It was at this moment that the lords of the North Sky Academy found out about the treasure. They were convinced that the treasure had made the Dongchuan Academy attack them. You want to keep the treasure for yourself? Bah, said a lord from the North Sky Academy. He led his troops and charged toward the werewolves. Don't, shouted the captain of the North Sky Academy. He felt that something wasn't right. He had wanted to take his lords and escape out of the dark mist. However, in the blink of an eye, his fellow lords had gone crazy. One by one, they chased after the werewolves. Yuan, who remained hidden in the dark, was shocked as she witnessed everything. Yuan had never expected Yuan to do anything to others. She called him a scammer, but that was because he always tricked her. But to trick others? Yuan had never seen something like this before. She had assumed Yuan wasn't as good at tricking others as he tricked her. Seeing his despicable trick, she understood that Yuan had the means to trick not only her but also others. Yuan continued to observe from the dark. The lords from Dongchuan and North Sky Academies finally clashed. They had been chasing after the others' troops in the dark mist until now. Among them, a lord from North Sky Academy chased after a werewolf. He found a lord from Dongchuan. When the lord of Dongchuan Academy saw that the werewolves were being chased, he was enraged. North Sky Academy, don't even think about hurting our werewolves. Dongchuan Academy's lords protected their werewolves. The lords from North Sky Academy were furious at this. They started fighting each other. After some effort, the Dongchuan Academy lords attacked a few lords from the North Sky Academy. Seeing their team members harmed, the other lords from the North Sky Academy were filled with righteous indignation. They tried to kill our people. Lords from both academies clashed and fought in the dark mist. The entire area was now a battleground. Gradually, the dark mist dispersed, but the battle continued. At this time, the other lords of the Star Academy gathered slowly and discovered the scene. They didn't dare step into the dark mist. After the dark mist dissipated, everyone could see the scene unfold. Why are the lords from the two academies fighting? Didn't they agree to band together and eliminate us instead? The lords from the Star Academy were confused. Isn't that the captain? Some lords saw Yuan nearby. Yuan saw them too. She made a shushing gesture to indicate for them to be quiet. Everyone gathered around. The battle at the scene had already reached its peak. Although the lords of the North Sky Academy dominated the fight, it wasn't easy to defeat the enemy captain. The captain's strength far surpassed the other lords. Even if several lords banded together to fight the captain, they might not succeed in defeating him. The captain of the North Sky Academy's main troop were the paladins. The paladins raised their shields and charged with their spears, easily scattering the enemy troops. It was a difficult troop type to deal with. However, the Dongchuan Academy's captain wasn't afraid of the paladins. It's the poison army. The captain of Dongchuan Academy is said to be an expert in poison. It's said that all his troops are poisonous. One of the lords from the Star Academy explained the situation to everyone. The poison army was formed from a pool of dark purple mud. Paladins can't defend against poison, said one of the lords from the Star Academy. The purple puddle gradually turned into human figures and giant beasts. They charged toward the paladins. Holy light protection. Some paladins at the front were corroded by the poison. They screamed and turned into smoke. It was a terrifying poison that could corrode everything. The paladins had no choice but to use the holy light protection as a barrier to defend themselves. The dark purple poison splattered onto the magic barrier. Whoosh, whoosh. The poison corroded the magic barrier. If this continues, it's only a matter of time for the North Sky Academy to fall. Everyone looked at Yuan. Captain, are we not going to make a move? The lords were all puzzled. If they took advantage of this situation, they would have a chance to win. They could join the North Sky Academy and surround the Dongchuan Academy and eliminate them. If they could eliminate the strongest opponent right now, they could easily win afterward. If we join forces with North Sky, we'll definitely win. Some of the lords were too excited and told everyone that they could win this competition. If Dongchuan Academy was eliminated, North Sky would be too weak to retaliate against them. Their lords would not be able to compete with the Star Academy. However, if they continued to watch without doing anything, if North Sky Academy was defeated, the Star Academy would have to face Dongchuan Academy. Everyone looked at Yuan. Yuan looked at Yuan. Her blood pressure rose in frustration. Yuan had found a comfortable corner and was sleeping peacefully. Yuan thought that this was a boring game since he couldn't gain any significant experience points. After all, he thought it was better for him to sleep and gain some experience points rather than waste his time. Yuan knew she couldn't count on Yuan. However, it was his plan that turned the whole situation into what it was now. If she couldn't handle it from here, she would be disappointing everyone who relied on her. What should I do? Thought Yuan. Captain, we're finished, said Chenya anxiously. The North Sky Academy lost too easily. Yuan still hadn't figured out what to do next. The North Sky Academy couldn't withstand it. Their magic barrier was corroded by the poison. They were eliminated. Now, only Star Academy and Dongchuan Academy were left to compete for the regional championship. There is one bright spot in this situation, said one of the lords, smiling radiantly. The Dongchuan Academy had just completed a battle, and they aren't in a very good state. We can crush them. 104. You're finished if you wake the master from his sleep. The lords from the Dongchuan Academy had fought valiantly and eliminated the North Sky Academy. However, their own strength was also depleted. We'll just go and attack. Chenya smiled. Go. Mu Qing commanded his troops. Everyone summoned their troops. They had all sorts of troops, but they didn't have a decent strategy. They recklessly fought their way through. Yuan was somewhat worried. She felt that things weren't as simple as they seemed. So, she turned to Su Yuan. She didn't know why, but she felt uneasy. Scammer Su, what do you think will happen in this battle? The White Dragon Saint shushed her. Lower your voice. Don't disturb the master. The White Dragon Saint made a throat-slitting gesture as if threatening her. If Yuan woke Su Yuan up and displeased him, the White Dragon Saint was ready to deal with her. Yuan's face was bitter. She had accepted the White Dragon Saint into her troop because he was a powerful asset. However, he was not someone she could command. She saw that Su Yuan slept peacefully without a care in the world. She felt a little angry. She was familiar with his habit of falling asleep in critical situations, but this was the regional championship. This competition would determine whether they could advance to the next round or not. It was an important event. Su Yuan shouldn't be sleeping right now. Yuan approached Su Yuan's side, her face red with rage. Seeing his sleeping face, she thought of an idea. She leaned down and whispered into his ear, Su Yuan, don't sleep anymore. Su Yuan suddenly opened his eyes. An overlord and a dragon faced each other. She felt her cheeks burning. She couldn't look him in the eye. Fortunately, the White Dragon Saint provided a distraction. The White Dragon Saint didn't know the specifics of the situation, but he saw that his master's sleep had been disturbed. n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. Now, his master was awake. He had to punish the human overlord. Humph. Little girl, you are finished, he threatened. You disturbed master's sleep. The White Dragon Saint waved his dragon claw as though he wanted to attack Yuan. He was, of course, putting on an act. He knew that Yuan had a special relationship with Su Yuan as his overlord. He couldn't really harm Yuan. He knew that his master would tear him to pieces if he did. However, his master's sleep had been disturbed. So, as a loyal underling, he wanted to put up an appropriate act. Yuan was already feeling a bit embarrassed when the White Dragon Saint threatened her. She took that as an opportunity to change the topic. She pretended to be scared of the White Dragon Saint. Scammer Su, keep your underling under control. He is threatening me. After saying that, she pretended to be terrified and ran away. She looked up at the sky. Her heart was restless. When the White Dragon Saint saw Yuan abandon them and run away, he was speechless. What is wrong with that woman? He hadn't even tried that hard to actually threaten her. She just ran away. Thankfully, his master didn't seem to care at all. Su Yuan stretched lazily and looked at the battlefield. The Dongchuan Academy lords had exhausted too much of their strength in the last battle. When the Star Academy lords attacked them, the battle was one-sided. The captain of the Dongchuan Academy watched his teammates retreat one by one. Something surged within his heart. Despicable. The captain was furious. He felt that Dongchuan Academy could definitely beat the Star Academy in terms of strength. However, they had suffered many losses in the recent battle with the North Sky Academy. They didn't even have time to rest and recuperate. They were already under attack. I hate this, shouted the captain angrily. I, Bailey Yuan, have actually fallen to such a state. Bailey Yuan, captain of the Dongchuan Academy overlords, clenched his fists in fury. Memories surfaced in his mind. Bailey Yuan was the illegitimate son of the Bailey family of ancient Tong City. He was an illegitimate child, so he had not received love and affection from a young age. He had been bullied since his childhood. Something twisted in his heart. In order to become an heir of the Bailey family, he used all means available. The young masters of the Bailey family had either died, become injured, become crippled, or gone missing in the process. It wasn't easy for him to become the successor of the Bailey family. He swore that from that moment on, it would be the time for him to bid farewell to the past and walk towards a new life. He wanted to win the championship and qualify for the finals. He had to obtain the secret to becoming a mythical lord. He wanted to surpass the world. However, his ambition and dream were ruined. Bailey Yuan gritted his teeth so hard that they were bleeding. If I can't have it, none of you can have it. Bailey Yuan shouted madly. Poison army, self-destruct. When Bailey Yuan gave the command, his team members looked at him wide-eyed. Bailey Yuan, are you crazy? You want us all to die? His teammates scolded him. The poison army began to self-destruct. The purple mud-like substance exploded and splattered all over the forest. When the purple particles hit the trees, it let out a sizzling sound and the barks of the tree burned. The tree was dyed purple, and it rotted at a speed visible to the human eye. When the purple substance hit the ground, a purple mist rose in the air. The vegetation on the ground instantly withered. The first to suffer from the phenomenon was Bailey Yuan's team members because they were the closest to him. Some fell to the ground, struggling and twitching. I forfeit. I forfeit. One of the lords chose to forfeit and escaped the competition. Some lords didn't even have the chance to do that. They were wiped out. As long as their territory core was intact, they could still revive. However, the trauma of such a death would pester the lords for a long time. 105 Plague Messenger. Ha ha ha. Die. All of you, go to hell. Bailey Yuan shouted hysterically. His mental state wasn't very good. Not long after Bailey Yuan's team members died, the lords from the Star Academy were also affected. As the purple substance corroded the surrounding flowers and trees, purple smoke was produced. In an instant, purple smoke enveloped the surrounding area. Not good. The smoke is poisonous. Chenya screamed in shock. He covered his neck with both hands in pain as if countless ants were biting it. One of the lord's skin turned purple. He didn't have the chance to escape. He died because of the poison. I'm sorry, Captain. Captain, I can't hold on any longer. I forfeit, I forfeit. On the battlefield, the troops that everyone had summoned died one after another. The lords either fell or chose to forfeit the competition. In the end, Chen Ye, Mu Qing, and the other powerful lords fell as well. Yuan was also poisoned. However, she seemed more resistant to it than others. She felt as though countless needles were piercing her skin. She coughed. This is so uncomfortable, she mumbled. Yuan instinctively hugged Su Yuan close. Without any other escape, she held on to him. Su Yuan frowned and flicked his tail. He wrapped his claws around Yuan's waist and wanted to pull her away. But Yuan gritted her teeth and endured the pain. She clutched at Su Yuan tightly. Master, do you need me to take her away? The White Dragon Saint didn't think it was difficult for the Dark Demon Dragon to flung Yuan away. It was such a small matter that his master didn't need to put an effort into it. So, the White Dragon Saint asked him if he could take Yuan away. However, Su Yuan ignored him. He looked at Yuan. Her pained expression set his heart in turmoil. He applied the demonic dragon's blessing. Yuan felt a familiar power surge through her body. The power spread throughout her body and wiped out the poison. Yuan recovered a little. She realized she had been clutching at Su Yuan. She noticed that he didn't say anything. Instead, he looked at her with a serious face. Yuan was embarrassed because she was being stared at. She let go of Su Yuan hurriedly. Su Yuan, thank you, she said. She took a deep breath, feeling quite embarrassed. She needed something else to divert her attention. Bailey Yuan, who was in the middle of the poisonous fog, provided the distraction she needed. At this time, Yuan realized that there were black flames and black mist surrounding her. She was familiar with this feeling. It strengthened her attributes, and she felt a surge in her strength. Wasn't this the same ability that Su Yuan used to strengthen the troops? Yuan wondered. She thanked Su Yuan because she knew he had applied his ability to her, which helped expel the poison from her body. Then let's test how strong this ability has made me, said Yuan. She led the lords and the troops and charged forward. Yuan rushed to the front of them all. She closed her eyes and the chaotic thoughts in her mind disappeared. Her black tail danced in the wind, and the hair clip on her hair was broken by an unknown force. Her dress fluttered and danced with the black flames around her. A pair of dark wings erupted from her back. Yuan felt her attributes increase radically from the buff provided by the demonic dragon's blessing and the demon dragon symbiosis. Not far away, Bailey Yuan laughed madly. He sensed a terrifying aura and turned around to look. What? There's still someone alive, he shouted. Die, all of you, die. Bailey Yuan summoned his hero. His hero was a mysterious being. He had not summoned his hero since he entered the arena. Purple smoke surged, and an illusionary figure appeared. That's the Plague Messenger. When she saw the fly-like creature in the smoke, she was sure that this was Bailey Yuan's hero. SSS-class hero, Plague Messenger? It was no wonder Bailey Yuan rarely summoned his hero. Yuan understood why that was. The poison army could still control the spread of the poison. However, the Plague Messenger was different. In ancient legends, whenever the Plague Messenger arrived, numerous people died. The Plague Messenger had arrived again, and the poison spread rapidly. An entire hill had been corroded by the Plague Messenger's terrifying poisonous gas. It was riddled with holes. Many wild beasts fell to the ground, foaming at the mouth. They rotted in an instant and were reduced to bones. The Plague Messenger saw Yuan and her army and laughed maniacally. What are you laughing at? Yelled Yuan. With two abilities helping her, her confidence swelled. She was annoyed with the Plague Messenger's disrespectful laugh. In an instant, the sound of something breaking reverberated through the air. Yuan's current attributes were powerful enough for her to cause an explosion. Boom! The ground, where the Plague Messenger stood, exploded. A hole with a radius of 2 meters was created. However, the Plague Messenger wasn't injured. That was because Yuan hadn't been able to hit it. The moment the explosion took place, the Plague Messenger had turned into purple smoke and avoided the damage. It didn't work. Yuan frowned. Just as she was thinking about what other methods she could use, Su Yuan shared an ability with her. He shared the demonic dragon's breath with her. When faced with poisonous creatures, there was only the demonic dragon's breath that could be used to resolve the problem. N/O/vel/b/jn.c//om. Yuan felt a prompt emerge in her mind. What is this? She muttered. Have I unlocked other abilities because I transformed again? Yuan wasn't entirely sure what was going on with her, but for the present, she wanted to use all she had. Demonic dragon's breath, muttered Yuan. Why does the name sound so awkward? When she saw the name of the ability, she felt that it was strange. But she couldn't figure out why she was feeling that way. Besides, this was not the time to be thinking about other things. 106 Forfeit. After obtaining the demonic dragon's breath ability from Su Yuan, Suwan's confidence rose. A mere poisonous object, said Suwan. I will burn you. The breath that Suwan launched was different from the conventional dragon clan's breath. The dragon clan's usual way of breathing was through the mouth. Suwan waved her hand, and the black flames spread in all directions. The terrifying black flames seemed to have a life of their own as they devoured the poisonous mist. D*MN. What is this thing? Bailey Yun shouted in anger. Bailey Yun was startled by the black flames. The black flames turned into a dragon's head. The malevolent dragon's head radiated supreme splendor. Bailey Yun was scared. His back was drenched in cold sweat. He had only seen the dragon's head for a moment, then it disappeared as if it didn't exist. It was like an illusion. Bailey Yun was still doubting everything about his life. However, the Plague Messenger made a different discovery. This is Dark Demon Dragon's power. As an SSS class hero, the Plague Messenger knew about the Dark Demon Dragon. He never thought he would actually encounter a human overlord with the aura of the Dark Demon Dragon. At this moment, the White Dragon Saint created a magic barrier, covering Su Yuan and himself. On the one hand, it isolated them from the poisonous fog, and on the other, it prevented prying eyes from spying. If the Plague Messenger hadn't concentrated on the aura, he wouldn't have discovered the existence of Su Yuan and the White Dragon Saint. When Suwan heard the Plague Messenger, she trembled. Dark Demon Dragon. Suwan remembered that some heroes had called Su Yuan that. Wait, is this the Dark Demon Dragon's power? Suwan closed her dragon wings and observed them. These wings were very similar to the ones she had seen on Su Yuan. It was Su Yuan who gave me this ability, thought Suwan. Suwan knew that Su Yuan had many abilities that he hid from her, but she had always assumed that all his abilities were auxiliary abilities. He could strengthen the troops. Suwan never thought that her ability to transform was because of Su Yuan. Scammer Su's abilities are really heaven-defying. Suwan's breathing was rushed. In her mind, Su Yuan was always someone who had a support ability instead of combat. On the battlefield, the dark flames continued to devour the poisonous mist. The Plague Messenger had exhausted all his means. Its poison was burned and devoured by the dark flames. It felt sulky. It knew it was strong, but it had encountered a human overlord who had the power of the Dark Demon Dragon. The dark flames directly burned the poison mist to harmless smoke. Humph. Suwan snorted proudly at this time. She flew towards the Plague Messenger, intending to end this fight. The Plague Messenger was so scared that it almost flew away. He was afraid that the Dark Demon Dragon might be behind this. The dragon wings on Suwan's back slowly disappeared. The dark flames dissipated. Oh no, oh no, oh no, exclaimed Suwan. I was too full of confidence that I forgot there was a time limit. Suwan was so exhausted as her transformation was over that she fell to the ground. Her eyelids fluttered. This is the opportunity. Plague Messenger, kill her. Bailey Yun shouted. He saw that the Plague Messenger hesitated. Bailey Yun held a long spear in his hand and walked towards the place where Suwan had fallen. Die, 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 he said as he approached her. Bailey Yun reached Suwan. He did not hesitate. The long spear in his hand aimed at Suwan's head. He wanted to kill her in one hit. Be careful, cried the Plague Messenger. Bailey Yun was indifferent. All of a sudden, there was a terrifying impact. n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. Bailey Yun was sent flying backward. He hit a big tree and felt dizzy. When Bailey Yun woke up, he found that the Plague Messenger had blocked his path. The Plague Messenger was covered in wounds. His blood was green. From the looks of the wound, it seemed that the Plague Messenger was scratched by the claws of something. Bailey Yun looked in the direction of Suwan. Two dragons stood near her. One black and one white. Among them, the dark dragon looked very arrogant. There were many dark energy balls floating at his back. The magic array beneath his feet flickered. Dark flames burned all over his body. The bone blades on his body looked very frightening. The Plague Messenger's eyes widened. The dark dragon flapped his wings. A terrifying storm of wind blades rose. The ground was torn apart, and countless rocks were swept up into the sky. Towering ancient trees were uprooted from the ground. The poisonous fog left behind by the poison army and the Plague Messenger was all blown away. The thick clouds in the sky dispersed. There were no clouds in the sky for a million miles. It was shocking. Bailey Yun trembled. His teeth clattered. Green blood flowed on the ground to where Bailey Yun was. Only then did Bailey Yun realize that his hero, the Plague Messenger, had suffered serious injuries. The Plague Messenger's body was covered in wounds as if he had been cut by many sharp blades. No, cried Bailey Yun hysterically. Plague Messenger. In order to protect him, the Plague Messenger had blocked the attack and taken all the damage. A roar erupted at a distance. The two giant dragons circled in the sky and looked down. At this moment, Bailey Yun's heart was filled with despair. The Plague Messenger was not dead yet. Forfeit and give up, it said with difficulty. The Plague Messenger knew that there was nothing he could do to fight the Dark Demon Dragon. The Lord couldn't die completely. He could always be resurrected as long as the territory core was intact. Bailey Yun wanted to fight to the death. However, the Plague Messenger urged him to surrender. This was because it knew that the enemy was the Dark Demon Dragon, the legendary ruler of darkness, the strongest in the Dragon Clan. It wouldn't be surprising if such a creature possessed the ability to defy the rules of the Overlord plane and kill the Lords permanently. If Bailey Yun continued to fight with the enemy, Perhaps, Bailey Yuan would really die, and he would not be able to revive even with the territory core intact. The Plague Messenger wanted Bailey Yuan to surrender. However, the Plague Messenger was too fatally injured to say anything more. He completely collapsed. Bailey Yuan could not understand the Plague Messenger's intentions. Surrender? No, he yelled. I won't surrender. Bailey Yuan's eyes were red with anger. He knew that an overlord could always revive if the territory core was intact. He didn't have to fear death. 107 An arrow that ignored the rules of the overlord plane. The regional championship of the intercampus tournament had reached the most critical stage. Yuan from Star Academy and Bailey Yuan from Dongchuan Academy faced each other. However, Yuan was unconscious but her hero, Yuan, was still by her side. Bailey Yuan, on the other hand, had fallen. His hero was dead. Come, my warriors, he said. Let's burn bright in the last moments of our lives. Bailey Yuan used an item to forcefully open a portal from the arena to his territory. Although a lord could summon other troops from his territory, it wasn't guaranteed that he would be successful. Bailey Yuan's method was suitable for a sudden attack. The dimension portal opened and soldiers emerged from it. Unfortunately, the Plague Messenger hadn't been resurrected yet. Otherwise, it could have stopped Bailey Yuan from making a mistake. Before he understood the deeper meaning of the Plague Messenger's words, Bailey Yuan had decided to launch an all-out attack and fight to the death. It's been a long time since someone has made me so miserable. I have to admit that you are the strongest opponent I have ever encountered. Yuan couldn't hear Bailey Yuan. The troops rushed out of the dimensional portal. Foolish, said Yuan. Bailey Yuan's troops burned in dark flames. His soldiers that were burned to death by the dark flames were resurrected and started fighting again. However, they fought for the enemy. Any creature that was burned by the demonic dragon's breath had a high chance of being converted into Yuan's underlings. However, this effect didn't last forever. After the time limit, they returned to their original selves. On the battlefield, this ability was still useful. Bailey Yuan felt a sense of despair as he watched the battlefield that was filled with dark flames. The number of troops on his side kept decreasing, while the enemy's troops kept increasing. Why, said Bailey Yuan. How could a monster like you exist? Bailey Yuan couldn't understand. What kind of dragon is this? N/O/vel/B//in.C//om. He knew that there existed the dragon clan, but he had never heard of a dragon with such an ability. This is unfair, whined Bailey Yuan. How could the overlord plane allow a creature to have such an ability? Bailey Yuan punched a tree in anger. Ever since he had used special methods to kill the other potential heirs of the Bailey family, his life had sailed smoothly. He had never faced a setback like this. Why isn't he my hero? Muttered Bailey Yuan. He clutched at his hair. His eyes looked as though they were going to pop out of their sockets. Dark Dragon, you're so powerful. Why are you working with that little girl when you could work with someone much stronger? You and I could rule the entire overlord plane. We can rule the 3 realms together. Bailey Yuan felt that it was all unfair. Yuan was not a lord with great talent and strategy. A powerful hero assigned to her was a waste. On the other hand, he was ambitious and could unify the world under one power. However, he had never met such a powerful hero. What a joke, exclaimed Yuan. Bailey Yuan had already gone crazy. If I can't have all that, no one can. Don't even think about it. He watched as his own troops decreased and the enemy's troops increased. He had made a rash decision. Plague Messenger, you can understand my reluctance, right? Bailey Yuan turned and looked at the dimension portal. His territory was visible through it. He talked to the portal as if addressing the Plague Messenger in person. I'll end the contract with the Plague Messenger. The Plague Messenger will no longer be bound by the rules of the Overlord's plane. As a price, I'll. A bow and an arrow appeared in Bailey Yuan's hands. The bow and arrow were emerald green. A green mist filled the air. Yuan finally gained consciousness. She saw that Bailey Yuan aimed the emerald green arrow at her. Her eyes widened. This was dangerous. If that arrow flew toward her, she would surely be killed this time. Even with the territory core intact, she wouldn't be able to revive. Without the Plague Messenger, I can no longer participate in the tournament, said Bailey Yuan. Forget about the tournament. Bailey Yuan's face was fierce. His eyes looked insane. He had gone completely mad. He had been mentally affected since his childhood. He had already cancelled his contract with Plague Messenger at this point. He had given up on the Plague Messenger, and the Plague Messenger had returned to the hero plane. He was able to ignore the rule of the hero plane because of this. If the arrow hits Yuan, she would be annihilated. After her death, even if Yuan chose to complete the tournament in her stead, she could never be resurrected. Yuan could only stare at the emerald green arrow that pointed at her. Her eyes were wide in shock. She wanted to escape, but she couldn't move. She wanted to shout, but she was so exhausted because of the side effects from her recent transformation. She could do nothing but remain there and watch silently. She had only one choice, and that was to wait for death to reach her. Die. Bailey Yuan shot the arrow. It flew ever closer to Yuan. Bailey Yuan knew he couldn't fight the Dark Dragon. His target, therefore, was Yuan. If the Dark Dragon shielded Yuan, he would be annihilated. After that, Yuan wouldn't stand a chance to compete in the tournament. She will no longer be his opponent. If the Dark Dragon did not block the path, Yuan would be killed and would no longer be able to compete in the tournament. Bailey Yuan had thought everything through. But the arrow did not reach Yuan. Someone caught the arrow in his hands. It stopped midair. The poisonous mist that exuded from the arrow corroded the man's hand. He turned into a human, thought Yuan. The dragon wings behind his back unfurled. Yuan could feel the warmth of the flame at the end of his tail. The man was half human and half dragon. He had his back to Yuan. She was in a daze as she stared at his back. Yuan never thought she would see him again in human form. This was a glorious moment. Crack! Yuan snapped the arrow with his bare hands. He was furious. Usually, he despised Yuan for being so weak as a lord, but she was still under his protection. Losing and winning were a part of the competition. However, Bailey Yun's vicious attack to destroy Yuan angered him. 108 Master Demon Dragon is very weak. Bailey Yun had terminated the contract with Plague Messenger in exchange for the emerald green bow and arrow that could bypass the Overlord Plane's rules. If Yuan had blocked the arrow and gotten hit by it instead, he would have paid a great price. He could have been annihilated and sent back to the hero plane. However, he couldn't dodge it because it would hit Yuan. She would die permanently. Therefore, he made up his mind and chose another way. He had caught the arrow and prevented it from hitting both him and Yuan. This hadn't been easy to do in his dragon form. His dragon form was too big. There was a possibility of getting pierced by the arrow. So, he turned into a human and grabbed the arrow in his hands. Yuan's hands were covered in boils and pustules from the poison. Since you're so eager to die, I will fulfill your wish, said Yuan. The enemy had made the first move to kill, so Yuan didn't hold back either. He intended to use the demonic dragon's breath through the dimensional portal to destroy the territory core of the enemy. No, cried Bailey Yun. He realized that Yuan wanted to destroy his territory core. The dark flames would turn his troops against him. They would march in and destroy his territory. Bailey Yun would die. Yuan should have been the one facing death, not him. However, the tables had turned. Plague Messenger, kill those skeletons, said Bailey Yun in desperation. He instinctively called out to his hero. However, the Plague Messenger did not appear. Bailey Yun remembered that he had terminated his contract with his hero just moments ago. His hero was gone. Yuan transformed into a dragon and flew toward the dimensional portal. No, cried Bailey Yun. What are you doing? Nov, L, B //JNN. He was powerless. Bailey Yun could do nothing but watch as the dragon flew through the dimensional portal and destroyed his territory core with one slash of his claw. The elemental heart of the territory core was absorbed into one of the 12 dark energy balls floating at his back. It turned green. Yuan had collected another element. He flew back to the arena. Yuan looked down at Bailey Yun as he flew above. In his last moments, Bailey Yun wanted to surrender. If he forfeited, he would be teleported out of the arena. Even if the territory core was destroyed, he could still live his life as the heir of the Bailey family. Before Bailey Yun could finish his words, the dark dragon burned him. The crackling of the flames was loud. The enemy was obliterated. Yuan watched everything. Her heart was filled with sorrow. Everything is over. Yuan had recovered some of her strength. She could stand up with some difficulty. She looked around at the battlefield. This place had been full of lust and towering trees before the fight. She felt sad looking at the ruin it had become. Yuan had changed back to his small dragon form. He sprawled on the ground, fast asleep. The white dragon saint glared at Yuan. He blocked the arrow to save you, he said. Now, my master is injured. Yuan's heart felt heavy when she heard this. She staggered to Yuan's side. She picked him up in her arms and inspected his injuries carefully. She didn't find any wounds or scars on his body. Even his claws, with which he had stopped the arrow, were fine. He used all his energy to stop that arrow and fight, said the white dragon saint. Although his wounds have healed, the master is still very weak. Yuan heaved a sigh of relief. I am glad he is all right. She stroked Yuan's sleeping head. Yuan's gentleness left the white dragon saint speechless. The white dragon saint didn't know if he should tell her what Yuan planned. He knew a little bit about his master's plan. Yuan intended to sit back and let Yuan fight. His goal was to make sure Yuan didn't rely on his strength too much. He wanted her to face the enemies herself in the future. Although the white dragon saint understood this, he could not guess why Yuan wanted to make Yuan strong enough to fight the enemies herself. What he didn't know was that Yuan was Yuan's symbiont. If Yuan fought and killed the enemies, Yuan would get x100 more attributes and experience points. Hence, Yuan deliberately pretended to be weak in front of her. This way, he could command his underlings to pretend to help her while he watched from afar. In the end, Yuan would have to personally kill the enemy and clean her mess. It was the perfect plan. Yuan didn't know any of this. She only remembered Yuan rushing to defend her. She believed that he was injured and exhausted. He had saved her, after all. She couldn't doubt him after all he had done for her. If you encounter enemies again, you might have to fight them alone after this, said the white dragon saint. His words made sense, but Yuan was confused. Yuan was out of the picture for now, but she still had her troops and the white dragon saint for the remaining fights. Why would she need to fight? At this time, she felt that something was wrong. White, are you leaving? She asked. Yuan thought that he was leaving them for good. The white dragon saint shook his head. Why would you think that? I am not leaving. I will forever follow my master. I will help you if you encounter a problem. He would definitely make a move to help her. However, whether he would go easy on her or not was another matter entirely. 109 Yuan reminisced about the past. 2 days later, they were all back in their respective territories. Su Yuan slept, and the White Dragon Saint stood guard by his side. The result for the regional championship was already out. So-won was supposed to represent Division 5 in the finals? The finals will start in 3 days. We don't have much time. So-won had been desperately annihilating all kinds of enemy strongholds nearby. The Barbarian Stronghold, Wild Boar Tribe, Guerrilla Village, and many others had been destroyed. So-won's purpose was to accumulate as many resources as possible. At present, there were 2 powerful troops that So-won hadn't created yet. Those were the Dragon Knights and the Dragon Blood Warriors. The Black Gold Behemoth and the Cerberus were powerful. However, everything in the world had a counter. It would be a shame if they encountered a stronger troop in the battle that could destroy them. So, So-won decided to create Dragon Knights and Dragon Blood Warriors. If she only had Dark-type creatures in her unit, it would be easy to restrain them together. During the fights, she noticed that her troops were weak. When eliminating the various strongholds for resources, So-won noticed many limitations of her own troops. The skeleton soldiers were so weak that their attacks meant nothing to the enemy. It took a long time for even one attack to land on the enemy. It was as though they were drunk when fighting. So-won had observed the other troops. The skeleton knights were the same. One knight charged straight and didn't even turn back after hitting a wall like a fool. She had seen them fight valiantly before. She wondered if that was just the result of Su Yuan's buff. Without it, they were useless. Detestable. So-won looked at the troops in anger. Even her strongest troops were the same. The Golden Behemoth rode on the 3-headed Cerberus, forming the Hell Behemoth Knight. However, they only knocked down trees and branches instead of hitting the enemies. The Cerberus kept slipping on the ground with the Golden Behemoth on its back. So-won had to personally eliminate the enemies. Although her troops had fought bravely in the past, they were simply ineffective at the moment. She thought that they might still be weak from the recent fight. So-won was tired. Su Yuan, when will you wake up? She muttered. So-won reminisced about the past when a buff from Su Yuan strengthened the troops so much that they could eliminate the enemies without much effort. Unfortunately, after the regional championship, Su Yuan remained in deep sleep because he was still too weak. Now that she didn't have Su Yuan to rely on, she found it difficult to lead her troops. All her troops had problems. So-won felt exhausted by all of it. Just then, an urgent mission was issued in the Overlord Plain. An ancient ruin, the Sunken City, has spawned, and some ancient souls have awakened in it. All lords who explore the Sunken City can obtain resources. For every ancient soul you kill, the resources you obtain will be multiplied by 100. So-won was eager. Her entire demeanor had changed. So, if I kill 1 ancient soul in the Sunken City and get 10 metallic minerals, I will receive 1,000 of those minerals. So-won speculated. She was excited. The Sunken City was an ancient capital of an empire in the Overlord Plain, said So-won. It's bound to have numerous resources. Furthermore, for every ancient soul killed, the resources will be multiplied by 100. So-won's small fists clenched tightly. She shook Su Yuan awake. Scammer Su, stop sleeping? We have a new mission. So-won had already shaken him up. She then stopped herself and remembered that he was still weak from the previous battle. She felt guilty. Su Yuan raised his claw and slapped her hands away. What's with the noise? Su Yuan belatedly realized that he should have been pretending to be asleep instead of listening to her. He realized his mistake and stared at So-won. She stared at him too. For a moment, they both looked at each other. So-won blinked and broke eye contact. She excitedly picked him up from the ground. Su Yuan, you are finally awake, she said. Do you know how worried I was for you these past few days? So-won blurted out her worries for him in that instant. So-won had experienced the most difficult phase in her journey as a lord. Ever since Su Yuan fell asleep, her troops had acted strangely. They pretended to obey her orders but did everything in their power to not obey her command. n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. If not for the rules of the Overlord Plain, So-won thought that her troops would have rebelled against her. She wouldn't have to worry about a mutiny if Su Yuan was by her side. She told him everything and gradually calmed herself enough to regain her composure. The Sunken City. Su Yuan asked after So-won told him everything. He shook his head. He wasn't interested in resource gathering. He only wanted to kill monsters and gain experience. Furthermore, Sunken City was a maze-like place. Even if they wandered around for the whole day, they might not encounter a monster. It was better to use the 3 days to kill monsters they could find easily instead. As for So-won's plan of creating Dragon Knights and Dragon Blood Warriors, Su Yuan didn't really care. The current number of soldiers was enough for the competition. If that wasn't enough, Su Yuan thought that he would merge Black Gold Behemoth and Cerberus into something powerful and then apply the demonic dragon's blessing to make them powerful. So-won and Su Yuan's plans were completely different. However, Su Yuan couldn't tell her about his plan. So-won's current desire to improve and collect resources to build stronger troops was a good thing. If she found out that she didn't have to work hard as long as Su Yuan was there, he wouldn't be able to get her to kill monsters, so he could gain experience points. 110 changes in the territory. Su Yuan was too lazy to explore the Sunken City, but So-won really wanted to go. So-won briefly told him about the Sunken City, hoping he would change his mind after hearing about its history. Long ago, there was an incomparably vast empire in the Overlord Plain, So-won began. The netizens on the internet were going crazy over the news of the reappearance of the Sunken City. Numerous researchers dug up their research on the place. According to ancient historical records, the vast empire in the Overlord Plain covered almost the entire plain. This was the world's first unified empire. The empire had been prosperous. Many mages in the empire were masters of magic and explored the elemental seas. A divine knight, who signed a contract with a powerful hero, gained an increase in his strength. Countless alchemists had dabbled in ruins and magical devices. In the ancient era, there was no concept of an overlord. The people who signed the contract with heroes were called divine knights. Su Yuan understood that the history of the sunken city was indeed interesting. It had existed a long time ago, even before the Overlord Plane had come up with rules and designated people as lords. Unfortunately, the emperor of the ancient empire angered some entity, so the empire was flooded, and it sank overnight. Su Yuan was disappointed. The ancient and glorious empire had met its end so suddenly. n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. Don't look at me that way, said Suwan. I don't know the specifics either. This information is based on the research by the historians. Suwan was glad that Su Yuan was finally showing some interest. However, right after she finished explaining, he yawned and prepared to go back to sleep. Although Suwan knew Su Yuan was still a little weak, she thought it would be safer to take him along. At the very least, the troops and the White Dragon Saint would be obedient if he came along. If Su Yuan refused, the troops would continue to disobey her and create trouble. Suwan was distressed. The ground beneath her began shaking suddenly. What's going on? Suwan was scared. She climbed to the top of the dark castle to look around. She did not see any enemies nearby. The tremors are coming from underground, the White Dragon Saint said. Suwan sent out some of her soldiers to survey the area. It's the entrance to the sunken city, said one of the dwarves. The sunken city. The White Dragon Saint didn't know much about it. Su Yuan understood what was happening. The sunken city was an underground cave. Su Yuan had long since wanted to expand their territory to the underground. When the time came, he would build 18 levels underground. If an enemy wanted to attack them, they would have to break through layer by layer. However, for now, it was just a thought. It would require a lot of workers and massive resources. So, Suwan had put that plan on hold for now. If Suwan hadn't mentioned the sunken city, Su Yuan would have forgotten about it. According to the dwarves, there was a bottomless crack in a cave at the entrance of their territory. It seemed to lead to a wider cave. Suwan took Su Yuan along with her to investigate. The entrance of the cave was lit up by numerous torches. There was a huge crack and it was spreading. Did the earthquake do this? Suwan had wanted to explore the sunken city, but she had to focus on the problem at hand first. Otherwise, if something came out of the huge crack, it would severely damage her territory. Skeleton soldiers, go in and check. It was best to use the cannon fodders for things like this. The dwarves never disobeyed Suwan. However, she felt that if she kept using them for every little thing, they might also revolt against her. However, she did not have to worry about that with the skeleton soldiers. They were perfect to be used as cannon fodders. After the dwarves threw down the long rope, 10 skeleton soldiers descended through the cracks, one after the other. After the dwarves got a long rope, the first batch of 10 skeleton soldiers slowly descended from the crack. What's down there? Suwan asked after a while. She hoped that it was just an ordinary earthquake that had caused the crack. If it was something else, it would affect the development of their territory. They would have to move somewhere else. It was too expensive to move the whole territory. Suwan wanted to avoid that at all costs. The rope fell short of the bottom, so the skeleton soldier wasn't able to land. The dwarves collected vines from the vicinity of the territory and then joined them with the rope to extend it. It worked. The first skeleton soldier that had gone down finally landed on the bottom. However, there was another problem. The skeleton soldiers were simply cannon fodders. They didn't have high intelligence and couldn't communicate. After making sure the skeleton soldiers faced no threats, Suwan sent a few dwarves to investigate. Not long after, they tugged the rope to signal the others to pull them up. My lord. The dwarves, who had gone down the crack, stood in front of Suwan. They looked shaken. There is a huge ruin below us. There are many buildings. They looked like human buildings. The buildings are very strange. They emit a strange light. The dwarves spoke over one another. Quiet, said Suwan. Tell me one by one. Slowly. The dwarves finally calmed down enough to explain properly. The ruins beneath the cave were so vast that it could accommodate many buildings. There were already numerous buildings down there. However, most of the buildings were dilapidated and abandoned. The thing that most scared the dwarves was the fact that the buildings were marked with strange runes. The runes flickered in the darkness. A dwarf showed her a brick. He had thought that having visible evidence would be more convincing, so he had brought along a brick from the ruins. I brought this with me. Suwan suddenly remembered where she had seen the runes before. 111 The world at the bottom of the chasm. Suwan finally remembered where she had seen the runes that were on the brick. It was the runes of the ancient sunken city. She had seen these runes on the internet while searching for things about the sunken city. Historians had studied these ruins. Sunken city existed a long time ago. All buildings at that time used runes. The ancient and mysterious runes combined with the buildings to build the grand project of that era. So, this place beneath the territory is related to the sunken city? Asked the White Dragon Saint. Suwan didn't have a definite answer for this matter. Not necessarily, she said. Maybe one of the bricks from the sunken city had fallen into the dark river beneath our territory. So-won stooped. Su Yuan, who was beside her, pointed out the flaw in her explanation. How stupid of you, he said to So-won. A brick might have fallen into the underground river? Bah! The dwarves did say that there are numerous buildings down there. His words made her so angry that she gritted her teeth to prevent herself from retaliating. Ned Scammersu. She let her blood boil in humiliation, but she did not refute him because it was true. The dwarves did mention that there were numerous buildings in the ruin below. Her guess was wrong, but that would mean that the ruins below them were the actual sunken city? So-won went to gather more information. The sunken city has reappeared 50 kilometers away from our territory. According to the intelligence of the other lords, the sunken city had appeared in the dark river of the abyss. Could it be that the buildings below our territory are just a portion of the sunken city? The distance mentioned was so vast that the White Dragon Saint felt suspicious about the ruins beneath them. Su Yuan still looked indifferent. So-won thought of something at this time and turned to him. Su Yuan, I heard that there is a legendary overlord in the sunken city. So-won knew what would interest him. The elemental hearts? The lords that were defeated till now had very low-level elemental hearts. Su Yuan hadn't been satisfied with them. He hadn't even wanted to destroy the territory cores because the overlords were so weak. Su Yuan wouldn't have bothered with Bailey Yun's territory core if he hadn't tried to hurt So-won. There were no lords of legendary level here. However, divine knights were similar to the lords. The divine lords also happened to have something similar to the territory core. Perhaps, the later generations of lords' territories had evolved from them. Really? Su Yuan was interested. The lords of the ancient era were definitely not on the level of the lords today. In the ancient era, anyone who had reached the title of the divine knights was not ordinary. If he could obtain their elemental hearts, his chaos realm would grow powerful. Do you want to explore the ruins below? Asked So-won cautiously. She knew that Su Yuan might still be feeling weak because of the recent fight. However, if he agreed to go with her, the White Dragon Saint would surely follow. Su Yuan was unaware of So-won's motives. He agreed to go with her to explore the ruins beneath them. So-won was ready to explore the ruins with Su Yuan and the White Dragon Saint. With a whoosh, the wings behind So-won's back unfurled. She flew down with the help of those wings. So-won was now more familiar with her transformative capabilities. She kept in mind that it had a time limit. If she used the transformation for a longer period of time, she would suffer some side effects. However, using it for a few minutes had little to no side effects. Su Yuan, is this your doing? She asked. She knew that her transformation was because of him, but she wanted to confirm once. However, Su Yuan pretended not to hear her. So-won wanted to confirm it because she wanted to be sure about where she stood regarding Su Yuan. She was thankful for him, and she wanted to change her perception of him in the future. However, Su Yuan didn't want to tell her because he thought that she would thirst for more strength and power. He would never hear the end of it. The more he helped her, the greedier she would become. The two of them had different thoughts on the matter. After flying for a time, they finally reached the bottom. It's so bright here. Both So-won and Su Yuan were shocked by what they saw. There was a stretch of buildings that faintly glowed because of the ruins engraved on them. Stone bricks, tiles, and pillars were all branded with ruins that emitted light. It kept the place brightly lit, as though the ruins were neon lights that lit up the dark. N/O/vel/b/jn.c//om. I feel that this place is not as simple as it seems. So-won looked around and found that the ruins stretched into the vast underground. The buildings, shimmering with runes, extended beyond what eyes could see. The other end of the buildings was covered in mud and rocks. Could it be that these buildings extend beyond the edge of the city? Said Su Yuan. Maybe the sunken city is bigger than we thought it would be. What if the sunken city starts from here and continues for 50 kilometers? Su Yuan's words stunned So-won. How big is the sunken city? Wondered So-won. Could it really span 50 kilometers from here? So-won was still carrying Su Yuan in her arms because he pretended to be weak from the recent fight. They explored the ruins. Mud and sand and broken buildings. The place did match the description of the sunken city from the legends. No one knew the true name of the sunken city. No one even knew the name of the empire anymore. People only knew vaguely that the empire had been flooded and sunk overnight. So-won sighed. She suddenly noticed movement in front of her. The runes on the stone tablets seem alive. So-won saw an ancient stone tablet in front of her. The runes were not only flickering but also floating on top of the tablet. Silence, said the White Dragon Saint suddenly. He raised his claws and made a shushing gesture for her to be quiet. He pulled them behind a building to hide. My lord, that is the organization's encrypted information. As one of the 12 holy envoys of the Dark Screen, the White Dragon Saint was privy to many secrets of the organization. The runes in front of him were indeed ancient. However, similar ruins were used by the organization to transmit information. I will see if I can decrypt the information that they are trying to send to someone. The White Dragon Saint motioned for Su Yuan and So-won to wait there. He then made his way to the stone tablet. The White Dragon Saint waves his hand in a series of motions, and the runes began to spin around him. The White Dragon Saint read the information in the runes. After a while, the White Dragon Saint let the runes rest. He walked to Su Yuan's side. My lord, the runes were indeed created by the organization. The White Dragon Saint was also in disbelief. Even as one of the 12 holy envoys, he hadn't known about this plan. Fortunately, this information was encrypted, and the encryption method used was something that he could decipher. The organization had discovered this ancient ruin many years ago. From the White Dragon Saint, Su Yuan, and so on found out that the Dark Screen knew about this ruin. They had sent people to investigate it, but they had suffered heavy losses. However, the organization had gained something too. Using the runic stone tablet to encrypt and decipher the secrets of the ancient runes was one of the results of the organization's research. According to the runes, the city had 3 layers. The state of the sunken city was a little different from what Suan had expected. The ancient city was buried layer by layer. The area they were in right now was only the border of the sunken city. The Dark Screen had only been able to explore up to the 3rd floor. The lower levels were also very difficult to explore. They had used the runes to pull the sunken city to the surface. They were planning to accomplish 2 things at once. Everyone's attention would be on the intercampus tournament, so they could easily carry out their plan to explore. Also, they could use the lords to get rid of the ancient souls in the sunken city. The White Dragon Saint told them everything he had found out from the runes. Suwon remained alert. These guys are still thinking of using the intercampus tournament to their advantage. Suwon was looking forward to the final match of the intercampus tournament even more. However, she now began to realize that the tournament might not be as exciting and fun as she had imagined. Is the Dark Screen going to go to such lengths to the extent that they pull out this ancient ruin to attract the attention of everybody? Suwon knew about the value and importance of this ruin. This was not something money could buy. However, Dark Screen was even willing to do something like this? The White Dragon Saint shook his head. Willing? Not at all. They did this because they had no other choice. The White Dragon Saint told Suwon that even the Dark Screen wasn't able to subdue the creatures found in the ruins. The ruins themselves couldn't be hidden. Since it was going to reappear somewhere else anyway, the top few holy envoys might have thought of making good use of it to distract the lords. They could use the lords to get rid of the ancient souls. The Overlord plane would issue the prompt to the lords, anyway. By the time the intercampus tournament neared its end, numerous lords would be held back in the ruins. That way, it would be easier for the Dark Screen to implement its plans. Suwon took a deep breath after listening to the White Dragon Saint's explanation. This was all too shocking. Dark Screen had actually planned everything meticulously. This was an organization with an efficient structure and system. It was a pity that such a well-structured organization wanted to do evil. No matter how meticulous they were, they still had traitors like the White Dragon Saint, a spy who leaked all the information about the organization. Now, Su Yuan and Suwon knew all about their plans. I've put in so much effort just for the finals of the intercampus tournament. Suwon's small fist clenched tightly. The finals of the intercampus tournament would begin in 3 days. By then, all the plans of the Dark Screen would be revealed. Suwon glanced at Su Yuan. She wanted to see what Su Yuan thought. At this moment, Su Yuan looked around the ruins as though he didn't care about what the White Dragon Saint said. Su Yuan was searching for the Divine Knights. Suwon calmed herself and thought more about it. Perhaps the Dark Screen planned to trap everyone here. She definitely couldn't let them trap Su Yuan here. I don't want to explore the ruins anymore. I am going back to prepare for the intercampus tournament. Just as Suwon turned to leave, there was a movement. Green lights approached gradually from the distance. Isn't that the flower fairy? When Suwon could finally make out the figure in the light, she realized it was her friend Shi Linglong and her hero, the flower fairy. The flower fairy looked terrified. She flew to Suwon. Behind her, Shi Linglong ran for her life. A knight in tattered armor pursued them. The knight looked very strange. The armor he wore had numerous runes printed on the surface. The style of the armor looked very ancient. N/O/vel/b/in.c//om. Every step the knight took covered a vast distance as if he was shrinking the distance in real time. It's the Divine Knight. It was the guardian of the ancient empire. The most ancient overlord, said Suwon. The ancient era didn't have many rules for lords and heroes like today. The strong ones signed a contract with the heroes from the hero plane and became the Divine Knights. They signed the contract with the heroes and obtained the Heart of the Element, which became the territory core in the future. Therefore, they could be considered the first generation of overlords. When Suwon cried out in shock, Shi Linglong finally noticed her. Wan, she exclaimed. Shi Linglong felt as though she had met her savior. The only person who made her feel at peace was Suwon and her hero, Su Yuan. She was being chased by a divine knight, but Shi Linglong's confidence surged when she saw Suwon. As for Su Yuan, an idea sprang up in his mind when he saw the divine knight. He thought that the divine knight might have the elemental heart that he was currently collecting. The diving knight looked very powerful, so his elemental heart must be very strong. However, before Su Yuan could make a move, the White Dragon Saint rushed forward. The White Dragon Saint used his claws to slash at the enemy, but it was like an iron being struck. The White Dragon Saint's claws were numb from the shock. However, it didn't affect the Divine Knights. The White Dragon Saint realized that the thing in front of him was a skeleton in broken armor. Intruder, shouted the Divine Knight. How dare you disturb my master's eternal sleep? The White Dragon Saint was stunned. He attacked again. This time, he didn't attack physically. He used dragon music and dragon breath. A bunch of spells bombarded the area. Explosions happened and dust filled the air. The skeleton slowly walked out of the smoke. It's immune to magic. The White Dragon Saint began to doubt everything. Both physical and magical attacks were useless. This thing was unnatural. At this time, Yuan made her move. She transformed into a half-dragon form. Pitch-black dragon's breath surrounded the skeleton. "This is," muttered the skeleton. The skeleton was flustered. "You're from the upper realm." The skeleton was burned by the dark flames. The skeleton didn't scream. He stood quietly and let the flames burn him. "You once destroyed the empire," said the skeleton. "Now that the empire is recovering, are you here to stop it?" The skeleton's calm voice made Yuan fearful. There was too much confusing information to unpack here. The upper realm was the hero plane. Yuan and everyone else here called it the hero plane. Those who still called it the upper realm were the creatures in Overlord plane. Upper realm caused the empire to flood. Yuan and Shi Linglong looked at each other in shock. n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. Wan, this might be hard to believe, but it's the truth. She had read about it somewhere a long time ago. Shi Linglong patted Yuan on the shoulder. It was the upper realm that led the ancient empire to its destruction. Yuan was still in disbelief. But Shi Linglong sounded certain. "Which hero did it?" asked Yuan. Before Shi Linglong could answer, the skeleton that was enveloped in black flames let out a roar. "All of you are the God King's lackeys. Don't even think about destroying our home again." The skeleton rushed towards Yuan. But he was burned to ashes before he even reached her. The ashes drifted in the air. The words of the Divine Knight echoed in everyone's mind. "God King Tao Wu," muttered Su Yuan. His eyes narrowed. At this time, Shi Linglong was talking with Yuan. She was telling her about how she arrived here and what had happened along the way. All of this had to do with Shi Linglong's knack for attracting trouble. Shi Ling was on the hit list of the dark screen. They had even tried to kidnap her recently. Fortunately, Shi Linglong's hero, the Flower Fairy, was very efficient. She always helped Shi Linglong escape from dangerous situations. This time, they were in search of the sunken city. Like Yuan, she wanted to kill a few ancient souls to obtain some resources. However, Shi Linglong encountered members of Dark Screen. The Dark Screen member had been drawing runes. "I happened to pass by right at that time," said Shi Linglong. "That B***starred accused me of being a spy. He wanted to kill me because I saw him drawing the runes." Shi Linglong was furious. She felt that she had been wrongly accused. "Linglong, were you really just passing by?" asked Yuan. Yuan was a little suspicious of her friend. She always said she was just passing by, but every incident was somehow connected to her. Why was she always hunted down by the dark screen? It's true. Shi Linglong stomped her feet in anger when she realized her friend doubted her. "Forget it, let's not talk about these things," she said. Wan, I made a huge discovery while I was on the run." Shi Linglong told Yuan that she entered the sunken city from a crack that had appeared around 50 kilometers away. She had encountered the Dark Screen members and had been running since then. She had found many runes on her way here. The Empire's magic technology had been incomparably prosperous. It was so advanced that they could even launch an expedition to the sea and the stars, said Shi Linglong. The upper realm destroyed the Empire when it was at its peak. Shi Linglong excitedly shared this information with her friend. It wasn't just the Empire that had been destroyed but the entire land. All the living beings on the land were annihilated in the world-ending flood. 114 The second level of the underground world. The ancient past was destroyed in a world-ending flood. The flood unveiled the path to a new era. After that, the rules of heroes and lords were born, said Shi Linglong. Everyone looked at each other. Everybody had many doubts about the world-ending flood. The empire in the ancient past, which had the capability of marching to the stars and the sea, was destroyed by a mere flood. It was very strange. They wondered why the empire couldn't build a safe place for themselves, possibly in the sky. Floating buildings were visible in the ruins. Some buildings floated around with the help of the runes. With the Empire's magical and technological advancement, they should have had no problem with the flood. Perhaps, the world-ending flood was just a cover-up, Yuan said calmly. It became known from the skeleton that the upper realm had something to do with the end of the Empire. The real culprit must have been someone powerful from the upper realm. The Great Flood was perhaps just a cover-up for whatever had happened to destroy the Empire. But what do these ancient secrets have to do with us? Yuan believed that their purpose was only to accumulate resources and then deal with the inter-campus tournament. As for the destruction of the ancient empire, it had little to do with them. They didn't need to know all this. Shi Linglong was a little anxious. Wan, these things are related to us. Shi Linglong told Yuan about her discovery. The members of the Dark Screen are trying in vain to wake the ancient emperor of the empire. They are trying to do that so that everyone focuses on this instead of whatever they plan to do. Shi Linglong knew that she couldn't stop the Dark Screen from using the inter-campus tournament for their own interest. She was more than happy if she could destroy at least one of their plans. According to the people of that organization, they have set up a magic device in a central location underground. They're using ancient runes and magical technology to pull the entire empire from underground to the surface. We need to destroy their plan. How many secrets did the ancient empire hold? No one truly knew. n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. However, Shi Linglong knew that once this ancient empire emerged on the surface, numerous people would go crazy to covet it. At that time, the Dark Screen would implement their plan. Yuan looked at Shi Linglong. Linglong, why are you so concerned about this matter? Shi Linglong's little face puffed up in anger. Why do they have to keep hunting me down? She had been chased by the members of the organization and had barely escaped. She had seen the members of Dark Screen and heard all about their plans. She wanted revenge. Yuan looked at Yuan in her arms, and then at the White Dragon Saint. In the past, she was weak and afraid. But with the White Dragon Saint by her side, Yuan didn't have anything to worry about. So, Yuan followed Shi Linglong's lead with Yuan in her arms. As they walked deeper, they noticed that the ruins were more intact in this area. This is the entrance that leads to the next floor, said Shi Linglong. Until now, only 3 levels of the ruins had been explored. The first level, which was where they were now, was filled with dilapidated buildings. There were also very few ancient dead souls wandering around here. The next level was closer to the center of the capital of the empire. The buildings were a little bit well preserved in this area. The ancient souls wandering this place were stronger. Shi Linglong wanted to take everyone to the second level. She seemed happy to proceed to the second level. This girl is like a treasure-seeking mouse, muttered Yuan. She always appears when there are benefits. On the surface, Shi Linglong looked to be in a sorry state from being chased by evil creatures. However, it was because of the evil dark screen that she discovered the path to the second level. Yuan agreed with Yuan. Shi Linglong always seemed to appear in places where she could reap benefits. If we keep following her lead, maybe we will stumble upon something really beneficial, said Yuan. She was a little stunned at her realization. Shi Linglong indeed had a special ability to attract trouble, but this troublesome lifestyle also led her to places with the most benefits. However, Shi Linglong wasn't strong enough to fight against the enemies when she encountered them. They would work together to create a plan. Everyone followed Shi Linglong and arrived at a pitch-black cave. This is the passage to the second level. It's dangerous in there. I heard from the members of the Dark Screen that they paid a terrible price when they explored this level, warned Shi Linglong. However, they didn't have time to decide because, at this moment, they noticed a magical device that the Dark Screen had placed there. The runes on the magical device flickered. It transmitted an unknown energy to the earth. The earth shook. It seemed that this thing was the reason for the appearance of the sunken city. Little girl, you came back to die. The members of the Dark Screen laughed at Shi Linglong. They had chased Shi Linglong but hadn't expected her to be able to escape from them. If she had run away, they could have done nothing to her. However, Shi Linglong had returned. They found this to be an act of stupidity. Those who eavesdrop on our organization's secrets must die. The Dark Screen was made up of numerous native creatures of the Overlord Plane. Some of them had the head of a lion and the body of a human. Some had the horns of a cow and the claws of an eagle. Yet others had the wings of a bird and the hooves of a horse. Shi Linglong was so scared that she ran and hid behind Yuan. She knew how powerful the White Dragon Saint was. Although she didn't know why the White Dragon Saint stayed with Yuan, she knew that these creatures were nothing in front of him. The White Dragon Saint had shrunken down to a smaller size, so no one recognized him. The lion-headed creature sneered at Yuan. Your reinforcements aren't of any use, it said. Today, you will bear the consequences of offending us. The lion-headed creature glared at Yuan and the others with her. They thought Yuan and the bundle in her arms weren't a threat. It seemed to them that only the White Dragon Saint could fight among them. The lion-headed creature wanted to get rid of the White Dragon Saint first and then deal with the other weaklings. It wanted to drive the others to fear and despair. The lion-headed creature swung its axe at the White Dragon Saint. 115. The Dark Knight Saint. The White Dragon Saint didn't expect the fire to burn him. He was just standing there quietly. Why did the enemy treat him like a pushover? Clang! The White Dragon Saint used his tail to block the enemy's axe. Humph! The White Dragon Saint wasn't a useless decoration just because he chose to keep a low profile. He was extremely powerful. Even though he might be the last among the 12 holy envoys, he was still far more powerful than any of them. Boom! The White Dragon Saint didn't directly kill the enemy. Instead, he slowly approached them after blasting them down to the ground, exerting unparalleled pressure and fear on the enemies. With the White Dragon Saint's strength, it would have been easy to kill them. However, he was confused. Why did the enemies choose to attack him first rather than the others? Did they think he was easy to bully? The more he thought about it, the angrier it made him. The White Dragon Saint wanted to torture the enemies to vent his anger out. Don't come near. One of the members was lying on the ground in a sorry state. After they realized how powerful the White Dragon Saint was, they immediately changed their strategy. They attacked him together as a group. But the result was still the same. The White Dragon Saint waved his tail, and all of them were sent flying. Trash. All of you, said the White Dragon Saint. You think you are worthy of guarding the Arcanotech device. The White Dragon Saint's unintentional words made Yuan and Yuan vigilant. The magic device was important because it had the ability to pull the entire underground empire to the surface. The Dark Screen couldn't let such weaklings guard a device like that. You're a fool, shouted one of the members. If the Dark Knight Saint wasn't held back by the Divine Knight, you wouldn't dare to be so arrogant. Yuan and Yuan understood that they were not the only ones guarding the Arcanotech device. The Dark Knight Saint. However, the Dark Knight Saint seemed to be held back by the Divine Knights. Therefore, these creatures were guarding the device in her absence. Oh, thank you for your information. Since the Dark Knight Saint is not here, isn't this the perfect opportunity to destroy that thing? Shi Linglong laughed. She wanted to destroy the Arcanotech device before the Dark Knight Saint returned. She wanted to sabotage the Dark Screen's plan as revenge. The creatures became anxious when they heard this. If the Arcanotech device was destroyed, the Dark Knight Saint would make them pay most painfully. At this moment, Su Yuan flew to the top of the device. There was one thing in this device that attracted his attention. It had the elemental heart. The elemental heart was the one that was powering the device, providing it with immense energy. N/O/vel/B/jn.C//OM. Su Yuan wanted the device. It was a lightning elemental heart. It was definitely of powerful quality. Su Yuan's eyes lit up in excitement. The elemental hearts were of different grades, depending on the strength of the lord. Among the different types, legendary elemental heart was the strongest. However, it was only possible for Su Yuan to get hold of a legendary elemental heart if he ever met a legendary lord. There were very few legendary lords in the whole of the three planes. In the ancient past, things were different. The divine knights had their own elemental hearts, and they were mostly of the legendary level. Su Yuan knew that the elemental heart in front of him was of a legendary level. It probably belonged to a divine knight of the same level. Only a legendary elemental heart could power such an Arcanotech device, said Su Yuan. He knocked on the device. The members of the dark screen all screamed in fright. No, let go of that. Everyone shouted with all their might to stop him. But the White Dragon Saint still had them pinned down. They could only watch in terror as Su Yuan dismantled the Arcanotech device and plucked out the elemental heart. We're done for. The creatures agonized over it and lay on the ground in a daze. It was also at this moment that a roar sounded in the distance. Who is it? How dare you break the organization's arrangements? A dark mist surged, and a dark elf appeared from it. The creatures immediately rambled over themselves to complain. Your Excellency, these overlords are evil. They attacked us and destroyed the Arcanotech device. However, the Dark Knight Saint paid no attention to their whimpering. She stared at the White Dragon Saint. Even though the White Dragon Saint had changed his appearance to the extent that the creatures couldn't recognize him, it had no effect on the Dark Knight Saint. They were both members of the 12 Holy Envoys. There was no way she couldn't recognize him. White Dragon, what's the meaning of this? Asked the Dark Knight Saint. Although the White Dragon Saint was the last among the envoys, the Dark Knight Saint knew she would have difficulty fighting him alone. The White Dragon Saint's tail shook as he walked to Su Yuan. What do you mean? He said. My master wants to borrow this thing of yours for a while. Borrow. The Dark Knight Saint looked at the lightning elemental heart in Su Yuan's hand. She was furious. Master? That thing, she said. The Dragon Clan will be ashamed of you. The Dark Knight Saint wanted to spit out curses. She never thought someone from the proud Dragon Clan would bow to somebody like this. However, the Dark Knight Saint realized that something was wrong. The one the White Dragon Saint referred to as master was a dragon too. This little dragon looked ordinary. Why does the White Dragon Saint call him his master? Although the Dark Knight Saint did not know the specific reason for it, she was a little anxious when she saw the elemental heart in Su Yuan's hand. Don't touch it. Give it back. The Dark Knight Saint turned into wisps of black smoke and flew towards Su Yuan. She wanted to snatch it away from Su Yuan's hand. You dare to ignore me and attack my master. The White Dragon Saint felt insulted. The Dark Knight Saint didn't even care about the underling and directly approached the master. You can't challenge my master before me. You have to defeat me first. The White Dragon Saint let out a roar, and the entire earth started to shake. Countless wisps of darkness were shattered. White Dragon, does this mean you have betrayed the organization? Asked the Dark Knight Saint, icily. The White Dragon Saint looked down at the Dark Knight Saint. Betray? How could I betray something that I was never loyal to? Said the White Dragon Saint. He had joined the organization for a little bit of fun, after all. He had never really sworn loyalty to it. You traitor. The Dark Knight Saint was furious. She thought that the White Dragon Saint was an ungrateful wretch. The organization had treated him well, but he had chosen to betray it and become the enemy. I will make you understand why you were the last among us. The Dark Knight Saint decided to deal with the White Dragon Saint first instead of Su Yuan. As for Su Yuan, he secretly activated the demonic dragon's blessing and watched as black flames encased the White Dragon Saint. Oh, this sweet strength. Unparalleled power. 116 leaving the underground ruins. The White Dragon Saint's scales were now tainted by the black flames. For a moment, he looked as though he was a black dragon, not white. However, this black form wasn't whole. He glanced at his scales to see that some of them still remained white under the black flames. Little sharp-eared bug, what do you have that can fight against me? The White Dragon Saint mocked his opponent. The Dark Knight Saint was 7th among the 12 holy envoys, so there was still a big gap in strength and power between them. But, after obtaining the power of the demonic dragon's blessing, the White Dragon Saint felt as though he could overturn the sky. The Dark Knight Saint cast a wary glance at Su Yuan. Perhaps Yuan and Shi Linglong didn't notice, but she could. The White Dragon Saint's present aura was similar to what she noticed in Su Yuan. It's you who did this. The Dark Knight Saint wanted to kill Su Yuan. Even if this was just a buff, it was still terrifying. To be able to increase the White Dragon Saint's strength so much. What? Su Yuan innocently glanced at the Dark Knight Saint. He could feel her murderous rage. However, he had nothing to worry about. The White Dragon Saint would take care of it. Even if he couldn't defeat the Dark Knight Saint and was killed in the process, he could always be revived at the territory core. The White Dragon Saint also felt the Dark Knight Saint's rage. He walked in front of Su Yuan. He was loyal only to Su Yuan as much as a little brother would be. He also knew, as an underling, that he would receive a lot of benefits in the future. The Dark Knight Saint looked icy. She didn't know what other abilities Su Yuan had, but she hadn't expected him to increase the White Dragon Saint's power by so much. She decided it was foolish to recklessly start a fight. What if the tiny black dragon gives another buff to the White Dragon Saint in the middle of a fight? The Dark Knight Saint was reluctant. She looked at Shi Linglong. So, you are the one who has been going against the organization. Shi Linglong's name and face were familiar to the higher UPS of the dark screen. Shi Linglong was furious. She stumped her feet in anger. So what? Do you want to fight back? For the record, it was you guys who started chasing after me for no reason at all. Shi Linglong felt wronged. Yuan and Yuan were clear about this. Shi Linglong looked aggrieved. She just needed to walk around to encounter something dangerous. She was always chased and hunted down. Interesting, said the Dark Knight Saint. The previous overlord who dared to go against the organization died without the ability to be resurrected ever again. Her threat had incited Shi Linglong's rebellious heart. Bah, you think your threat can scare me, she said. I will make it clear to all. I will always go against your organization, no matter what. With Su Yuan and the White Dragon Saint with her, Shi Linglong wasn't afraid of anything. The Dark Knight Saint left. She turned around for the last time to glance at the elemental heart in Su Yuan's hand. The legendary elemental heart was a rare treasure even in their organization. After the Dark Knight Saint left, Su Yuan merged the elemental heart into one of the 12 dark energy balls and absorbed it into his chaos realm. Now, there was an additional lightning element in the chaos realm. If he ever encountered an enemy with the lightning element, he could activate the lightning chaos core and directly disable the enemy's ability. Others didn't know about it. Only Yuan, who knew a bit about Su Yuan, thought that the elemental heart was of great benefit. Since we've stopped the enemy's plan, it's time for us to leave. Yuan had been wary of the second level from the moment they stepped through the entrance. She wanted to leave this place immediately. Now that they had achieved their goal, there seemed to be nothing they could do further. However, at this moment, the sounds of thousands of horse hooves reverberated in the cave. That's not good, said Shi Linglong. It's the army of ancient souls. Shi Linglong turned pale with fright. The confrontation between the White Dragon Saint and the Dark Knight Saint had caused too much of a commotion. It had awoken the ancient souls. One by one, the ancient souls charged toward Su Yuan. Mysterious runes were engraved on their armors, which carried special powers. They aren't dead. Yuan looked at the scene and sighed. The ancient souls looked like they were made of flesh and blood. They did not look like the undead at all. No, they're already dead. But, in a sense, they are somehow immortal, at least within the boundary of the ancient empire. But if they leave the boundary, then they will reveal their true colors, explained the White Dragon Saint. No matter what, they couldn't resist looking at the majesty of the ancient souls. They had to retreat. The White Dragon Saint let out a dragon breath behind him, and large numbers of ancient souls fell. However, the fallen ancient souls were revived in an instant. We need to leave the ruins. The White Dragon Saint activated a dragon language magic, and walls of earth and ice rose from the ground. They slowed the advance of the ancient souls. Although everyone was in a dire state, they had to admit that the White Dragon Saint's method was quite effective. Everyone arrived at the first level. They only had to follow the original path and return to Yuan's territory. We have unknowingly killed so many ancient souls. Yuan suddenly discovered this. Even though everyone was fleeing in a dire state, they had killed so many ancient souls on their way. When they reached the first level, Yuan realized she had killed almost thousands of ancient souls. Does this mean that I only need to get 100 units of minerals to turn it into 100,000 units of minerals? Yuan was excited. At this moment, the entire sunken city started to shake. The ancient ruin was about to collapse. I have a premonition that this place will be closed for a while. Yuan quickly asked the White Dragon Saint and Shi Linglong to help her collect some resources. If she didn't collect them now, she might not have the chance later. Yuan was right. They had just collected some resources when the entire ruins began to collapse. After facing bumps along the way, Yuan finally found her way back to her own territory. She reached the crack and climbed out of it. I have enough resources. Yuan did not forget her original purpose of exploring the ruins. Initially, she only wanted to deal with the intercampus tournament. That was why she was eager to collect resources to create Dragon Knights and Dragon Blood Warriors. Now, she had enough resources. It was finally time. n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. 117. You're allowed to scam anybody, but not me. So many resources? It's like a dream. Back in the territory, Yuan was so happy that she couldn't stop smiling. Su Yuan always used up resources, so she didn't usually have so many resources in her territory. Seeing the number of resources now made her immensely happy. Suddenly, Yuan remembered something. She turned and looked at Su Yuan. Scammer Su, you better not scam me this time. Yuan stared suspiciously at Wish. Although she assumed that Su Yuan was still a bit weak, she was unclear about how powerful he was. Who knew what kind of tricks he would use to continue to trick her? Su Yuan nodded lazily, as though he had no intention to trick her. At this moment, the White Dragon Saint stood up and spoke for his master. What kind of entity do you think master is? You are just a puny human overlord? Don't think too highly of yourself. The White Dragon Saint was aggressive as if Yuan's words had violated some taboo. So-won looked at him to discover that his gaze was filled with a sort of fanaticism. She had only seen that kind of look in religious fanatics. The White Dragon Saint was like a fanatic believer of Su Yuan. He thought that So-won was wrong to talk this way to someone as high and mighty as Su Yuan. So-won helplessly shook her head and sighed. There were many words in her heart, but the only thing that she could muster was a sigh. It was impossible to communicate with him in a rational way. So-won gave up. However, Su Yuan looked at So-won. Why would I trick you? He shook her head in disdain. The White Dragon Saint was right. With the power he had, why would he bother tricking a small human overlord? So-won breathed a sigh of relief at his response. She tried to think back on everything. She realized that Su Yuan had never actually lied to her outright. Su Yuan had hidden some things and planned meticulously, and So-won had fallen into his trap. She only needed to be more careful. So-won looked at Wish. She walked to the territory core and began to create Dragon Knights and Dragon Blood Warriors with the resources she now had. I have enough resources. I will make 100 of each type. According to the current number of resources, even after creating 100 Dragon Knights and Dragon Blood Warriors, she would have enough resources to squander. Do you wish to create Dark Dragon Knights X100? Yes. So-won pressed the option. Do you wish to create Dark Dragon Blood Warriors X100? Confirmed. So-won only reacted at this time. It seemed that something was wrong. Wait, not a Dragon Knight, she asked. What's with the Dark Dragon Paladin? She immediately checked her territory attribute panel. The Dragon Knight soldiers had become Dark Dragon Knights. As for the Dragon Blood Warriors, they had become Dark Dragon Knights. Scammer Su, what did you do? So-won's first thought was that Su Yuan had tampered with it again. Su Yuan was a dark demon dragon, after all. Anything related to darkness was his doing. However, Su Yuan lazily turned his head to look at So-won with a puzzled look on his face. His sheepish expression always made her blood boil in annoyance. What? Su Yuan asked, puzzled. The White Dragon Saint chimed in. Human Lord, what is the meaning of this? You dare question the great demon dragon? The White Dragon Saint waved his dragon claws at So-won and bared his teeth. He looked as though he was ready to tear her apart if she did anything wrong. So-won was angry. She pointed at Su Yuan and then to the attribute panel of the territory. What's with the Dark Dragon Knights? So-won insisted that this was related to Su Yuan. However, Su Yuan was too lazy to explain to her. The White Dragon Saint moved closer to the territory core to take a look. You human lord, how dare you slander the master? The White Dragon Saint pointed at the information related to the Dark Dragon Knights with his claw. Open your eyes and take a good look. So-won looked at the overbearing White Dragon Saint and felt a little guilty. Could it be that she had misunderstood? So-won looked in the direction the White Dragon Saint pointed. She finally understood the reason for her confusion. A long time ago, the territory's military evolution direction had been already fixed. Su Yuan was a dark type hero. Therefore, her troop types were all dark types. Therefore, Dragon Knights automatically transformed into Dark Dragon Knights, while Dragon Blood Warriors transformed into Dark Dragon Blood Warriors. The Dwarven army still retained their attributes and was not converted to Dark type because they were forcibly converted and not created from scratch in So-won's territory. n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. This. So-won trailed off. She blinked and looked at Su Yuan. She had really made a mistake. I can't always blame myself, thought So-won. This was all wrong. If Su Yuan hadn't decided on her behalf, she might not have been stuck with Dark-type troops. Then she wouldn't have to consume so many resources. So-won was exasperated. If she could make Dragon Knights and Dragon Blood Warriors according to her original plan, she would have remaining resources to spare. But turning them into Dark-type troops meant an increase in resource consumption. Now, the resources that she had obtained with great difficulty were instantly consumed. No matter how she thought about it, it was all Su Yuan's fault. However, when she looked at him, she couldn't utter a word. That was because he hadn't really lied to her. This time, he hadn't interfered or tricked her. The White Dragon Saint saw that So-won's resolve had weakened and took advantage of the situation. Human Lord, if you continue to slander my master, you will bear the consequences. The White Dragon Saint made a throat-slitting gesture. So-won felt fear. So-won looked at Su Yuan. She felt a little angry. Scammer Su, keep your underling in line. She saw Su Yuan yawn. I don't care anymore. Do whatever, she exclaimed. So-won gritted her teeth in anger. But she needed to restrain herself because, this time, Su Yuan really hadn't lied to her. She had been so angry at the beginning. She even blamed him. But now, she felt guilty. 118 The Dark Dragon Knight. So-won brushed aside her worries about Su Yuan for the time being. She was waiting for the Dark Dragon Knights to be completed. I would like to see what's so special about these Dark Dragon Knights that took so many resources to be created. Although So-won was angry at the number of extra resources that had cost her to create the Dark Dragon Knights, she was curious to see how powerful this troop was. The Dark Dragon Knights cost more resources to create than even a black gold behemoth. So-won waited. The first Dark Dragon Knight was finally complete. This Dark Dragon Knight was somewhat different from what So-won had imagined. In her imagination, the Dark Dragon Knight was actually a dragon with a knight in shining armor on its back, holding a long spear. However, what she saw in front of her was nothing like that. So-won had expected the Dark Dragon Knights to be different from Dragon Knights, but she hadn't thought it would be this dissimilar. What stood in front of her was far from a mighty, ordinary dragon, it was instead a bone dragon. There was barely any flesh and blood on its body. It was entirely made of bones. Its wings flapped and it soared into the sky. Seated at its back was not a knight in shining armor, but a bony skeleton. The skeleton wore a tattered, old armor that was covered in rust. It wasn't holding a glorious spear of precious metal like in Suwon's imagination. It held a long spear that was made of bones. It looked old. The bone dragon flapped its wings, and a cloud of dust rose from the ground. Dark Dragon Knight, a top-tier troop class that evolved after being eroded by the primordial darkness. In addition to having defense and attack power no less than that of ordinary dragons, it also has the ability to remain undead, which is very difficult to achieve. Attribute: death is not its end. If the Dark Dragon Knight's soul fire is not extinguished, it can be resurrected infinitely on the battlefield. Evolution: Rightward Arrow Dark Dragon Knight General Rightward Arrow Ultimate Dark Dragon Knight. Suwon felt as though she had discovered a whole new world of creatures. This is strange, muttered Suwon. The previous troops never showed such detailed information. Suwon recalled the troops she already had. She didn't know the evolution capabilities of the other troops at all. She could only discover it one at a time. The Dark Dragon Knight was different from her other troops. It showed detailed information. It even showed its evolution capabilities. Dark Dragon Knight General and Ultimate Dark Dragon Knight, mumbled Suwon. Although I have never seen something like this before, it does sound powerful n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. Suwon looked at Su Yuan. It would take a long time for her to develop the Dark Dragon Knight into a Dark Dragon Knight General. However, it was different from Su Yuan. She had seen him apply his ability to the other troops, which had helped them evolve rapidly. If she could somehow convince Su Yuan, she could get to see the Dark Dragon Knight General today, or even the Ultimate Dark Dragon Knight. Su Yuan and Suwon had been together so long that it was impossible for him not to know what was on her mind. The moment she looked at him, he knew what she wanted. However, Su Yuan didn't deny her. It was because he was curious too. The White Dragon Saint looked at Su Yuan. Master, these Dark Dragon Knights still seem to be lacking something. The Bone Dragon looks weak. Suwon was taken aback at his words. Only a powerful dragon like the White Dragon Saint could notice something like that. The Bone Dragon, without the Knight, was on par with the Black Gold Behemoth in terms of strength. At least that was what Suwon thought. However, she decided that the White Dragon Saint wasn't wrong, either. In his eyes, the Bone Dragon was weak. Master, in the future, if we get an opportunity, why don't we go to the Dragon Clan's burial ground and dig out some of the powerful skeletons of the dragons, said the White Dragon Saint. I believe that we can create an incomparably powerful Dark Dragon Knight army with the bones we find. The White Dragon Saint said it as though it was the most casual thing in the world. To Suwon, the prospect of disturbing the resting place of the dragons to dig out their bones sounded very disrespectful. Suwon realized why the White Dragon Saint got along so well with Su Yuan. It was because his heart was also as black as Su Yuan's. After some discussion, Su Yuan wanted to see if he could turn the Dark Dragon Knights into Dark Dragon Knight General or even the Ultimate Dark Dragon Knight. He applied the Demonic Dragon's blessing on it. The Dark Dragon Knight's body burned with dark flames. Its attributes increased drastically. It's changing, exclaimed Suwon. The Dark Dragon Knight in the sky was wrapped in dark flames. The pitch-black flames compressed, forming an outer shell around the Dark Dragon Knight. Gradually, it cleared out. The dark flames had really turned into a shell. The Dark Dragon Knight in the sky was no longer in the form of a bone dragon. Instead, the dragon had turned pitch-black with a knight at its back in black armor. The dragon's eyes were blood-red. It's the Dark Dragon Knight General. Suwon looked at the attribute panel. Su Yuan's power was really unnatural. It had successfully transformed the Dark Dragon Knight into Dark Dragon Knight General. Master, that dragon looks like the real Red Eyes Dark Dragon from the hero plane, said the White Dragon Saint. At this moment, the Dark Dragon Knight General wanted to show off its strength. It let out a hiss, and black flames gathered in the dragon's mouth. That's the misty demonic dragon's breath, said Su Yuan. The dark fireball inside the dragon's mouth was his demonic dragon's breath. Su Yuan had helped the Dark Dragon Knight evolve, so it had gained its own ability in part. Boom! The black fireball fell from the sky and headed toward the mountain in the distance. Suwon and Su Yuan could see a mushroom cloud rising from the mountain. When the dust settled, the entire mountain had been razed to the ground. So powerful. Suwon gulped. She looked at the Dark Dragon Knight General in admiration. However, Su Yuan wasn't satisfied. He wanted to see the ultimate Dark Dragon Knight. How do I make it evolve? Su Yuan thought about a solution to it for a long time. 119 The Legend of the Chaotic Dragon King. Dark Dragon Knight could turn into Dark Dragon Knight General with the Demonic Dragon's blessing cast by Su Yuan. How will the Dark Dragon Knight General continue to evolve? Suwon understood Su Yuan's issue. Do you need to apply more buff to help it evolve further? She asked him. If Su Yuan could apply his ability to a Dark Dragon Knight General, he could help it evolve further into the ultimate Dark Dragon Knight. The troop that receives a buff cannot receive it a second time, he said. Oh, said Suwon. Unless we have an original Dark Dragon Knight General, we can't buff it into the ultimate Dark Dragon Knight. Unless Suwon found other means to help the Dark Dragon Knight evolve into the Dark Dragon Knight General permanently, Su Yuan couldn't apply his ability to help it to evolve into the ultimate Dark Dragon Knight. Both Su Yuan and Suwon fell into deep thought to come up with a solution. The ultimate Dark Dragon Knight sounded very powerful indeed. The final round of the inter-campus tournament will be held soon. If Suwon had a powerful troop with her, it would make a world of difference. Although she already had the White Dragon Saint as a helper, it was always better to have extra troops at hand. Master, I think I have heard about the ultimate Dark Dragon Knight somewhere before, said the White Dragon Saint while Su Yuan and Suwon were busy racking their brains. The White Dragon Saint tried to recall where he had heard about it before. I think there used to be an ultimate dragon clan in the ancient past. It's just a legend, though. The White Dragon Saint shook his head and sighed. He told them that the dragon race was many and varied in the past. There were the ultimate dragons, the sky dragons, the electric dragons, etc. Unfortunately, they had gone extinct. The prosperous dragon race only had a few species of dragons left today. The true red-eyed dark dragon was an ancient relic now. n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. Suwon was so surprised that she was open-mouthed. There were that many species of dragons before? I thought the dragon clan only had dark dragons, white dragons, red dragons, green dragons, and gold dragons. Suwon was always discovering something new these days. The information she possessed always fell short of the ancient secrets she discovered. The White Dragon Saint ignored Suwon. He continued with his narration. It was said that there was a supreme ruler among the dragons in the ancient past. He was the king of the dragon clan and a master of chaos. He was called the Chaotic Dragon King. The White Dragon Saint looked at Su Yuan thoughtfully. It is, of course, only a legend. The dragon clan doesn't take it very seriously. However, that was until I met you, my master, said the White Dragon Saint. The chaotic presence you have is becoming more and more apparent. It is similar to the Chaotic Dragon King. Master, perhaps you will become a Chaotic Dragon King after so many eras. The White Dragon Saint had guessed it for a while now. The Chaotic Dragon King. The king of the dragon clan. The White Dragon Saint did not even believe in such an existence until he met Su Yuan. Although Su Yuan was a dark dragon, he exuded a lot of chaotic auras. This made the White Dragon Saint think of the legendary Chaos Dragon King. Perhaps, one day, he could contribute as Su Yuan ascended to the throne as the Chaotic Dragon King, supreme ruler of the dragon clan. The White Dragon Saint looked at Su Yuan expectantly. However, Su Yuan didn't seem interested. He yawned lazily. Suwon's eyes widened. She looked at Su Yuan too. She had mixed feelings in her heart. She had always considered Su Yuan a bit weak. She knew he had a powerful auxiliary ability, but not so much of combat skills. Su Yuan has the potential to become a dragon king. Even though Suwon found the information exaggerated, she couldn't help herself from imagining how powerful a chaotic dragon king would be. I need to treat Scammer Su better than this, she thought. Otherwise, he might just discard me when he becomes the dragon king. The White Dragon Saint sighed and continued with his story. The ultimate dragon was something different, he said. It is said that it had 3 heads. Suwon glanced at Su Yuan. Their eyes met. They thought about the same thing. 3 heads? Wasn't it the same as Cerberus? Suwon recalled the Hellhound troops which had been merged into a 3-headed, ferocious Cerberus with Su Yuan's ability. She wondered if Su Yuan could use his dark fusion on the Dark Dragon Knights in the same way. Su Yuan, try your dark fusion ability on them. Suwon pointed at the Dark Dragon Knights that had already been created. Su Yuan shook his head. It doesn't work that way. No matter how many Dark Dragon Knights I try to fuse, they won't turn into the ultimate Dark Dragon Knight. Su Yuan had used dark fusion many times before. He knew about its limits. If he wanted to create the ultimate Dark Dragon Knight, he would probably need to fuse multiple Dark Dragon Knight generals. Suwon thought that what he saw made sense. Su Yuan applied the demonic dragon's blessing to 3 Dark Dragon Knights and evolved them into Dark Dragon Knights generals. The ability's effect was only temporary. Once the time was up, they would return to their original forms. Su Yuan activated dark fusion and merged the 3 Dark Dragon Knights generals. Su Yuan felt the energy rapidly drain from his body. It had been a long time since he had felt such a drain on his energy. He had grown so strong that he could usually use demonic dragon's blessing and dark fusion without much impact on himself. However, this case was different. Fusing the 3 Dark Dragon Knight generals made him feel drained and exhausted. Interesting, muttered Su Yuan. The more energy it took to merge with the 3 Dark Dragon Knight generals, the more powerful the troops would be. In the sky, the 3 Dark Dragon Knight generals gradually fused together. The process was slow and time-consuming. Suwon noticed that Su Yuan was physically weak. He swayed in the air. Su Yuan. Suwon knew that Su Yuan was still weak from the last fight. However, he seemed especially drained now. The fusion ability must have taken a toll on him. She ran to him and held him in her arms. At the same time, the merger in the sky ended. 120 The dragon that should have gone extinct. The fusion was over. In the sky, the 3 Dark Dragon Knight generals merged into an ultimate Dark Dragon Knight. This is the ultimate Dark Dragon Knight, thought Suwon. The ultimate Dark Dragon Knight hovered in the air and the space around it distorted. Isn't this just the red-eyed, 3-headed Dark Dragon? Asked the White Dragon Saint skeptically. The White Dragon Saint wasn't trying to slander the dragon or Su Yuan. It was indeed true. The body of the ultimate Dark Dragon Knight was similar to the red-eyed Dark Dragon. The only difference was that it now had 3 heads. At the same time, countless mysterious patterns appeared on its body. The patterns were not just decorations. They were runes with mysterious powers. On the dragon's back, there was a warrior who was covered in ancient armor from head to toe. He held a spear and looked downward. It's not the same. It looks like it's on a different level. Yuan muttered. Although Yuan was unable to recognize the armor that the soldier wore, she did realize that the armor was made of red gold and mithril. N/O/vel/B/C/in.C//OM. These two types of metals were extremely precious. They were also rare. A small piece of red gold or mithril would cost an arm and a leg. However, the warrior on the back of the three-headed dragon wore armor that was made of a generous amount of red gold and mithril. The ultimate dark dragon roared. The earth trembled and began to crack bit by bit. The clouds in the sky were blown away. Shi Linglong, who was close to Yuan's territory, was actively preparing to make things difficult for the people of the dark screen. At this moment, there was a loud noise in the sky. A tremor spread to Shi Linglong's territory, and the ground cracked. What's going on? Shi Linglong was flustered. She walked out of the territory hall and looked outside. She was shocked by what she saw. The clouds in the sky seemed to be dispersing in all directions under the effect of some kind of force. It was as if a stone had been thrown into a calm lake, causing ripples to spread out in all directions. After a short while, the clouds in the sky dissipated quickly. A few nai, what's happening? Shi Linglong asked her hero, the flower fairy. The flower fairy's voice trembled. It's an ancient dragon from the dragon clan. Ancient dragon. Shi Linglong was confused. If it was just the dragon clan, what was the big deal for the flower fairy to be this terrified? She had already seen the dark dragon Su Yuan, and the white dragon saint. Why was a few nai so terrified? No, it's... The flower fairy shook her head as she struggled to explain. The existing dragons, such as the dark dragons, white dragons, red dragons, green dragons, and gold dragons, only appeared in the later era. In the ancient past, there were species of dragons that you might have never even heard of. The flower fairy took a deep breath. Shi Linglong could not see the ultimate dark dragon night in the sky, but she could. The ultimate dark dragon is the cause for the dispersing clouds in the sky. The dragon clan had many species that went extinct. The flower fairy tried hard to explain, but Shi Linglong looked like she didn't understand how terrifying the ancient dragons were. The flower fairy continued with her story. You are aware of the current pentashade dragons, right? There were other species in the past. There were gemstone dragons, fairy dragons, etc. These dragons were very rare. Shi Linglong could only shake her head. If she had known about these things, she wouldn't have been so suspicious of everything. The flower fairy continued with her explanation. The pentashade dragons evolved from the emperor dragons of the ancient past. The legendary emperor dragon had 5 heads, which represented different attributes. Those types of dragons were also called the elemental dragons. After the emperor fell, he was divided into 5 different dragons, creating the pentashade dragons that we see today. Shi Linglong finally understood a little bit of the history of the dragon clan. The 5 emperor dragons were only one of the many dragon clans in the ancient era. There might have been other dragons who were even more powerful and terrifying. Is that the foundation for the current dragon race? Asked Shi Linglong. It was hard for her to imagine what kind of era it was when such dragons existed. She trembled at the thought of giant dragons crossing the sky. Shi Linglong suddenly realized something. That's not good. That came from Yuan's territory. She rushed to Yuan's territory to check on her friend. In Yuan's territory, the demonic dragon's blessing ended. The fused ultimate dark dragon knight also disappeared. They all turned back into dark dragon knights. That's a pity. I am afraid we can't use that ability whenever we want. Yuan looked at Su Yuan in concern. He was exhausted. The ultimate dark dragon knight could only be used as a last resort. Once it was created, Su Yuan would be too exhausted to do anything else. We found a new troop type, said Yuan excitedly. The dark dragon knights had been such a pleasant surprise. What about the dark dragon blood warriors? Thought Yuan. The dark dragon blood warriors were also ready. Compared to the bone dragon and the knight on its back, the dark dragon blood warriors looked very ordinary. The dark dragon blood warriors looked human. They held large machetes in their hands. Their muscles bulged. Let's see what kind of evolution they are capable of, muttered Yuan. Yuan looked at the attribute panel, but there was nothing. The dark dragon blood warriors were different from the dark dragon knights. They did not have detailed information about their abilities, attributes, and evolution capabilities. Why don't the dark dragon blood warriors have these? Yuan was full of doubts. The white dragon saint said thoughtfully, perhaps it's because the dragon blood warriors are too weak. Even after becoming dark dragon blood warriors, they are still too weak and not as qualified. A dragon blood warrior was so named because they bathed in the dragon's blood to strengthen themselves. It was still impossible for them to be on par with the power of a dragon. It would be impossible for them to be equivalent to the dark dragon knights. When Yuan obtained these, the dragon knight troop type had been the main reward and the dragon blood warrior troop type had been supplementary. It meant that only the most powerful troop type had a detailed attribute panel. Yuan was somewhat disappointed. The dark dragon knights had surprised her too much. Her expectations for the dark dragon blood warriors had increased. Just forget about it, muttered Yuan. The dark dragon knights have already brought us enough surprises. The dark dragon blood warriors are just a bonus. Yuan was actually a bit disappointed that the dark dragon blood warriors couldn't evolve into something else. However, she looked at Su Yuan. He had used dark fusion and was too exhausted. Yuan was worried. She decided to forget about the dark dragon blood warriors for the time being. 121 enhanced skills. Yuan was feeling really disappointed when Shi Linglong arrived. Wan, are you alright? Shi Linglong had run all the way to Yuan's territory. She was panting. As soon as she found out that the terrifying power was coming from her friend's territory, she rushed over. I'm fine. Yuan wasn't prepared. She wondered why Shi Linglong had suddenly come to her territory. I am so glad you are okay, said Shi Linglong. Wan, I saw a terrifying thing in the sky just now. I don't know where it went. It was above your territory. Yuan finally understood. Shi Linglong had seen the ultimate dark dragon knight. She had hurried over because she was afraid for Yuan's safety. Yuan wanted to tell her friend about the recent developments, but Wan, which B** starred sent something like that to harm you. Shi Linglong was fuming. Really, it's not done? It ran away after a roar? What a wimp. Shi Linglong cursed at it. Yuan was now in an awkward situation. She could see that her friend was very angry and dissatisfied with the ultimate dark dragon knight. If she told her that it was actually her troop, how would her friend react? So, Yuan pretended like she didn't know anything about it. Su Yuan was asleep, but the white dragon saint snickered. It was amusing for him to see Yuan in a bind. Anyway, it's okay as long as you're fine, Wan, said Si Linglong. The grand finals for the intercampus tournament is not very far now. You have to rest well. After making sure Yuan was safe, Shi Linglong left. As they were leaving, the flower fairy glanced up at the sky and saw that several dark dragon knights circled the sky. The flower fairy wondered if the ultimate dark dragon knight they had seen was somehow related to Yuan. Maybe it had something to do with Su Yuan. It's suspicious, thought the flower fairy. She was sure it was related to Su Yuan, but Yuan had denied any involvement. So, the flower fairy kept quiet. She was scared of Su Yuan and the white dragon saint. Whenever the flower fairy stepped into Yuan's territory, she felt like she was entering a minefield. She trembled in fear. Shi Linglong was in a good mood after finding her friend safe and sound. Time passed, and it was finally the day for the finals. Su Yuan had also recovered fully. The grand final for the intercampus tournament. I feel like it is not as simple as we think it is. He recalled the information he had regarding the finals of the tournament. He wanted to make his own preparations. The one who could absorb the god core could become a mythical lord. The competition venue is supposed to be on the back of an ancient beast that the dark screen is trying to revive. So far, that was all the information he had. The dark screen wanted to revive the ancient beast by taking advantage of the tournament. He felt that the grand final of the intercampus tournament was like a dangerous storm that was brewing quietly. Su Yuan considered his own situation. I haven't used any of my skill enhancement points after I reached level 60. Su Yuan had a total of 3 skill enhancement points. He wanted to carefully consider the skill that was worth enhancing. He thought about the new skills he had achieved after he reached level 60. He hadn't paid much attention to it before, but now he felt like he had to make full use of every skill. Dark Destructive Light summons a huge black pillar of light from the sky and penetrates the earth. All enemies within the pillar of light will be annihilated. Damage dealt is Spirit X5. Original Field summons a force field. The field can block most attacks. I guess I should enhance the original field, thought Su Yuan. He didn't really need it that much, but he was afraid his overlord would die if he didn't have a shield to protect her. The fight would involve a mythical, ancient beast at that. It would likely possess some power that could bypass the rules of the overlord plane and kill the lord permanently. The original field would indeed be of use. If something happened, he could summon the original field around Yuan. After she was protected, he could fight without restraint. The existence of a lord had its advantages, but it also had disadvantages. In most cases, a lord was very beneficial to the hero. The lord would always share experience points with the hero and revive them if necessary. Having a lord meant having many lives to spare. However, when the hero was stronger than the lord, the drawback arose. The hero would then be held back by the lord because the hero had to think about keeping the lord alive while trying to fight. Su Yuan used one of the skill enhancement points to enhance the original field ability. Original Field LVL2 summons a force field that can withstand most attacks. The force field will form a space of its own, and anyone inside it can escape into an alternate dimension to avoid damage. Not bad. Su Yuan nodded in satisfaction. N/O/vel/B/in.C//OM. The original field at level 2 exceeded his expectations. Even if the force field can withstand a lot of damage, it was inevitable for it to break at some point. At that time, being able to escape into another dimension was pretty useful. Su Yuan still had 2 skill enhancement points left. He thought hard. Maybe I should strengthen my attack abilities. Su Yuan realized that the attack abilities he had were rather simple. The only truly destructive abilities were the Demonic Dragon's Breath and Dark Destructive Light. He decided to enhance the Dark Destructive Light ability. Dark Destructive Light LVL2 summons a huge black pillar of light from the sky and penetrates the earth, annihilating all enemies within the pillar of light. Damage dealt is Spirit X10. The Dark Destructive Light has the ability to lock space. Once it locks onto an enemy, it can bombard the enemy across space. 122 Special Building, Dark Arena. Bombard the enemy across space. Su Yuan was satisfied with the result. He could lock an enemy and use the ability to annihilate them. Even if the enemy fled the area, it wouldn't matter. The enemy could be destroyed. Su Yuan used the skill enhancement points wisely. He had used one to strengthen defense. He now had only one skill enhancement point left. The last one, what should I enhance? After thinking about it for a while, Su Yuan decided to enhance Demonic Dragon's Blessing. He used that ability frequently. There were other two abilities he used all the time, which were Night Shift and Dragon God Slumber. However, they were both passive skills. Su Yuan used his last skill enhancement point on the Demonic Dragon's Blessing. Demonic Dragon's Blessing LVL3 imbues the Demonic Dragon's aura onto dark creatures, strengthening them. All attributes will increase by 1200% for 30 minutes. Su Yuan felt satisfied with the new developments. He noticed some changes in the territory. It seems a new building has been built. Su Yuan followed the sound of construction and came upon something which had just finished building. Dark Arena. The building was under construction for a long time ago. It had taken too much time to complete. Finally, it was done. Dark Arena LVL1, the troops placed inside this unit will be fused permanently. Su Yuan's eyes narrowed as he saw the information about the new building. Suwon's territory didn't have many strong troops, but she had enough that could be used as cannon fodders. Su Yuan created a lot of skeleton soldiers to increase the population. They were pretty useless. He could fuse them into skeleton knights by using the dark fusion ability, but that was only temporary. This dark arena could fuse them permanently. However, he didn't have time to experiment with it because Suwon rushed over as soon as she heard the commotion. Scammer Su secretly built something like this, thought Suwon. Suwon always assumed that Su Yuan was causing trouble secretly. However, when she saw the dark arena in front of her, her doubts vanished. Su Yuan. She hugged him happily. She knew she wasn't the one who had given the command for the building to be constructed, so it was obviously Su Yuan who had done it. It was what she needed the most right now. You are my lucky charm, she said. Suwon was ecstatic that she was able to get a hold of such a special building because of Su Yuan's foresight. She was excited to use the building. The White Dragon Saint also rushed over. What is this? The White Dragon Saint was also very curious about this building. When he found out about the use of the building in front of him, he exclaimed, "This is amazing." So, this is the product of the Overlord Plane. The units were being built with the help of the Overlord Plane, so there was nothing wrong with how the White Dragon Saint put it. Suwon discussed the usage of the new unit with Su Yuan. We can fuse the skeleton soldiers fuse and see how it turns out, she said. But even after fusion, they will not be that strong, though. The fusion took time, and they were running out of time. Suwon tried to calm herself. Her original plan was to fuse all the skeleton soldiers because their combat power was very weak. However, she gave up on the idea. She might do it after the intercampus tournament when they had enough time to spare. n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. Suwon and Su Yuan tried fusing several troop types and concluded that it took longer to fuse stronger troops. Suwon's plan was ruined. It meant fusing two black gold behemoths would take too long. They couldn't make it in time for the tournament. She had wanted to fuse the black gold behemoth and the three-headed Cerberus. It seemed that was impossible to accomplish right now. After discussing with Su Yuan, she decided to fuse the troops with average combat power. Maybe we can fuse the dark goblins for now, she said. 2 dark goblins were sent to the dark arena. They fused and created another stronger dark goblin. Big dark goblin, Yuan, at your service, said the creature. It doesn't look like much, but it certainly looks stronger, said Suwon. She wasn't completely satisfied with the outcome. However, Yuan did look bigger and stronger compared to the other ordinary dark goblins. It was at least 2 meters tall. It looked like a small giant. Yuan brandished its mace and displayed its strength. Let's see what others can do, said Suwon. She sent the 2 skeleton knights into the dark arena. They fused into an undead commander. Its attributes were tripled. Troops fused in the dark arena had 3 times more attribute points than their original forms. The amplification made Suwon very happy. After trying the fusion process with a few other troops, she had some information. Fusing 2 ghouls created a ghoul king while fusing 2 gargoyles created a big gargoyle. Data collection was somewhat complete. Which troop should we fuse next? Suwon asked. Su Yuan didn't need to think twice. He suggested skeleton knights. Suwon thought that Su Yuan had a special preference for undead, skeletal creatures. She told him as much. Fusing skeleton knights created a skeleton commander with special undead characteristics. I prefer the undead because they can be resurrected infinitely on the battlefield, said Su Yuan. Suwon was stunned. As expected of Scammer Su. All right, she said. We will do as you say. The dark arena continued to fuse the creatures. Every fusion consumed a certain number of resources. Fortunately, the dwarves were very hardworking. They continued mining and replenishing the resources of the territory. Time passed quickly. Finally, it was the day everyone had been waiting for. This day has finally come. The grand finals of the intercampus tournament was here. Suwon had been waiting for this day for a long time. She had also fantasized about the freshman tournament back then too. However, at that time, she didn't know Su Yuan's capability and never expected to reach this state. When she looked back, everything had worked out, and she had finally reached here. 123 Your hero's favorability toward you has increased. This is the back of the legendary giant beast. Yuan and Su Yuan arrived at the venue through a dimensional portal. What was in front of them was a lush, green world. The green grass under their feet was fragrant and soft. There was a dense growth of trees in the distance. There were green mountains and clear streams. Everything looked ordinary and tranquil. If she didn't know about the ancient beast, she would never believe that this place formed the back of a creature. At this moment, an explanation of the relevant rules was visible in front of them. All participants will be randomly placed at a location in this arena. The overlords can summon their troops through the dimensional portal. However, no one is allowed to leave the arena and return to their territory. If an overlord does this, he or she will be immediately eliminated, said Yuan as she read the rules. Every overlord will be provided with a gem. Yuan looked at the blue gem that appeared in her hand. It looked very beautiful. Yuan turned to Su Yuan. Su Yuan, this is called the competition gem. It is a mark of the overlord's participation in the competition. The competition will last for 3 days and 3 nights. Once the time is up, points will be given depending on how many gems the overlord has collected. The top 3 people will receive a special reward. Yuan explained the rules to Su Yuan. She glanced at the bag in her hand. She handled it delicately, as though she was afraid it might break. If we want to win, we will need to snatch the gems from the other overlords. Yuan was full of energy at the thought. However, Su Yuan looked lazy. He didn't care about the gems. He couldn't care less about the whole competition. He was here partly because he couldn't stand Yuan's yammering. She threatened to carry him to the arena if he continued to sleep. So, he tagged along. The other reason was to collect territory cores to fill his chaos realm. As long as this goal was fulfilled even to an extent, he couldn't care less about the winners and losers. Yuan was not in the mood to coddle him for now. She had seen Su Yuan being energetic only once during the mock tournament. That was because he had a hidden agenda. Yuan needed to stay alert. If Su Yuan was unusually spirited, it would only mean he had some hidden motive. Yuan didn't have time to think about that right now. Yuan thought about it for a while and handed the gem to Su Yuan. Su Yuan, I will let you keep this. This was a sign of her sincerity. She trusted him enough to put him in charge of her competition gem. She hoped he could see her sincerity. However, Yuan did have another reason for doing this. She believed that the gem would be safer with him than with her. She knew that he was stronger than he let others believe. He had saved her life, after all. She placed the gem in his hands. Either way, Yuan felt that this was a good idea. It would show Su Yuan how much she trusted him, and the gem would be safer in his hands. Yuan was unaware that Su Yuan had already guessed her thoughts. The White Dragon Saint didn't know what was in her mind, but Su Yuan knew her well. He could read her intentions with just one look at her face. Prompts appeared in Yuan's mind. Your hero's favorability toward you has increased. Your hero's favorability toward you has increased. Your hero's favorability toward you has increased. The series of prompts shocked Yuan. She hadn't expected that her simple decision could increase her favorability to such an extent. The favorability scale was still increasing. 70, 90, 100. It reached 1000. Yuan realized that she had been played. How could the favorability increase to 1000 suddenly? This is not normal at all. Yuan looked at Su Yuan. He looked at her innocently. She recalled that he was a master manipulator. He could hide everything from her. So, was it any difficult for him to create a fake scale? He must have tampered with the interface. Yuan gritted her teeth. She felt that she might have entrusted the task to the wrong person. She had good intentions and yet, Su Yuan tricked her in this manner. Yuan calmed herself. She felt that she might need to have a talk with her hero. If there was any misunderstanding between them in the competition, it would definitely affect their teamwork and the outcome of the competition. Su Yuan stared at the gem in his claw. The material doesn't seem like anything I have encountered before. He activated the true eye of the demon dragon to analyze it. With this ability, he could trace everything that had happened in the past 24 hours. Since Su Yuan had grown stronger than before, his ability was also more powerful. The true eye of the demon dragon could trace the past of an object infinitely. There was no limit of 24 hours, anymore. It now depended on how much energy Su Yuan would spend on the ability. If he spent more energy, he would be able to look further into the past. When he activated the ability, something like a clock appeared in his mind. The needle moved, and time reversed. As expected of the master, exclaimed the White Dragon Saint. The ability to see through time is an ability we can't even dream about. Yuan, who was watching, was also stunned. She had discovered some of Su Yuan's abilities in the past few days, but she hadn't expected him to be so powerful. n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. She had always believed that Su Yuan had a strong auxiliary ability that made the other troops, and even the White Dragon Saint, bow in front of him. Whenever Su Yuan used his ability, the attributes of the other troops skyrocketed. This situation convinced Yuan further of her theory. She didn't sense any threatening or offensive power from Su Yuan. This ability was also a very strong supporting ability. Su Yuan saw the past of the competition gem that he held in his hand. Time continued to rewind. He could see how the competition gems were created. 124 I want to follow the king. It's a building upgrade stone. He was a little surprised when he saw the original form of the gem. The gems that the contestants currently had were made from the building upgrade stone. What? Yuan's head buzzed. Building upgrade stone. That was an extremely valuable item, much like the troop class upgrade scroll. It could upgrade a building by one whole level? Su Yuan, why did you suddenly mention the building upgrade stone? Suan looked at the gem carefully. She wanted Su Yuan to confirm it once more. She couldn't believe it. Su Yuan held the gem in front of Suan. This gem is made from the building upgrade stone, he said. Suan gulped. She was conflicted. It would be so great if the gems weren't used to just calculate points and instead, we were able to keep them. Su Yuan, she said. Can this gem still be used to upgrade buildings? Su Yuan looked at the gem for a long time. He shook his head. Suan's face was filled with disappointment. It was like holding a golden cup in one's hand but being unable to use it for anything at all. Just when she was ready to give up on the idea, Su Yuan said, if I smelt and forge it again, it's possible that we can use it to upgrade buildings. Smelting and reforging. Suan's eyebrows furrowed slightly. She recalled something else. Su Yuan, don't we have dwarves? Their forging technique is first class. We can let them smelt and reforge the gem into building upgrade stone. Su Yuan had the same idea. But there was a problem. But, if we leave now and smelt this gem, won't we be eliminated from the tournament? Asked Suan. Su Yuan didn't reply. No one knew what he was thinking. The White Dragon Saint laughed. He was very good at this kind of thing. You're really stupid, he said. Can't we just snatch the gems from the other lords? The White Dragon Saint knew the rules of the competition. The points will be calculated based on how many gems a lord has. We can snatch them from other lords and smelt them later. When the time comes, we will leave the last gem behind. Based on that, we will have 1 point, and the other lords will have 0. It doesn't matter if we only have 1 point because we will still be the winners as long as other lords have 0. To Suan, the White Dragon Saint's idea sounded really good. Even Su Yuan agreed. The results would be announced 3 days later. The points would be awarded depending on how many gems a lord has. 1 gem would mean 1 point. The top 3 winners would receive a mysterious reward. If Suan snatched all the gems to smelt them, her points would decrease as the number of gems reduced. However, as the White Dragon Saint put it, everyone would be at 0 points, but she could just keep 1 gem in her hand and still be counted as the winner. We don't need to be smarter than others. We just need to lower their intelligence to your level. Then, we can use our strength to defeat them. What do you mean by lowering their intelligence to my level? Asked Suan angrily. I meant what I said. You aren't as smart as the others. Su Yuan, keep your underling in check. Suan complained. Su Yuan ignored her. He was too lazy to pay attention. Not long after, the group decided to carry out their plan of snatching the gems from other lords. Who should we rob first? Suan looked around. There were a total of 10 lords participating in the competition. Everyone had been randomly sent to the arena, so they didn't know each other's location. N/O/vel/B/in.C//OM. According to Suan's understanding, the first day was the time for everyone to gather information. Therefore, the various lords went into hiding, collecting information on each other and deciding on their strategies. On the first day, the lords would decide who their allies would be and who else would be the enemy. Then, they would test each other on the second day, and the battle would begin on the third day. Suan's plan of starting a fight right on the first day to snatch away gems would be considered reckless. Suan and Su Yuan decided to go ahead with their plan. In another part of the arena, a lord and a hero looked in the direction of Suan and her team. It's the aura of His Majesty. I can't be wrong. An angel with 3 pairs of black wings, high up in the sky, looked into the distance. He looked in the direction of Suan and her hero. His lord looked in that direction too. He was confused. Lu Feisai, why do you keep looking that way? This time, the enemy is not going to be easy to deal with. What do you mean? The overlord was a young man. At this moment, he was not proud of the fact that he had the 6-winged fallen angel as his hero. He was cautious. Even the 6-winged fallen angel could not break through this stage. The participants in this grand finals were all very powerful. Their troops and heroes were not simple at all. Without waiting for his lord to finish, the fallen angel flew in a certain direction. Lu Feisai, wait for me. The lord followed anxiously. Lu Feisai, what's wrong? At least tell me what happened. The fallen angel said, he is the symbol of darkness. The uncrowned king. I want to follow the king? We are duty-bound to revive the dark and glorious. The lord didn't understand. However, he guessed that the fallen angel had found a very powerful entity. It was so powerful that even the fallen angel was willing to bow to it. Did he find some ancient historical remains? Thought the lord. He thought that the fallen angel might have found some ancient ruins and sensed the aura of a powerful creature. That was why the fallen angel had rushed in that direction. 125 The fallen angel's information. When the fallen angel came to their area with his lord, Su Yuan sensed it. Master, I sense movement, said the White Dragon Saint. This enemy is powerful. The White Dragon Saint acknowledged the strength of the enemy. He even thought that he might not be able to defeat it if it came to a fight. However, with Su Yuan around, the White Dragon Saint wasn't scared. Why don't we go and ambush them first, said the White Dragon Saint. Suan considered the situation. At present, everyone was thinking about how to snatch the gems from others. So, she figured the enemy was approaching her because of that. Suan felt that it was better for her to make the first move. Hence, everyone set up an ambush. The fallen angel brought his lord to the lake. This is strange. Where is His Highness? The fallen angel looked around. His lord was panting from fatigue. Lufei, what are you looking for? Asked the Lord. The Lord was confused. He had thought that his hero had discovered some ancient ruins. That was why he had followed. However, there was nothing here. Is the fallen angel all right in the head? Just as the young lord thought about it, ripples appeared on the lake's surface. At this moment, the fallen angel's back faced the lake. The Lord realized that something was wrong. He wanted to warn the fallen angel, but it was too late. A white figure emerged from the water and struck the back of the fallen angel's head with a hammer. The fallen angel fainted. The Lord wanted to open the dimensional portal and call for another troop to cover him. However, there was someone standing behind him. She held a wooden rod in her hands. She struck the Lord on the head. He fainted as well. The fallen angel and his Lord had both fallen. N/O/vel/B/in.C//om. Done. Yuan clapped her hands in excitement. This was the first time she had attacked someone directly. It felt too exciting. Yuan flew and searched the overlord's body until he found the gem. It's a good thing that the gems can't be hidden in the territories. Otherwise, it would be difficult to find them, he muttered. The competition gems could not leave the competition venue. The lords could hide them on their persons but couldn't send them back through the dimensional portal to their territory. Once they left the arena, the gems would lose their effects. They wouldn't be counted after that. Yuan, let me see, said Yuan as she rushed to him. She stared at the azure gem and couldn't help smiling. When she compared the gem with the one she had, she found out that they were roughly the same. However, some of the patterns on the inside were different. I've seen enough. She let Yuan keep both gems. Yuan kept the competition gem and threw the other one through the dimensional portal into their territory. He instructed the dwarves on what to do. At this moment, the fallen angel and the Lord woke up. They were tied up. The white dragon saint waved his claws threateningly at the fallen angel. But the fallen angel did not seem to be afraid. He ignored the white dragon saint and looked at Yuan. Your Majesty, it's me, Lufei. He struggled to break free from the rope that was tied around his hands. Yuan and the white dragon saint both were shocked. They didn't expect the fallen angel to know Yuan. The white dragon saint's shock was soon replaced by disappointment. It meant he wouldn't get to fight the fallen angel. Yuan was baffled. She wondered why the enemy changed his attitude in front of Yuan. Yuan was also thinking about it. He recalled the hero. Although he had gone through a lot with Yuan, he clearly remembered Lufei, the six-winged fallen angel, from the hero plane. Yuan didn't respond. The fallen angel said, Your Majesty, the light types have sent the light princess after you? Yuan and the lord of the fallen angel were both speechless. They wondered who the light princess was. She sounded pretty powerful. However, the white dragon saint knew about the light princess, the second in command of the light type. The white dragon saint sucked in a breath of cold air. She came to the lower realm as a hero too? What does the light type take us for? They sent just the light princess? Really? Are you looking down on the great dark demon dragon? The white dragon saint was insulted. The strongest among the dark type heroes was here in the overlord plane, and the light types hadn't even bothered to send their strongest member? They had sent their second in command? The white dragon saint took it as an affront that the light types underestimated the dark types. The white dragon saint was filled with righteous indignation. He cursed the light types. The fallen angel agreed with him. The light types are looking down on us. The light princess is no match for the dark demon dragon? I came here to tell you this. The fallen angel stated his purpose for coming here. The light princess was indeed powerful, but she wasn't a match for the dark demon dragon. Therefore, the fallen angel and the other dark type heroes decided to follow. They decided to handle the light princess. Otherwise, any small fries could turn up and try to challenge the dark demon dragon. After seeing the fallen angel's determination and loyalty, the white dragon saint found him to be decent. You are a good creature. Dealing with the light princess is now your responsibility. The white dragon saint untied the fallen angel. They began to chat and soon found each other friendly. The lord of the fallen angel, Gatter, was not happy. He was defeated, and now his hero was conspiring with the enemy? How could he endure this humiliation? If he didn't summon his army of 100,000 troops for revenge, his name wouldn't be Gatter anymore. 126 Building Upgrade Stone. Overlord Gatter saw that the fallen angel was still chatting with the white dragon saint. He shouted in anger. Let's go, Lufei. Gatter really couldn't stand it anymore. The back of his head still hurt. Yuan also appeared embarrassed. She reminded herself that they were enemies, and she couldn't appear soft-hearted. However, the hero of the overlord before her seemed to know Yuan and got along with the white dragon saint. So, Yuan felt embarrassed that she had hit the overlord on the head just a few moments ago. When Gatter saw that Yuan was embarrassed, his attitude became even more domineering. Even though their heroes knew each other, Gatter wasn't having any of it. He wouldn't agree to form an alliance until Yuan and her hero apologized to him. However, Gatter found that his hero was still talking to the white dragon saint. Lufei. Gatter was furious. Does he think that the white dragon is his long-lost father? When Yuan saw this, she was disheartened. D***mn. It's all White's fault. If he hadn't come up with the stupid plan, we could have been allies. Maybe there is still hope of an alliance. Yuan sighed regretfully. Unfortunately, there was no turning back. Even if the fallen angel knew Yuan and got along well with the white dragon saint, Lord Gatter didn't want to cooperate with Yuan. At this time, the fallen angel finally turned to Gatter. He didn't leave with his lord as everyone expected. Instead, he hovered cross-legged in the air and waved lazily at Gatter. "Lord, go do whatever you want for now," he said. "Don't interfere with the grand plan of the dark types. You should know as a lord that the dark type heroes don't have an efficient system right now. Maybe in the future, it will be different. We can only hope." It was true. Light types and dark types didn't just have different attributes. They also had different sorts of systems by which they functioned. The light types were more orderly and efficient, while the dark types were absolutely chaotic. The light types had an order in place. They had the Light Council, the 12 war generals, and other offshoot groups to handle different matters. The dark types didn't have anything like that. They were too chaotic. They didn't care about a system or an order. The only thing they ever did was fight each other on things they didn't agree with. Nobody could control them enough to keep order. Therefore, the dark types had a long way to go until they learned to govern themselves and form an efficient system. And now, to fight and resist the light types, the fallen angel and the white dragon saint felt that they needed a specific system in place with the dark demon dragon as their core and supreme ruler. N/O/vel/b/jn.c//om. Their abilities weren't as strong as some of the dark type heroes, but they were strong enough to be one of the 4 heavenly kings of darkness in the future. Lord Gatter was perplexed. His own hero was shamelessly joining the enemy and abandoning him. Gatter's face kept changing from shock to anger to disappointment. Yuan, after having dealt with the white dragon saint for a while, understood his thought process. Although he was a white dragon, he was still a dark type hero. No matter how much white he had in his name, his heart was as black as night. The fallen angel and the white dragon saint probably weren't as simple as they seemed. Gatter reluctantly accepted his fate. Although he had a huge army, he knew he had no chance of winning without the fallen angel by his side. His competition gem had been stolen too. "In short, that's our plan," said the white dragon saint to the fallen angel as he finished explaining their plan for the competition. "All right," said the fallen angel. Lord Gatter was stumped. So, they plan to rob the gems of all the other lords. That way they would have 0 points. But there is still a chance to make it to the top 3. According to the white dragon saint's plan, everyone's gems would be snatched away. In the end, only Yuan would have a gem. She would gain 1 point while the others would be at 0. Then, how will the top 3 people be decided? Gatter wondered. Yuan would definitely bag the first place because she would be the only one with the gem. The rest would be at 0. So, who would be in second and third place? There's still a chance. Gatter muttered softly. He was determined. He clenched his fists in anticipation. If everyone had 0 points, Gatter would still get the chance to rob a gem from someone and gain a point. Thus, in this way, Gatter was tricked by the white dragon saint into joining them. Their robber party had 2 more new members. In Yuan's territory, the dwarves had already smelted the gem and reforged it according to Yuan's instructions. It was remade into a building upgrade stone. Building upgrade stone, it can directly upgrade all buildings except the territory core by 1 level. After Yuan and Yuan saw the panel, they knew they had succeeded. That's great. Yuan carried Yuan in her arms and twirled around. Yuan, how should we use this building upgrade stone? Yuan was already fantasizing about which building she wanted to upgrade. Should we upgrade the city walls first? Yuan thought that, on the attack front, her troops were already strong enough. She had dark dragon knights and black gold behemoths. She even had someone as powerful as the white dragon saint. Also, Yuan's demonic dragon's blessing always came in handy. She wanted to focus on defense now. If the enemies stormed her territory in her absence and destroyed the territory core, it would be bad. Yuan earnestly explained the benefits of fortifying the city walls to convince Yuan. If we upgrade the city walls, we might get cannons too. If an enemy approaches, we can always fire at them. It might also be possible that the city walls will be upgraded into real iron walls. Yuan thought that her reasoning was nonsensical. Yuan never planned to have important things like the territory core on the surface. He wanted to securely move it to the underground. He still had the 18-leveled territory blueprint in mind. He would continue expanding the territory downward. How cool would it be to have a territory like the 18 levels of hell? Therefore, Yuan's worries about the enemies storming and raiding the territory were foolish. Yuan's heart wasn't in it. Yuan was unaware of Yuan's plan. Seeing that he didn't respond, she took it to mean that he agreed with her. So, Yuan upgraded the city walls. 127 Hell Goblin Knight. You no longer have any upgrade tools. Yuan pressed the upgrade button, but a prompt popped up. She was stunned. She didn't even know how to react for a moment. How did the upgrade tool suddenly disappear? She pressed the option again. You no longer have any upgrade tools. You no longer have any upgrade tools. Yuan looked at the prompt dejectedly. The building upgrade stone could no longer be used. But how did this happen? Yuan investigated the system panel. She searched through the list of buildings and finally found the answer. Used the building upgrade stone to upgrade the dark arena. Yuan slowly understood. She looked at Yuan angrily. Scammer Su, what the hell? She felt so angry that she clenched her fist tightly. Yuan wore an innocent and sheepish expression as he looked at her. Ah! Yuan was furious. Yuan's anger subsided as quickly as it had awoken. She knew that there were a total of 10 gems, including hers. One needed to be preserved to be a champion. They had used another one already, so they would have 8 gems to spend if things went according to plan. Yuan just needed to use it carefully next time. She calmed herself and looked at the building Yuan had upgraded. Humph. Scammer Su, you better pray that the upgrade is useful, otherwise, I won't let you touch any gems next time. Yuan's retaliation sounded weak. Soon, she and Yuan focused their attention on the building that had been upgraded. Dark Arena LVL2, you can now fuse 3 different levels of the same troop type. You can also fuse 2 different troop types. Yuan looked at Yuan. When the Dark Arena was at level 1, they could only fuse troops of the same type. They could fuse a goblin with a goblin, or a skeleton with a skeleton, but it was impossible for them to fuse a goblin with a skeleton. However, it had a new feature now. They could fuse different troop types to create something new. This is great, said Yuan. Her anger and her disappointment disappeared. Yuan, I forgive you, you really did something good. You are worthy of your name. She giggled in joy. Yuan's tail softly struck her hand. All right, she said. I apologize, okay, I was wrong to shout at you. I knew you had a deeper reason behind your action. Yuan, let's discuss which buildings we are going to upgrade next. We will get more gems for it, after all. Why don't we take turns upgrading the buildings that we like? Yuan looked at him expectantly. This made Yuan feel a bit uncomfortable. So, he hurriedly waved his claws at her and nodded to show his agreement. Really, said Yuan. Then, don't cheat in the future. She suddenly recalled something. It seemed that she had experienced a similar thing not long ago. She had asked Yuan to not trick her once before. But, in the end, he still. Yuan shook her head and brushed off her doubts. Since the Dark Arena was now upgraded, she needed to think of how to make good use of it. Yuan, I will leave it up to you. Yuan didn't understand much when it came to combining troops. Yuan knew more about it since he always used the Dark Fusion. She thought he would have a better understanding of it compared to her. She also thought that if she let him choose this time, he wouldn't trick her the next time. Yuan looked at the troops and thought for a while. He understood that the Dark Arena still had its limitations. If he fused stronger troops, it would consume more resources and take more time to accomplish the feat. Are you sure? He asked. Yuan nodded fiercely. Yuan chose the big dark goblin, Bulin. Said Yuan. Goblins are indeed weak, and they will take less time. However, the goblins were generally weak in combat. There was another troop weaker than the goblins. Those were the skeleton soldiers. Yuan usually used them as cannon fodders because the skeleton soldiers were able to revive instantly. The dark goblins were able to revive themselves. If the dark goblins were sent out to fight, it would be a waste of resources. What next? She asked. Fuse 3 dark goblins? Or fuse them with other units? Yuan was silent. He was deep in thought. The Hellhound. Yuan didn't expect that Yuan would merge a Hellhound and a goblin. What kind of creature will be formed from them? Asked Yuan. Yuan shook his head. I don't know. He genuinely didn't know. He just wanted to merge the goblin with something that would increase its combat ability significantly. The fusion took a while. Then it ended. Hellgoblin Knight. The creature's entire body burned in black flames. Yuan felt suffocated looking at the creature in the middle of such intense flames. What appeared before her was a dark goblin riding a hellhound. They were both encased in dark flames. The Hellgoblin Knight looked so cool. Yuan was ecstatic. She felt that Yuan's decision had been right. She had only given him the chance to fuse troops, hoping that he wouldn't trick her the next time. Who knew Yuan was smart enough to create such a creature for her? Yuan, you really are my lucky charm. n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. She instinctively kissed Yuan's cheek. 128 The challenge from the light-type hero. Human Lord, what do you think you are doing? Shouted both the fallen angel and the white dragon saint at the same time. When Yuan and Yuan were discussing the matter of upgrading the building, they remained quiet and waited. However, the human overlord was crossing her limit and kissing Yuan now. He was their king. How could she subject him to something like that? The fallen angel and the white dragon saint couldn't take it anymore. So, they shouted at her. Yuan realized that everyone was staring at her. Her face turned red. She lowered her head. She didn't dare look at anyone. After the Hellgoblin Knight was created, Yuan was satisfied. In terms of strength and combat prowess, the Hellgoblin Knight was still weaker than the Black Gold Behemoths and the Dark Dragon Knights. However, the Hellgoblin Knight was the most cost-effective. Creating the Hellgoblin Knight didn't consume a lot of resources, but its combat power was still extraordinary. They can be the main force, said Yuan. The Hellgoblin Knight ran on the empty ground, leaving a long trail of flames in its wake. Said Yuan. I have decided. I will call you the Burning Legion from now on. Yuan decided to fuse more Hellgoblin Knights. He fused more and more goblins and hellhounds. Everyone's focus was back on track. Who are we going to rob next? The White Dragon Saint and the Fallen Angels discussed. Hey, kid, do you have any information about the other lords? The White Dragon Saint asked Gatter. Gatter shook his head. Why don't we just find a random stick and flip it? We then go to the direction it points, said the White Dragon Saint. No one had a better idea at the moment. The Fallen Angel froze. What's wrong? Asked the White Dragon Saint. Yuan, and the others also turned to look at the Fallen Angel. B****. The Fallen Angel scowled. It's the Radiant Envoy. He is challenging me to a battle. The fallen angel told them about the grudge between him and the Radiant Envoy. In the hero plane, both had been at odds and had fought many times. However, the fallen angel lost almost every time. He senses my aura and is challenging me to a fight. The fallen angel was embarrassed. Usually, he would just ignore the Radiant Envoy. However, he felt stressed in front of Su Yuan. If he backed out of a fight, it would lower his impression in Su Yuan's eyes. But if he agreed to the fight and clashed with the Radiant Envoy, he might be defeated very badly this time. It would be even more embarrassing if the Dark Demon Dragon saw him in that state. The fallen angel was conflicted. The White Dragon Saint roared. Just agree to it, he said. The fallen angel was puzzled by this. He thought that the White Dragon Saint was so evil that he wanted to trick him into accepting the fight so that the Dark Demon Dragon could watch his humiliation at the hands of the Radiant Envoy. We will go fight him together, said the White Dragon Saint. Yuan and Gatter were at a loss. White, do you really intend to gang up on the Radiant Envoy? Do you have no morals? Said Yuan. Yuan felt a little embarrassed. The Radiant Envoy had obviously challenged the fallen angel to a duel, but the White Dragon Saint intended to gang up on him with the fallen angel. Was this even acceptable? Tisk, said the White Dragon Saint. Human overlord, you need to stop acting like you are above it all. Weren't you planning to rob gems from the other lords? This is an opportunity. Yuan realized that he was right. If the enemy's hero was killed, they would lose their combat power. It would be so easy to get the gem from them after that. If she could get hold of another gem, she could smelt and reforge it to upgrade another building. After thinking it through, Yuan supported the White Dragon Saint. The fallen angel definitely did not object. No one even asked for Gatter's opinion. However, he was still a key to this whole plan. The fallen angel and White Dragon Saint both looked at Su Yuan. They wanted his opinion. What if he found their actions unfair and embarrassing? Su Yuan stretched lazily. His focus was on the Burning Legion. He didn't seem interested. The White Dragon Saint and the fallen angel sighed in relief. Hence, they decided to go ahead with the plan. The White Dragon Saint flew in the air happily. The fallen angel was also extremely excited when he thought about it. Finally, he would be able to get his revenge. He also flew in the air happily. It was strange to see both flying in the air. Not long after, the fallen angel flew down to Su Yuan's side and reported about the Radiant Envoy. That B***starred asked me to fight him on the highest mountain. The fallen angel pointed in a direction. There was indeed a mountain there. The tip of the mountain pierced through the clouds. The mountain peak was covered in snow. Oh, the snow mountain? Asked Su Yuan. He could somewhat see a man in a white robe with a magical spear in his hand at the top of the mountain. The man stood on the peak of Snow Mountain and looked into the distance. He looked like an expert. When does he want to fight? Asked Su Yuan. Tonight, at midnight, when it's the full moon. The fallen angel clenched his fist. He always got beat up. But it was time for revenge now. His body trembled in excitement. When we reach the Snow Mountain, we'll... The White Dragon Saint was full of bad ideas that he animatedly explained to the fallen angel. Alright, n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. The fallen angel bowed to the White Dragon Saint in gratitude. It wasn't dark yet. Everyone hurried to Snow Mountain. 129. The Snow Mountain was once alive. Although Yuan didn't know the exact name of Snow Mountain, she could see that it looked very beautiful in the setting sun. The snow-capped mountain looked reddish in the glow of the setting sun. It was breathtaking. n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. This snow mountain is not simple. Su Yuan sighed. He possessed the true eye of the demon dragon, yet he didn't use it at that time. He was making a judgment based on his own understanding. When they arrived at Snow Mountain, Yuan stopped in her tracks and looked up. What is Su Yuan talking about? Yuan thought. Does the Snow Mountain hold some secret? The fallen angel and the White Dragon Saint observed the mountain nervously. They wanted to know what was so special about this mountain. This Snow Mountain was once alive. The fallen angel's tone was somber. His tone made Gatter and Yuan want to take a step back. Alive, said Gatter. Lufaisai, what do you mean it was alive? Do you even understand what it would be like to have something alive of that size? Gatter pointed at the Snow Mountain with a trembling finger. He took a deep breath to calm himself. The Snow Mountain in front of them was huge. It was so tall that it pierced the clouds in the sky. It was even impossible to see the peak from the foot of the mountain. This was because the white clouds obstructed the view. Yuan didn't lose her composure like Gatter. She took a deep breath to calm herself. She looked at the mountain carefully. What kind of creature would be this huge? Wondered Yuan. She recalled something. Dark Dragon King. The Dark Dragon King had been huge like the mountain. He had covered the entire mountain when he flew over them. Dark Dragon King was the largest creature Yuan had ever encountered. However, when compared to this massive mountain, even the Dark Dragon King seemed tiny. It was hard for Yuan to imagine Snow Mountain alive. If it was truly alive, how powerful it must have been. Wait, thought Yuan. She recalled that the final showdown was supposed to be on the back of an ancient beast. Snow Mountain did occupy a corner of the competition area. Lord Gatter didn't know about any ancient beast as Yuan did. He was in shock. Lufaisai, you are talking about the ancient past, right? Asked Gatter anxiously. This Snow Mountain. Gatter thought that the Snow Mountain was young when it was alive, but now it had grown to this size. If that's true, it's too frightening to think about, said Gatter. This snow mountain is the corpse of a giant beast which was close to the mythical level, said Su Yuan. Gatter was in a daze. Nothing made sense to him. A corpse? Giant beast. However, Suan was the complete opposite. What Su Yuan said confirmed her suspicions. She was excited. She was calm. Unfortunately, Gatter couldn't calm down. He panicked. Lu Feisai, how powerful is this giant beast? He asked. He felt hopeless. The larger a creature was, the stronger it was. This rule applied to most creatures but not all. Didn't you hear the master? Said the fallen angel. The beast was close to the mythical level of power. Suan and Gatter listened attentively. Gatter recalled his family mentioning that the secret to becoming a mythical overlord was hidden in the grand finals. But that's all he knew about it. Suan knew more. She knew how powerful a mythical beast was. The mythical level beast, the Earth Core butterfly, which had flown out of the core of the sun that burned numerous worlds, had crash-landed here. It had then remained unconscious. Although Suan knew a little more than Gatter, it was still not enough. She looked at Su Yuan. She wanted to ask him for more information. However, she knew him. He wouldn't tell her anything. So, she stayed quiet. Thankfully, she had other alternatives. There was the fallen angel and the white dragon saint who could tell her more about the beast. Suan secretly rejoiced. If she were to ask Su Yuan, he would just ignore her. If she asked the others after that, they likely would not tell her. So, she decided to directly ask the fallen angel and the white dragon saint. Excuse me, said Suan to the fallen angel. Are the mythical level beasts that strong? How many heroes have reached that level so far? Suan was full of anticipation. She assumed the mythical level beasts were no big deal, especially in the hero plane, so she thought there were a lot of them there. The fallen angel and the white dragon saint shook their heads. Not many. I can only tell you that even an SSS class hero can't reach that level. An SSS class hero was very powerful. If such a hero couldn't reach the mythical level, then the beasts might really be indomitable. The white dragon saint looked at the snow mountain in front of him. Suan was baffled. She understood a little more. The mythical level beasts weren't as simple and abundant as she thought. Let's go, said Su Yuan. Since it is dead already, it should be relatively safe. The sky was already dark. The radiant envoy was waiting for the fallen angel at the top of the snow mountain. The fallen angel flew to the top of the snow mountain. He went to meet his opponent alone for now. I am here, he said, without any sign of fear. The radiant envoy had been waiting a long time for him. 130 dark type hero vs light type hero. Lackeys of the dark. The radiant envoy sneered when he saw the fallen angel. The fallen angel had never beaten the radiant envoy in a fight before. However, he never held himself back from cursing him every chance he got. Stupid dog of light. Kneel before me if you don't want to die. The fallen angel's aura and attitude puzzled the radiant envoy. The fallen angel didn't seem scared this time. The two heroes faced each other, and so did their lords. The lord of the radiant envoy was a woman with short, golden hair. Evelyn. Gatter shouted. He recognized the overlord of the radiant envoy. Evelyn laughed at him. Gatter, when will you stop? Look at you. You look disheveled and messy. Do you still want to pester me? Gatter's face turned pale. He looked distressed. Suan saw their interaction from where she was hiding. She looked at Su Yuan. Scammer Su, do you feel like there is something going on between those two lords? Suan couldn't hear them well. However, from the looks of it, it seemed like they had a shared history. Maybe they were having an affair. Su Yuan suggested. What? Really? Suan was surprised. She loved good gossip. Su Yuan had only said it as a joke at first. However, he realized it was true as he listened to their conversation further. The two of them were engaged, said Su Yuan, trying to strain hard to hear the conversation. But the lord of the fallen angel's family didn't approve of it. The lord of the radiant envoy didn't want to put up with them. So, they broke off the engagement. Suan was stunned. It was beyond her imagination. She hadn't expected their lives to have so many twists and turns. Are you engaged? Asked Su Yuan suddenly. Suan was perplexed by the question. Wait, what does that have to do with anything? Why are you asking that suddenly? Are you planning to slander my reputation? Suan wasn't sure why she felt so flustered by his question. Su Yuan ignored her. He turned his head the other way. His tail swayed gently. He pretended to be indifferent. Why are you getting so heated up? Said Su Yuan. I was just casually asking a question. Su Yuan was indeed asking her just to confirm. However, he hadn't expected her to react in that way. Suan was so embarrassed that she felt like crying. No, she said. I am not engaged to anyone yet. In the distance, the two lords, Evelyn and Gatter, faced each other with hostility. You, mumbled Gatter as he pointed a trembling finger at Evelyn. What? She snapped. You look like a clown. You always did. Does your family rejoice in holding the title of the most clownish family in this era? Evelyn's words pierced his heart. His last shred of composure disappeared. Gatter was ready to rush forward and fight. However, at this moment, the fallen angel and the radiant envoy were already fighting. Boom! A huge pillar of light descended from the sky and penetrated the peak. The radiant envoy's attack almost pierced the fallen angel right in the middle. You are a scum. Always using your sneak attacks. The fallen angel sounded exasperated. The two of them cursed at each other. Humph. The light will judge you, said the radiant envoy. He waved the long spear in his hand. A huge hexagram covered the peak of the mountain. At the same time, Evelyn attacked. Gatter was caught off guard. Lufacite, these two are so shameless. Gatter cried. The fallen angel nodded. He had always assumed that the dark types were the scum because they were always chaotic and cheated people. However, he realized that the light types were worse. The fallen angel wanted to delay the fight for a while. According to the plan, the white dragon saint was to appear soon. The fallen angel provoked the radiant envoy and kept stalling for time, but he didn't see the white dragon saint anywhere. The fallen angel became anxious. What in the hell is that evil dragon doing? It was becoming difficult for the fallen angel to hold his own in the fight. The radiant envoy was just about to attack again when the white dragon saint finally appeared. A roar came from the horizon. A dragon. Both Evelyn and the radiant envoy looked in the direction where the roar resounded. They saw a white dragon flying toward them. I can feel it. The dark aura? The filthy dark aura needs to be purified by light, shouted the white dragon saint. The radiant envoy was relieved to see the white dragon express his disgust for the dark type heroes. The light types and dark types were different. With dark types, it was more likely for an ally to get stabbed in the dark because the dark type heroes only thought about their own gain. However, the light types were different. They were organized and efficient and rarely betrayed their own kind. The white dragon saint flew to them. A black fallen angel, he shouted. Filthy? Your aura is nauseating, n/o/vel/b//in.c//om. The white dragon saint made his stance clear in front of the radiant envoy. The fallen angel stomped his feet in anger. You be **starred. I don't have time for you. I am here to end this stupid dog of the light. Go away. The fallen angel wasn't entirely pretending. He was actually furious with the white dragon saint. He thought that the dragon must have cursed him or enjoyed watching him getting beat up just a moment ago. Seeing the fallen angel and the white dragon saint bickering with each other, the radiant envoy was happy to watch the show. The enemy of an enemy was a friend, after all. He assumed that the white dragon saint was a hero of some other participating lord. If these two fought each other, he would surely convince Evelyn to ally with the dragon's lord. In their hiding spot, Yuan burst into laughter as she watched the scene in front of her. Ha ha ha. Yuan, did you notice that? Said Yuan. When they were shouting at each other, it wasn't all just pretend. They actually meant it. 131 A true performance. Yuan noticed it. She knew the fallen angel and the white dragon saint weren't decent or reliable creatures. In front of Yuan, they acted all innocent and harmless. Even Yuan was fooled. She believed that the fallen angel and the white dragon saint were getting so close to each other that they were now practically brothers. However, she realized she was wrong. If such a bond was between light-type heroes, she might have believed that they could actually be close to each other. n/o/vel/b//jn.c//om. Yuan was unfazed. That's normal. He stretched lazily and continued watching the fight. Scammer Su, aren't you worried that they might actually fight each other? Asked Yuan. Well, if they are just bickering, let them bicker, said Yuan. If they really fight each other, let them. Yuan was only watching from the sidelines, so he couldn't care less. However, Yuan was still worried. Their goal was to take down the radiant envoy. Yuan secretly told the two to stop fighting with each other. Don't worry so much, he said to Yuan. If they don't work according to the plan, I will wring their heads later. Yuan was even more concerned than before. She never saw Yuan as a domineering presence. He usually stayed at the back and insulted people. But, at times like these, she began to doubt everything. Scammer Su, you better not be making fun of me, said Yuan. I know you have some powerful buffs, but those are the fallen angel and the white dragon saint. Yuan still firmly believed that the fallen angel and white dragon saint were stronger than Yuan. She assumed that Yuan's ability was too powerful, so the fallen angel and the white dragon saint sucked up to him. Yuan didn't argue. Instead, he tilted his head to the other side and ignored her completely. In the distance, the fallen angel and the white dragon saint cursed at each other. After a short while, the white dragon saint suddenly turned to look at the radiant envoy. You want to fight this filthy thing first? He asked. The radiant envoy frowned. He had thought that the white dragon saint was just there to delay their fight. It was more likely that the white dragon saint wanted to fight the fallen angel first. The radiant envoy thought for a while. I chose tonight to fight him, so I will fight him first. The white dragon saint placed his claws at his waist and looked at the fallen angel in disdain. The radiant envoy and his lord, Evelyn, were thinking the same thing. They thought that the white dragon saint would request to have a go first. One-on-one combat, not bad, said the white dragon saint. But how about we band together and fight him? We are two heroes of the light, after all. The radiant envoy was speechless. He hadn't expected the white dragon saint to say something like that. What? Said Lord Evelyn. You mean, you two are going to gang up on him? Of course, said the white dragon saint. We don't need to consider the morality of our actions when we are up against something so dark and evil. We can attack together. The radiant envoy found his words reasonable. He had long since wanted to lead a group against the dark types. All right, he said. He is an evil creature of darkness, after all. Let's attack together. The fallen angel's face changed. Lord Gatter almost jumped up in anger. Shameless? Absolutely despicable? You dare call yourselves the heroes of light? Gatter was excited. He had never thought this fight would turn out to be different. Even with the White Dragon Saint and the Dark Demon Dragon, he hadn't thought he could escape. However, he did mean what he said. He had expected the Light-type heroes to be more moral than the Dark types. He had overestimated the Light-type heroes. They were even worse. It's supposed to be a one-on-one duel, said Gatter. You challenged my hero to one-on-one combat, and now you are ganging up on him? Where is your shame? Gatter was so angry that he almost blew their cover. For a moment, he forgot about Su Yuan and their plan. He was angrily rebuking the Radiant Envoy for his shamelessness. If this was a battle and the fallen angel was too powerful to fight, Gatter would understand the weaker opponent's need to band together. However, this was unfair. It was the Radiant Envoy who had challenged the fallen angel to a duel, and now he was ganging up with another creature to fight him. Cut the CR*P, said the White Dragon Saint. Accept the judgment of the light. The White Dragon Saint charged toward the fallen angel. Seeing this, the Radiant Envoy also followed. The fallen angel's acting was exaggerated. You want to kill me, he shouted. Don't think I will go down easy. The Radiant Envoy was suspicious of how the fallen angel acted. Brother, I think this is a trap, he said, trying to warn the White Dragon Saint. Su Yuan smiled in the dark. It's time for us to make our appearance, he said. You know what to do. Yuan nodded. She looked at Evelyn. She was familiar with their plan. The White Dragon Saint would pretend to ally with Radiant Envoy and fight the fallen angel, while Gatter fought with Evelyn. Yuan would quietly sneak from behind and take care of Lord Evelyn. Gatter finally remembered the plan. He looked in the direction where Yuan was hiding. He then turned to Evelyn and tried to keep her focused on him. It was time for Yuan to sneak behind Evelyn. 132 The Dragon Clan only believes in strength. On the night of the full moon, at the peak of the snow mountain, the Radiant Envoy was entangled in a fight with the fallen angel. Their respective lords were also engaged in a battle. Evelyn and Gatter had reached an impasse. At that moment, Yuan ran out of the dark. She had a wooden staff in her hands. It was a sneak attack. Yuan felt like she was becoming more of a trickster these days. She used to be the elegant and composed campus belle. But now, Evelyn, be careful, shouted the Radiant Envoy. He had seen Yuan. Evelyn heard him. But Yuan was ready. She struck Evelyn on the back of her head. Bang! Evelyn's eyes widened. She slowly turned around and looked at Yuan in confusion. The grudge was between her and Gatter. She turned and saw Yuan with a wooden staff. This girl. Peerless looks, perfect figure, and cold temperament. Yuan looked like an ice goddess to her. However, her appearance didn't match her actions. Evelyn looked at the girl in front of her holding a wooden staff and acting like a petty thief. You. Someone smacked Evelyn on the head from behind again. Bang! It was Gatter. He had struck her when she turned around to face Yuan. However, their plan didn't work. Even after being smacked twice on the head, Evelyn wasn't knocked out. Evelyn was in pain. She had gotten hit twice in the head. Once again, as she turned to face Gatter, Yuan hit her a third time on her head from behind. For some reason, Evelyn seemed to be very resistant to repeated smacks on the head. Their combined blow couldn't knock Evelyn out. When Evelyn turned to Yuan in anger, Gatter hit her on the head once again. The process repeated in the same manner until poor Evelyn's head was full of painful bumps. Finally, Evelyn fell. It was likely that she had passed out from pain rather than the actual hits on the head. The Radiant Envoy roared in anger. D***MN. He and the White Dragon Saint were about to attack the fallen angel. It could have been the perfect plan. However, his overlord was attacked, and now she lay on the ground, barely conscious. What are you so angry about? Said the fallen angel with a grin. It will be your turn next. The Radiant Envoy realized that something was wrong. The fallen angel was never so bold before. He became more vigilant. Right at this moment, a dragon's tail swung from behind him and strangled his neck. The tail was white. The Radiant Envoy recognized it. It was the White Dragon Saint. You. He struggled against the tail tightening around his neck. The fallen angel laughed. Let's see whether you die easily. A dark elemental hammer appeared in the fallen angel's hand. He then swung it at the Radiant Envoy's head. Thump. The loud noise made Evelyn shiver. She was barely conscious. The Radiant Envoy had taken a blow from the fallen angel's hammer, but he was still conscious. The White Dragon Saint used ice and snow to form an ice staff. When he was about to hit the Radiant Envoy, the fallen angel stopped him. What are you doing? Just use your claws and gut him out, said the fallen angel. The White Dragon Saint replied in disdain. Isn't that the type of thing that shows that the dark types have no structure and order, said the White Dragon Saint. Master wants us to ambush the enemy, not kill him here. I will follow his orders faithfully. The fallen angel thought for a while. He then conjured a dark elemental staff and joined the White Dragon Saint. N/O/vel/b/in.c//om. They took turns hitting the Radiant Envoy on the head with their staff. Poor Radiant Envoy didn't even get to use his power when the attacks came one after the other. He felt dizzy. After a while, the Radiant Envoy fainted. Without much bloodshed and destructive battle, Lord Evelyn and her hero, the Radiant Envoy, had been taken down. Yuan found the gem on Evelyn's body. Great! I got another gem. The building upgrade stone from before had been used to upgrade the Dark Arena. This gem, after being reforged into building upgrade stone, was entirely under her control. Yuan passed the gem, through the dimensional portal, to the dwarves. Evelyn and the Radiant Envoy came to their senses. They were tied up, back to back. Ned White Dragon, you betrayed the light and colluded with the dark, cursed the Radiant Envoy. The White Dragon Saint snorted. Betrayed? We dragons don't give a sh*t about light and dark. The Dragon Clan has many types of dragons from many elemental origins. There are white dragons, black dragons, dragons of light, dragons of dark, dragons of fire. Just because I am white doesn't mean I belong to the light. Similarly, a black dragon might not really belong to the dark. There is only one belief in the Dragon Clan. We bowed to the strongest one, the Chaotic Dragon King. However, the Chaotic Dragon King has become the stuff of legends and myths. Now, we only believe in strength. The White Dragon Saint sneered. Only fools like you divide yourselves into light and dark. He mocked the Radiant Envoy. The Radiant Envoy was stunned. He knew a bit about the Dragon Clan, but he wasn't aware that they weren't divided into light and dark like other heroes. The Dragon Clan only believed in strength. If that is true, then what kind of power made you team up with that pathetic fallen angel? Asked the Radiant Envoy. If he was going to die, he wanted clarification, at the least. 133 New Overlord Skill. In response to the Radiant Envoy's question, the White Dragon Saint approached Su Yuan. The Radiant Envoy watched. There was a girl with a small dragon in her arms. The black dragon didn't look like much. Him? Asked the Radiant Envoy skeptically. The Radiant Envoy was certain that Suan wasn't the one the White Dragon Saint spoke of, but he could see that this tiny black dragon was somewhat unusual. So, he guessed that the White Dragon Saint was talking about Su Yuan. However, the Radiant Envoy was doubtful. The little black dragon didn't look that exceptional. The fallen angel walked to Su Yuan's side as well. He stood there proudly. The Radiant Envoy realized that the fallen angel had surrendered to the little black dragon too. He wondered what was so special about the small dragon. The Radiant Envoy was deep in thought. Evelyn couldn't take it anymore. She shouted, Radiant Envoy, save me? Kill them all. I can't take it anymore. My gem is gone. Kill them. Evelyn made a fuss. The Radiant Envoy felt vexed. Finally, the Radiant Envoy recalled who the black dragon was. Even though he had changed a lot, his aura was still the same. The terrifying aura of the Dark Demon Dragon. Dark Demon Dragon, said the Radiant Envoy in shock. Su Yuan looked at him in surprise. He had done so much to conceal his true identity. He had done all to make himself appear small and harmless. And yet, I can't be wrong, said the Radiant Envoy. I had a glimpse of the terrifying Dark Demon Dragon in the Hero Plane. In the Hero Plane, when Su Yuan had taken a peek at the pool of light, the Radiant Envoy had seen him. It made sense why the White Dragon Saint and the Fallen Angel acted so obedient around Su Yuan. After confirming that the dragon was actually the Dark Demon Dragon, the Radiant Envoy fell silent. He knew that nothing he did would be effective against the Dark Demon Dragon. At this time, the dwarves in Suwon's territory had finished smelting and reforging the building upgrade stone. Scammer Su, remember our agreement, said Suwon. Don't trick me. Why do you think I have so much time on my hands to scam you? Su Yuan replied lazily. Really? You mean that? She asked. Suwon suspiciously stared at Su Yuan as she held the building upgrade stone in her hands. After thinking a while, she decided on a building that she wanted to upgrade. I have decided, she said. I am going to upgrade the Dark Castle. As a lord with a population of thousands, how can we live in such a small castle? Suwon upgraded the Dark Castle. Confirm upgrade. Yes. Suwon was nervous. She thought something might go wrong. Su Yuan didn't trick her this time. The building was upgraded successfully. I gained a new overlord skill. Suwon was ecstatic. She knew how valuable an overlord's skills were. Ever since she became a lord, she had only received one overlord skill. It was a type of supporting skill that provided a buff for her troops. However, that skill was completely useless compared to Su Yuan's demonic dragon's blessing. She, as a lord, had no useful skill to employ. What? Asked Su Yuan. What did you get? He was quite interested to know. He walked to her side to look. Desperate battle. Select a lord to launch the desperate battle. Both will select a corresponding number of troops to enter the dual space to fight. The winner will obtain all the resources of the loser n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. Suwon looked at Su Yuan. This is useless. We don't lack resources. They did not lack resources now, but no one could tell the future. So, Suwon was still happy with her skill. Besides, if she lacked any type of resources, she could challenge another lord to a fight to get the resources. She remembered a story she had heard once. In a crisis, while everyone in the village hoarded food, one man hoarded guns. Later, he threatened the families with his guns and robbed them of their food. Scammer Su, do you realize how powerful this makes me? This ability is not bad. This skill might be as good as yours. Suwon didn't know why, but she wanted to compare herself with him. Su Yuan had upgraded the Dark Arena so the Hell Goblin Knights could be fused. Suwon had chosen the Dark Castle. Now she had an ability that she could use whenever they fell short of resources. Suwon and Su Yuan exchanged glances. Both looked happy. Lord Evelyn cursed. B***tch, let me go? If you don't let me go with dignity, I will make you suffer once I reach my family. Evelyn was aggressive. She didn't consider that she might be killed here. Even if she was killed, death wasn't the end for the lords. She could always revive in her territory. It was only a matter of time before she returned to her territory. When she returned to her family, she would find out the identity of the lord in front of her and make her suffer. Evelyn's arrogance made Yuan angry. It was supposed to be a fair competition. Winning and losing were up to strategy and luck. If someone lost in a competition, they should just accept defeat with dignity. Yuan hadn't expected that people like Evelyn existed. Just because she didn't win, she wanted to use her family to threaten her? This wasn't fair. Yuan glared at Evelyn with resentment. Her glare incited fear in Evelyn's heart. She trembled. Something was not right. 134 can't spoil a lady with a bad attitude. She couldn't spoil a lady who already had such a bad attitude. Yuan and Yuan looked at each other. Yuan felt the same. N/O/vel/b/in.c//om. Before Yuan could act, Gader stepped forward and slapped Evelyn across the face. He wanted revenge. Do you realize the situation you are in? He asked. Do you still think you can act like a snobbish young lady? In front of someone so powerful, you aren't even like an ant. Gader was referring to Yuan. He did not know Yuan's real identity. He only knew that the fallen angel and the white dragon saint both respected him immensely. If both of them bowed before him, Gader assumed he must be very powerful. He took it as an honor to be able to follow him. Yuan was still ignorant. She assumed that everyone else followed Yuan because his auxiliary ability was simply too powerful to let go. It was too unnatural, and everyone coveted such power. However, Gader knew better. He had seen Yuan's eyes. There was something mysterious and ancient about them. He was the mastermind that the white dragon saint and the fallen angel willingly bowed to. Everything happened only because Yuan willed it. So, Gader was sure he was someone very important. Evelyn was furious. You scum? You dare hit me? Even my parents didn't hit me. Ever. She glared at Yuan. And you, B***tch. Yuan couldn't take it anymore. She stepped forward and struck Evelyn across her cheek too. You B***tch. Evelyn screamed. Gader slapping her was somewhat expected because of the bad blood they had between them. But she hadn't expected this girl to slap her as well. How humiliating? Evelyn looked at her hero, the radiant envoy. He looked back at her helplessly. He was also tied up and couldn't break free. Evelyn, right, said Yuan. Let's settle this score. I challenge you to a duel. The winner will get all the resources of the loser. How about it? Yuan activated the desperate battle ability. Evelyn received a prompt in her mind. Sure, why not? I will kill you. Evelyn's face only held hatred and anger. She didn't want to back down, so she could only choose to face the fight. Besides, the rule of the desperate battle was fair enough. Both lords could choose 100 troops of their own to enter the duel space. Others could watch the battle but were not allowed to enter the duel space. Evelyn looked smug. B***tch, it's too late to go back on your words now. Just wait and see how I crush you. Evelyn chose her troops. She chose 100 ascetics. They appeared in the duel space. A screen appeared in the duel space. It showed information about the troops that each lord had. For the moment, it showed 100 ascetics on Evelyn's side. Yuan glanced at Yuan. Scammer Su, will you be able to buff the troops from outside the duel space? I don't want to expose the Dark Dragon Knights for now. I want to keep them as a trump card, she explained. But I am worried that the other troops might not be strong enough to win. Yuan, at first, didn't want Yuan to rely on his strength too much. However, after thinking about it, he realized that her words made sense. Powerful troops like the Dark Dragon Knights should be saved for later. If they used them now, the enemies would study them and know their strengths and weaknesses. Moreover, if Yuan wins this duel, they will get a lot of resources. Yuan nodded. Don't worry. It's just a duel space. It won't stop me from casting a buff. In fact, I think you can cast your own buff as well. Yuan's eyes lit up. Can we use both types of buff together? At first, Yuan had thought that Yuan would cast the buff and the situation would be favorable toward them. But she realized that she could also use her buff within the duel space. If that's the case, I can save another trump card for later. If her buff was enough to strengthen the troops, then Yuan didn't need to intervene at all. His ability was extremely powerful. After all, the enemy would be on guard if they knew about Yuan's ability. She wanted to keep his ability hidden if she could help it. Evelyn shouted, B***tch, are you backing out? Are you that afraid? It's too late now. She laughed. Yuan ignored her. She chose her troop type. Hellgoblin Knights. Hellgoblin Knights were also called the Burning Legion by Yuan. With a little buff, they might turn out very strong. In the duel space, the Hellgoblin Knights, covered in flames, charged. They burned bright as they ran toward the enemy. However, the ascetics chanted a strange spell and rain fell in the duel space. The Hellgoblin Knights' bodies emitted smoke as their fire gradually extinguished. At this rate, the flames would die down completely. Yuan was still thinking of a way. She was very calm. She didn't worry. Even if all her strategies failed, she still had Yuan, whom she could rely on. Lord Gader wasn't as calm as Yuan. When he saw that Yuan's troops were at a disadvantage, he became anxious. He picked up the wooden staff and approached Evelyn where she was tied up. Quick, make your troops surrender. He lifted the staff. Otherwise, I don't mind hitting you on your head until it cracks open. Gader waved the staff threateningly. I know you can be resurrected. But do you really want to go through the pain again? 135 on the verge of vomiting blood because of all the rage. Evelyn thought her troops would be enough to deal with Yuan's troops. However, before her troops could even fight, Gather was making trouble for her. She was stunned. Gather, what is the meaning of this? She shouted. The fight is between me and her. You stay out of this. Evelyn was enraged. She struggled against the rope that tied her hands. Yuan had challenged her. It was a fight between them. However, Gather was already threatening her before the fight between the troops could even begin. Yuan was also shocked. She had been thinking about applying the buff on her troops, so they could defeat Evelyn's troops. That way, she could get all the resources. However, this was so simple. Evelyn was still her prisoner. Yuan didn't even have to worry about applying a buff. All she had to do was threaten Evelyn and have her surrender. If I do this, the bar of my morality will get lower and lower. But Yuan didn't stop Gather. He clearly had thought of a more convenient way to solve the problem. If it was that simple, Yuan didn't have to complicate matters and worry about buffs and whatnot. Evelyn sneered. Do what you must, she snapped. I don't care even if I die, but I won't yield. Evelyn wasn't stupid. She knew that poverty was worse than death. Even if she died right now, she could still use her resources to revive herself and her troops. However, if she lost the fight, all her resources would be snatched away by Yuan. n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. Without resources, she couldn't even revive herself if she ended up dead. I can't surrender, and I can't lose, thought Evelyn. If I win, I will still have a chance to make a comeback. Evelyn was adamant. It didn't matter how Gather threatened her, she wouldn't budge. This made Gather very angry. It was already very difficult for him to make a good impression in front of the dark demon dragon, and now Evelyn was making things harder. Gather wondered if he could slap Evelyn a few more to knock some sense into her. At this moment, the situation in the dual space changed. Yuan activated her skill and applied the defense buff on the Hellgoblin Knights. They now had the thickest armors of protection. They became aggressive and charged at the ascetics. Kill them. Even without the flames, the Hellgoblin Knights looked formidable. They knocked down a few of the ascetics with their fire. Evelyn was a little anxious. She was about to command the ascetics when Gather stuffed a rag in her mouth. Evelyn struggled to make a legible sound but couldn't. She really wanted to curse Gather. Evelyn was infuriated. How was this fair? If she wasn't even allowed to command her troops, what kind of fight would that make this? Gather had an idea. He lifted Evelyn and pushed her forward, so her troops could see her. If you want your lord to live, surrender immediately. Gather knew that Evelyn, as a lord, would never surrender. So, he had covered up her mouth and now was using her to threaten her own troops. He knew that nothing he said would change Evelyn's mind, so he used her situation to threaten the ascetics. In the dual space, the ascetics, who were diligently fighting the Hellgoblin Knights, turned around one after another to look at their overlord. They saw that their overlord was tied up, and her mouth had been gagged. Nah. Evelyn tried to shout with all her might. She wanted to command the ascetics to keep fighting and to kill the enemies. She wanted to tell them that even if she died, it wasn't the end for her. No matter how much she struggled, Evelyn couldn't make a legible sound. Gather used that to his advantage. Did you hear that? He pointed at Evelyn. Your lord is asking for help. Why aren't you surrendering already? Evelyn was on the verge of vomiting blood because of all the rage. She had said nothing of the sort. She wanted to tell her troops to ignore her and keep on fighting, but she couldn't even make a sound. The ascetics heard Gather's words. They hesitated. They saw that their lord was gagged and tied up. She was clearly struggling. They turned to look at the radiant envoy. He was their source of strength. But he sat there, with his eyes closed, as though he had accepted his fate. The ascetics couldn't believe it. If their lord was trapped and the radiant envoy couldn't fight, they had to rely on themselves. They finally gave in. It wasn't that they couldn't defeat the Hellgoblin Knights, but if they continued to fight, their lord might be killed by the enemies. The ascetics reluctantly gave up, and the Hellgoblin Knights rushed forward and slaughtered them. No. Evelyn was horrified. Idiots! Kill the enemy. Unfortunately, she couldn't utter a word. The more she struggled to shout, the more helpless she appeared in the ascetics' eyes. 136 I can't be the only one scammed? In the end, the ascetics were massacred by the Hellgoblin Knights. Evelyn almost fainted in anger and defeat. Why couldn't these be *stards understand my hint? When the last ascetic was eliminated, the dual space determined Yuan as the winner. All of Evelyn's resources were transferred to Yuan. Yuan laughed. Thank you, I kindly accept your resources. In the beginning, Yuan had thought that the desperate battle ability was a double-edged sword. She might get to have all the resources if she won. But the opposite was also true. The enemy, if they won, would snatch away all her resources too. Yuan finally understood the loopholes of the ability. For stronger enemies, her troops might not be a match. But she could also use the White Dragon Saint, and Su Yuan. If Su Yuan applied a buff on the White Dragon Saint in the dual space, he would be invincible. She could totally win any fight. Next time, she would use the White Dragon and his power to threaten the others to admit defeat. Yuan felt that her plan was perfect. Once the duel was over, Gather removed the rag from Evelyn's mouth. ****, you shameless scum. Evelyn screamed. Shameless? I am shameless, said Gather in disdain. When your hero ganged up to bully my hero, why didn't you stop him? Wasn't that shameless? Even though the White Dragon Saint had been on their side, the Radiant Envoy readily accepting to band with him to attack someone who was alone had been a very shameless and immoral act. Bah! It's obvious that the Radiant Envoy had already sensed something was amiss, so he pretended to band up with the White Dragon, said Evelyn, trying to clear up his name. She refused to admit that the Radiant Envoy had indeed ganged up on the fallen angel. Yuan walked to Evelyn and looked down at her. I have taken all your resources. You are our prisoner, she said. You have two choices, either get eliminated or help us eliminate the others. Yuan was very intimidating at that moment. Su Yuan's domineering influence had rubbed off on her. She had also changed. N/O/vel/b/jn.c//om. Her words didn't bring any despair to Evelyn, but it didn't give her any hope, either. If Yuan wanted to cause despair, Evelyn might really withdraw from the competition. What Yuan wanted was for Evelyn to help them eliminate others because Evelyn might actually have some information about the other lords. Evelyn was conflicted. She didn't like the situation she was in. Yuan had used despicable means to win against her. However, she felt that she couldn't let everything go like this. Maybe someone could defeat Yuan. Yuan had snatched her gem away, so she had no hope of advancing in the competition anymore. Evelyn decided that she might as well help her captor. She was scammed by Yuan and her resources were down to zero. The other lords wouldn't have an easy time either. Evelyn looked forward to it. She wondered what would happen when the other lords were also cheated out of their wealth. Evelyn made up her mind. She would help Yuan find the others. I know a lord nearby, she said. I have a grudge against her. I can act as bait to lure her here. Evelyn told Yuan about the overlord. Her name was Lena, and she had an SSS-class Dark-type hero, the Dark Enchanter. The Dark Enchanter's ability is very strange, said Evelyn. Her face became dark. Lena's hero was a mage. However, she was different from other mages. All mages had elemental powers. However, the Dark Enchanter's power was strange. It did not follow the elemental laws. Once, the Dark Enchanter cursed my ascetics to turn into frogs. Evelyn looked terrified, as though recalling the memories was too much for her. The Dark Enchanter uses dark magic. That kind of magic is irrational. It doesn't abide by the normal rules. If you think about it, water and fire are opposite elements. They can't be put together. But the Dark Enchanter can make the fire burn on water. Dark magic can make clouds opaque, allowing them to lift objects and fly away. It can even make the stars fall from the sky. Evelyn explained to Yuan how dark magic could bypass universal rules. The White Dragon Saint and the Fallen Angel were stunned. They had heard about dark magic and mages who knew how to use it, but they had never experienced it firsthand. The White Dragon Saint and the Fallen Angel were a little confused. However, they masked their doubts in front of Su Yuan. They could not be seen confused or scared in front of him. Humph, Dark Enchanter, you say, said the White Dragon Saint. If she blocks our way, we will just fight her. Evelyn lowered her head. A vicious smile appeared on her face. It was better this way. The more they underestimated her, the more careless they would get. She would lead them to the Dark Enchanter, and when they planned their sneak attack, she would alert the mage. The Dark Enchanter was so stealthy and powerful that she could even kill the White Dragon Saint. Evelyn wanted revenge. She would bide her time patiently. I'll take you to Lena, she said. Evelyn earnestly expressed that she knew Lena very well. She could absolutely lead them to her. The Radiant Envoy seemed to want to say something, but Evelyn glared at him. Don't you dare. Evelyn was afraid he would expose her plan to the enemy even before it was implemented. She wanted to lead Yuan and others to Lena. They would obviously plan an attack. At that time, the Dark Enchanter would take care of them. Evelyn would stand at the side and watch them pay for what they did to her. She would have her revenge. 137 The Dark Enchanter with strange abilities. The Radiant Envoy got a scolding from Evelyn. He was getting annoyed. He was a powerful creature of the light type, and yet, the White Dragon Saint and the others had fooled him. He was already feeling depressed and angry. And now, Evelyn didn't even let him speak. His temper flared. He wanted to remind her of something, but he didn't want to anymore. He remained quiet along the way. Evelyn led the way. Soon, they came upon a river. Do you see the bonfire by the river? Said Evelyn. That means Lena is resting. Evelyn was thinking about how to make the best use of the situation. If Yuan and Lena fought head-on, it wouldn't have the desired effect. Evelyn wanted Yuan to snatch away all of Lena's resources, then get killed by the Dark Enchanter as revenge. As for Evelyn, she would hide until both lords were too injured and take them down together. That was the ideal scenario in her head. First, she needed to pretend to help Yuan, so she could snatch away Lena's resources. She wanted her nemesis to feel the pain she felt when her resources were robbed. We should think of a plan to trick her into fighting you, said Evelyn. N/O/vel/b/n.c//om. Yuan understood. Evelyn wanted her to fight Lena in the dual space created by activating the desperate battle. In fact, Yuan wanted to do exactly that. How do I do it? You challenge her to a fight and I will distract her from the side, said Evelyn. I will distract them so that they can't see what's happening in the dual space. That was all Evelyn could come up with. Having Yuan and Lena fight wasn't as complicated to achieve. Yuan's desperate battle skill didn't need the consent of the opponent. She could just activate it and then the enemy would have to choose her troops to fight, whether she liked it or not. Both sides would choose their troops and the battle would begin. If the opponent refused to send in the troops, the dual space would see that as defeat and the resources would be transferred to Yuan. According to the plan, Yuan would activate the desperate battle ability. Evelyn would rush out to distract Lena. She wouldn't give her enough time to select her troops. But, what if Lena chooses the troops somehow and Yuan's troops aren't strong enough to defeat them? Gatter expressed his doubts. He didn't trust Evelyn at all. He felt that she was planning something else entirely. However, for Yuan, this wasn't a problem at all. She had her own buff, and then she had Yuan, her ultimate support. Yuan didn't want to reveal this in front of them. She didn't trust Gatter and Evelyn. While she thought about it, she looked helpless. Why don't we do what we did before? Gatter suggested. We could send the Radiant Envoy to fight against the Dark Enchanter, as he is a hero of light. Then we can have the Fallen Angel pass by, pretending to help a fellow Dark-type hero, the Dark Enchanter. In the end, the Radiant Envoy and the Fallen Angel can gang up against the Dark Enchanter and capture her. Gatter wanted to do what they did last time. Evelyn and Lena were old enemies, after all. So, Evelyn attacking her with the Radiant Envoy wouldn't look suspicious. While Lena fought with Evelyn, Gatter would launch a sneak attack. Both he and Evelyn could then take Lena down. Gatter didn't really want to work with Evelyn. If he could, he would tie her up and leave her to rot. However, he wanted to make a good impression on Yuan. So, he agreed to cooperate with Evelyn temporarily. Let's deal with the enemy together. Yuan, Evelyn, and Gatter formed a plan. They agreed that Gatter's plan was reasonable. Yuan, what do you think? Asked Yuan. Even though they had discussed it and saw no problem with the plan, Yuan still felt uneasy. She wanted Yuan's opinion. Yuan, at the time, was sleeping. He was still gaining experience points from sleeping in the dark. When Yuan approached him and asked a question, he slowly opened his eyes. He looked at her. Then, he looked into the distance. He looked at Lena, by the river, and her hero, the Dark Enchanter. He then closed his eyes and yawned. He didn't say anything. He just continued to sleep. Yuan gently shook him. She wanted him to say something. However, no matter how hard she shook him or called his name, he wouldn't wake up. She stopped when the White Dragon Saint rushed to her and waved his claws at her threateningly. If you disturb my master again, I will not hold back. Yuan sighed. We must not delay. Let's begin with the plan, said Evelyn. Evelyn walked to where Lena was. She shouted, B*TCH? I finally found you. Today will be the day you die. Lena, who was building a fire by the river, suddenly stood up. She snorted. I was wondering who it was, but it's just you, loser. Do you want me to beat you again? A mage in a black cloak stood beside Lena. She had a slender figure and long, golden hair. Her fair hand gripped a mysterious staff. 138 Abusing the opportunity for a personal grudge. Lena sneered at Evelyn, just like how Evelyn had mocked Gatter when she first saw him. Evelyn realized how Gatter must have felt at that time. However, she didn't have much time to think. The black-robed woman next to Lena made her move. She spun the staff and pointed it at Evelyn. Dark magic, forbidden curse, she shouted. Dodge, said the Radiant Envoy. He pushed Evelyn away. However, the Radiant Envoy was hit. He turned into a frog and croaked. What a terrifying ability, muttered Yuan. She sucked in a breath of cold air. Yuan and Gatter both knew of the Radiant Envoy's strength. At the Snow Mountain, the fallen angel would have been defeated, even killed, if it hadn't been for the others. Even the Radiant Envoy had no resistance against the dark magic. Everyone was worried about the Radiant Envoy. The Radiant Envoy's body burst into a dazzlingly bright light. He used holy baptism to wash away the dark magic. The Dark Enchanter laughed. Your attainments in the light element are clearly not weak. There were purple stripes on her face like tattoos from an ancient tribe. When she smiled, she looked unusually beautiful. The Radiant Envoy returned to his original form. He was no longer a frog. He faced the mage with a somber expression. The fallen angel finally appeared. I found you. He stopped midair. His black wings were unfurled wide in the air. He looked very imposing. The fallen angel did not say who he was looking for. However, he kept staring at the Radiant Envoy. Three heroes faced each other. Among them, the fallen angel and the Dark Enchanter were dark-type heroes, while the Radiant Envoy was a light-type hero. Are you two planning to fight me together? Asked the Radiant Envoy. As expected of the dark types. Utterly shameless. Although the Radiant Envoy was pretending, he sounded genuinely disgusted. This was because his words came from the bottom of his heart. He hated the dark types. Even without all the acting, it was obvious that dark types would always band together against the light types. The fallen angel was abusing the opportunity for a personal grudge. At this time, Yuan was in between Yuan and the White Dragon Saint. The Dark Enchanter seems very powerful, said Yuan. Her one spell turned the Radiant Envoy into a frog. She must be one of the best among the dark types. Yuan looked at Yuan. He was a dark-type hero, after all. Yuan thought he might know something about it. But Yuan wasn't sure about a lot of things. He had just awoken into consciousness when he was sent to the Overlord plane, right after he had transmigrated into this body. Therefore, he had no idea what other creatures existed among the dark types. Yuan remained quiet. Yuan didn't expect an explanation. Yuan was always silent and mysterious, after all. Yuan didn't know that he had no idea about other dark-type heroes. She just assumed he didn't want to tell her. The White Dragon Saint answered her. The Dark Enchanter is indeed one of the most powerful beings among the dark types, he said. Although she might not be as equal as the Light Princess among the light types, she isn't that far off. The White Dragon Saint thought that Yuan underestimated the power of the Dark Enchanter, so he brought up the Light Princess as a comparison. The royal daughter of the Light Princess. Yuan had heard of her before. The fallen angel had mentioned her. The Light Princess was extremely powerful and was the second in command of the Light-type heroes. Yuan now understood how powerful the Dark Enchanter actually was. The fallen angel pretended to fight the Radiant Envoy. I will hold him back. You can launch an attack when you find an opening. He scowled. I have long since wanted to get my revenge. n/o/vel/b/n.c//om. D*ned dark types, you can rot in hell. The Radiant Envoy was furious. The Radiant Envoy was in a dilemma. He wanted no part in this. However, if he refused and went his own way, the Dark Demon Dragon would shred him to pieces. If he stayed, he would have to work together with the disgusting fallen angel that he despised so much. In the face of the fallen angel's attack, the Radiant Envoy resisted and retaliated. The fallen angel and the Radiant Envoy started to fight. The Dark Enchanter watched patiently. Those two B***stards? Don't tell me they forgot about the plan. The White Dragon Saints suspected that they were fighting for real and had forgotten all about their plan to capture the Dark Enchanter and her lord, Lina. I have to go. The White Dragon Saint flew forward. A roar sounded from the horizon. He made a dazzling entrance. His body was covered in white scales. He could disguise himself as a light-type hero. I can smell the stench of dark aura, roared the White Dragon Saint. Birdman, why don't you go back to hell? The fallen angel and the Radiant Envoy, who were in the middle of a fight, noticed the White Dragon Saint. Only then did they remember their purpose. They weren't here to actually fight. They were here to put on a convincing act. The Dark Demon Dragon was watching from the dark. The fallen angel and the Radiant Envoy momentarily stopped their attacks and looked at each other. The Radiant Envoy then turned to the White Dragon Saint and called for help. 139 There's nothing that can't be solved with a bludgeon. Ganging up on a lone light-type hero? As expected from dirty dark types. The White Dragon Saint heard the Radiant Envoy's cry for help. He flew to the Radiant Envoy's side. Don't even think for a moment that your plan would succeed. Lackeys of the dark. Come and fight me. The Dark Enchanter snorted. With your strength? Perhaps if the Light Princess was here, then you could fight me n/o/vel/b/n.c//om. She didn't care about the White Dragon Saint or the Radiant Envoy's strength. The fallen angel played his role very well. He didn't waste time and directly attacked the White Dragon Saint. When they started fighting, the Radiant Envoy joined in. The three of them were engaged in a chaotic battle. The fight slowly moved toward the Dark Enchanter, trying to lure her in. The Dark Enchanter was unaware of their plans. She quietly watched the show. Lord Lina and Lord Evelyn reached a stalemate. At this moment, Lord Gatter appeared. Evelyn, you B***tch, he shouted. I finally found you. Gatter looked furious. It was as though he had some truly unforgettable score to settle with Evelyn. Lord Lina saw how angry Gatter was. The enemy of an enemy was a friend. So, she let her guard down against Gatter. She assumed Gatter was on her side. However, something unexpected happened. Gatter suddenly appeared behind Lina. Lina realized that something was wrong. However, it was too late. Gatter smacked her on the back of her head. There's nothing that can't be solved with a bludgeon. Gatter saw that Lina had not been knocked unconscious. He was a little disappointed. The movies were all a lie? People didn't drop unconscious with just one hit to the head. But it doesn't matter, thought Gatter. If there's something that can't be solved with a bludgeon, then I'll hit it again. Gatter hit the back of Lina's head again with the club. Finally, on the 7th strike, Lina was knocked out cold. Quick, attack her. Evelyn's eyes were burning with jealousy. She stared at Yuan. Her resources had all been snatched away. She wanted others to feel the same agony she did. Yuan listened to her and activated the Desperate Battle ability. She chose a strong troop type to fight in the dual space. But Lina was unconscious, so she couldn't choose her troop type. That would be taken as an unwillingness to fight by the dual space. Yuan would then win automatically. All of Lina's resources would be snatched away. Yuan had chosen the Hell Goblin Knights, also known as the Burning Legion. The Dark Enchanter realized that something was wrong. She saw that her lord had been ambushed. You are looking for death. The Dark Enchanter wanted to help her lord. However, at the last moment, the fallen angel launched a sneak attack on her. What? The Dark Enchanter was very powerful. She sensed the fallen angel's attack before it reached her. She was confused. She didn't understand why the fallen angel would attack her. They were both dark types. She didn't dwell much on it. She wanted to deal with the fallen angel. However, both the White Dragon Saint and the Radiant Envoy attacked her together. The Dark Enchanter was shocked. She thought the two heroes might be happy to see her deal with the fallen angel, but they attacked her instead. At this moment, the Dark Enchanter realized something was amiss. Are you all together? The Dark Enchanter was even more puzzled. The light types and dark types never got along. They had been fighting each other for eternity. What could convince them to forget their enmity and join hands? The Dark Enchanter realized that the matter was not so simple. Meanwhile, Yuan was facing her own problems with the Desperate Battle ability. Based on their plans, she activated the Desperate Battle ability and chose her troops. She assumed she would win because Lena was unconscious to choose her troop type for the dual space. So, Yuan had thought she would win by default. However, it so happened that the dual space chose a troop for Lena automatically. The Hellgoblin Knights now faced a mage army. "This is not good," shouted Evelyn. She tried to shake Lena awake. "Quick, order your troops to surrender." Gatter watched the scene unfold. He recalled that he had been the one who had threatened Evelyn to make her surrender a while back. He had done it so that Yuan could win. The goal was the same even now, but the characters playing the game had changed. Now, it wasn't Gatter trying to threaten Lena to surrender but Evelyn. This woman is so vindictive, thought Gatter. He remained vigilant. Right now, because of Su Yuan, everyone cooperated. Once this was done, everyone would go back to settle their personal grudges. "I tricked you. And you want to trick others in the same way. You are so vengeful," thought Gatter as he looked at Evelyn. Evelyn's hair was disheveled. She looked messy. She shook Lena violently. "Hurry, make your troops surrender. Otherwise, I will pull your nails out of your fingers one by one." 140 The Dark Enchanter, Eve. Evelyn's words sent a chill down Gatter's spine. "I am not as ruthless as that woman," thought Gatter, trying to convince himself. He tried to persuade himself of the fact that Evelyn couldn't defeat him even if they fought. He decided to remain vigilant at all times. Otherwise, he wouldn't know even if she killed him in broad daylight. At this moment, Lena became conscious again. She was still in pain. She tried to remember what had happened to her. She recalled Gatter sneaking behind her and hitting her on the head. Then, she had fallen unconscious on the ground. A prompt appeared in her mind, informing her that she was participating in the desperate battle. It also informed her that all her resources would be taken away if she lost the battle. She couldn't afford to lose. "Don't even think about it." Lena glared at Evelyn. She was very tight-lipped for now. She thought of herself as a lord who had to save her resources, much like how Evelyn was in the past. Even if she died, she could be resurrected. But if she lost, all her resources would be gone. "All right." Evelyn laughed. "I like stubborn people like you." She brought out a pair of pliers. "I will pull out your nails one by one. Once I am done with that, your teeth will be next. Let's see when you will break." The creepy smirk on Evelyn's lips chilled Lena to her bones. Lena was scared. She looked up at the sky and shouted, "Eve, save me." The Dark Enchanter, Eve, heard the cry for help from her lord. She felt even more anxious. However, she was facing 3 powerful heroes at that time. She couldn't find an opening to escape. Lena finally compromised. I surrender? I will make those soldiers surrender." Lena trembled. Tears fell from her eyes. This experience made her understand the dangers of the world. The Lord could use the territory core to resurrect themselves, but the pain of torture evoked fear in their minds. Being tortured was worse than dying. As Lena accepted her fate, her mage army also surrendered. Yuan won. This was the second time she had used the desperate battle ability and won resources. N/O/vel/b/jn.c//om. However, both times Yuan had not really fought fair. Instead, the reason for her victory was something else. Lena was in a corner. She leaned against a huge rock. She stared at Yuan and Evelyn and then shivered. "Eve, we lost all of our resources." Evelyn sobbed. "I am so miserable." The Dark Enchanter saw this from the sky. She was furious. "Do you all have a death wish?" she roared. She had not expected the enemy to be so deceitful. They dragged her away into the sky and ambushed her lord with stealth. "How shameless. You will feel my wrath." The Dark Enchanter's staff began to spin. Dark magic, thunder of obliteration. The sky was suddenly covered with black clouds. Black lightning thundered in the sky. "Repent. This is for Lena's tears." Black lightning descended from the sky, striking down on the fallen angel and the other heroes. At this moment, the 3 heroes each displayed their abilities. The fallen angel spread his wings and flew away, avoiding the attack of the black divine lightning. The radiant envoy used teleportation to avoid the attack. The white dragon saint thought that his dragon body was very strong, so he decided to take the attack head-on. Boom! The black lightning struck the white dragon saint. He cried out in pain. However, he survived. "Humph, this is nothing," he said. "Master's magic protects me. You can use your lightning. I can take it 100 times more." As soon as the white dragon saint finished his words, black lightning bolts fell one after another, striking him. "Awu! Aoa!" The white dragon saint howled in agony. Those who didn't know better would have thought it was a wolf crying nearby. "You are actually good," the fallen angel praised. "I underestimated the resistance of dragons." He was very envious of the white dragon saint's resistance to magic. The dragon clan indeed was strong when it came to fighting magic. Most spells' effectiveness was reduced to 10% when they struck against dragons. Even the radiant envoy looked envious. He also wanted to have such strong resistance to magical attacks. "Ha ha ha." The white dragon saint laughed. "You can't be envious of my..." The white dragon saint was still alive. However, his body slowly turned to stone. The fallen angel and radiant envoy looked aghast. "He's petrified." The fallen angel's voice trembled. The radiant envoy came out of a stupor. The direct damage of the black lightning is not that much of a problem. The real damage is the petrifying ability. After being hit by the black lightning, the creature will be petrified. The radiant envoy had a rather deep understanding of magic. Even though he did not know much about dark magic, he could see the effects in front of his eyes. The white dragon stood there, frozen solid. His eyes open in disbelief. Don't let it hit you, said the radiant envoy. It was rare for him to warn the fallen angel, whom he despised from the bottom of his heart. However, they had angered the dark enchanter, so they were all in the same boat now. Boom! The black lightning struck down one after another. The fallen angel dodged it frantically. His wing was struck by the black lightning. This is bad. The fallen angel panicked. He was about to say something, but it was too late. He turned into stone. You're the only one left now. The dark enchanter looked at the radiant envoy. The fallen angel was a dark type hero. The dark enchanter knew that dark types were tricksters, so she attacked him directly. However, she hadn't expected a light type hero to be so shameless and low on morality. Since they had tricked her, the dark enchanter used a despicable trick on the radiant envoy too. She aimed her black lightning toward the radiant envoy's lord, Evelyn. 141. A desperate crisis. Save me, shouted Evelyn in fear. The dark enchanter had decided. It was because of tricks played by Evelyn and Gatter that her lord had fallen. The dark enchanter attacked Evelyn because she knew the radiant envoy would try to save her. If it was a dark type hero, it wouldn't be beneath them to sacrifice their own lords to save themselves. But light types were different. The dark enchanter knew this. Just as the black lightning was about to reach Evelyn, the radiant envoy went through several internal struggles. He finally rushed toward Evelyn. He wanted to push her out of the way, but he was a little too late. As he reached her, the black lightning hit him. No! Evelyn cried in despair. She saw the radiant envoy turning to stone before her eyes. As a lord, she had countless troops. But he was her initial hero. His presence determined the outcome of the battle. Losing him meant that Evelyn had lost the only chance of making a comeback in this competition. Therefore, watching her hero gradually turn to stone was torture for her. The dark enchanter was looking down from above. A magic array was suspended under her feet, allowing her to float in the air. The dark enchanter smiled in satisfaction. What kind of resistance do you have now? The fallen angel, white dragon saint, and radiant envoy had all turned to stone. We're doomed. Gatter looked at his hero, the fallen angel, who had turned into stone. He then looked at the other heroes, who had suffered a similar fate. The three lords didn't have a strong enough hero that they could use. Perhaps the three overlords could open the dimensional portal and summon their strongest troops to fight the enemy. Yuan's face paled. She hadn't expected the dark enchanter to be so powerful. Moreover, the dark enchanter had ticked the radiant envoy and petrified him in one strike. How could they fight someone like that with their current strength? Maybe if they waited for the dark enchanter to get tired or slip just once, then they could have a chance of defeating her. The dark enchanter descended onto the ground barefooted. She pulled Lord Lena to her and comforted her. Lena, don't cry. I will get you double of whatever you lost. The dark enchanter glared at Yuan, Evelyn, and Gatter with murderous intent. Evelyn pointed at Yuan with a trembling finger. It was her idea. She forced me to do this. Evelyn was biting back. Even though she was the one who suggested Lin to them, she blamed it on Yuan. The situation was hopeless. So, she wanted to switch sides. Evelyn didn't know how powerful Yuan was, but based on what she had seen so far, he seemed useless to her. Her hero was the radiant envoy, Gatter's hero was the fallen angel, and she assumed Yuan's hero was the white dragon saint. All three heroes had been wiped out from Evelyn's perspective. Therefore, she thought they had nothing to fight Lena with. Evelyn realized it was time to surrender, so she willingly did. Moreover, this wasn't considered defecting to the enemy. She was previously captured by Yuan. She had been plotting revenge and planning her escape ever since. Lord Gatter was of a different opinion. He knew Yuan wasn't as simple as he looked. So, he felt like there was still hope. There was still a mysterious black dragon on Yuan's side who could turn things around. Thus, Gatter remained quiet. He waited for the right opportunity to strike. Lena and the dark enchanter turned to Yuan. Lena whispered, "It's her. She snatched all of our resources." The dark enchanter glared at Yuan. Evelyn was excited. She couldn't wait for Yuan and Lena to fight so that she could take advantage of the situation and escape. Whether it was Lena or Yuan, Evelyn felt that all of them were her enemies. She didn't want to stay there for even a moment. Yuan instinctively took a step back when the dark enchanter looked at her with hostility in her eyes. She hadn't expected things to turn out this way. The powerful white dragon saint, the fallen angel, and the radiant envoy had all been defeated. Yuan was so panicky that she even forgot about Yuan. She retreated step by step. Suddenly, Yuan's foot didn't find a ground to step on. She looked behind her. There was nothing there, except the river. If she took another step back, she would fall into the river. What do I do? Yuan looked at the dark enchanter, who was approaching her step by step. Her heart raced in panic. Since she became a lord, Yuan had experienced countless battles, both big and small, but not once had she died. Was she going to die here? Yuan was unable to calm herself enough to think of a way. Her body trembled. She closed her eyes, waiting for her death. However, at this moment, Gatter shouted. Yuan opened her eyes. She saw Gatter looking into the dark in the direction where Yuan and Yuan had hidden before. Yuan had sneaked into the fight. But Yuan had been too lazy. He must still be there. "Your Majesty, isn't it time for you to make your move?" shouted Gatter. Gatter's voice attracted everyone's attention. The one who panicked the most was Evelyn. Yuan's team had captured Evelyn. So, she had volunteered to lead them to Lena. She had forgotten about Yuan's existence. She had just tried to switch sides. What would be the consequences of it now? Evelyn was in a dilemma. N/O/vel/B/in.C//OM. It didn't matter whichever side won this fight. For Evelyn, things weren't looking good. Yuan had captured her. She had led Yuan here and then turned her back on her, while Lena was already her enemy. Evelyn was trapped either way. She broke out in a cold sweat. 142 Your Majesty, the Dark Demon Dragon? What do I do? Thought Evelyn. Although she should have been happy seeing Yuan in a dire state, she couldn't help but worry. She knew that she would be next. How did the situation turn out this way? While Evelyn panicked, Yuan heard Gatter shout. She finally remembered that she still had her final trump card, Yuan. Yuan didn't ask for his help. Yuan, run. If the White Dragon Saint, the Fallen Angel and the Radiant Envoy couldn't deal with the Dark Enchanter, Yuan didn't think Yuan was strong enough to deal with her. So, she told him to escape. At this time, she was only worried about his safety. She wanted to stall for time until he could escape. However, she made a mistake. She glanced in the direction where Yuan was hiding. The Dark Enchanter noticed it. She and Lena walked in that direction. Oh, there is still someone hiding here. The Dark Enchanter smiled. How strange. I didn't even notice. The Dark Enchanter was fascinated. This was the first time she had encountered a creature that could completely mask its aura, so it was practically undetectable. Yuan's heart sank. Yuan, she shouted. Run, just run, don't worry about me. She didn't want to be held hostage like some female lead in a melodramatic movie. However, Yuan was afraid that that was exactly what was going to happen. Yuan was always indifferent to everything around him. Yuan prayed he would be indifferent right now and run away. However, Yuan appeared. Yuan felt touched that he stayed for her, but she was also annoyed at him for being so foolish. He should have run away when he had the chance. If Yuan died, she could resurrect back at the territory core after consuming some resources. That would be true for Yuan too, but resurrecting both of them together would consume a ton of resources. In the end, Yuan didn't run. He stayed. Now both of them were done for. Yuan, said Yuan. She didn't know what else to say. Should she scold him for being foolish enough to not have escaped when he had the chance? Should she thank him for staying back for her? Yuan accepted his kindness in the end. Yuan lazily walked out of the dark. The Dark Enchanter's face changed. N/O/vel/B/jn.C//OM. Evelyn didn't see the Dark Enchanter's reaction, so she just laughed. Ha 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 ha, this is your last hope. Evelyn didn't know much about Yuan. She had only seen him sleep and laze around. She thought he wasn't very powerful. No matter how strong he was, he couldn't possibly be tougher than the combined strength of the White Dragon Saint, the Fallen Angel, and the Radiant Envoy. Even the combined strength of the three heroes wasn't a match for the Dark Enchanter. What could Yuan do alone, after all? Evelyn thought Gatter had gone mad from panic. He had called upon this tiny thing to make a move. Looking at Yuan's reaction, Evelyn was certain that Yuan was useless. Lena had the same thoughts as Evelyn. Lena saw Yuan shouting at Yuan to escape. If he was truly powerful, why would she tell him to run? Eve, kill him. Lena wanted to end it. She had been bullied and tricked. Her resources had been taken away in an instant. She was going to take everything back, one way or another. However, the Dark Enchanter did not move. Yuan walked out of the shadows. He was now clearly visible to everyone under the moonlight. He was a black dragon-like creature with a strange flame at the tip of the tail. Countless runes flickered on the creature's body. 12 dark energy balls spun behind him. There was a magic array glowing under his feet. Eve, what's wrong with you? Lena realized that something was wrong with her hero. She looked at her worriedly. The Dark Enchanter was trembling slightly. Lena understood. The enemy was of unparalleled strength. That was why her hero was acting like that. Soon, the Dark Enchanter made a move. She spun her staff and then flew towards Yuan. It's over. Evelyn laughed. Once Yuan fell, Yuan's last hope would be shattered. Evelyn was ecstatic. Her hero was defeated. Her hope was lost. Nothing gave her more pleasure than to watch Yuan's last hope getting crushed. When Yuan saw the Dark Enchanter charge at Yuan, she was anxious. Yuan, she shouted desperately. You idiot! I told you to run. What are you standing there for? Go. In the blink of an eye, the Dark Enchanter reached Yuan. The two heroes faced each other. Everyone was nervous. However, what happened next left everyone shocked. The Dark Enchanter didn't attack Yuan. Instead, she looked excited to meet him. Your Majesty, the Dark Demon Dragon in the flesh, I have finally found you. It was as though a fangirl had finally found her idol. Everyone was stunned. They all looked at the Dark Enchanter and Yuan in turns. The Dark Enchanter was like a fangirl, who moved back and forth on her feet, trying hard to make a good impression on her idol whom she had the good fortune to meet. On the other hand, Yuan yawned lazily. Oh, you aren't here to challenge me, asked Yuan groggily. The Dark Enchanter fiercely shook her head. It's just a misunderstanding, Your Majesty. How could I ever challenge you? When Yuan had left for the Overload Plane, so many of the Dark-type heroes had followed. The Light-types had followed too, thinking that if too many Dark-types left for the Overlord Plane, they would certainly make a mess. 143 Yuan is jealous. Numerous Light-type heroes had followed suit and left for the Overlord Plane too. Some of them were very powerful beings from the light types. The Dark Enchanter, Eve, was one of the best and strongest dark type heroes. She could not just stand by and let the light types leave for the Overlord plane just like that. Although Eve knew that the Dark Demon Dragon could deal with all the light types, she felt it would be too degrading to let the Dark Demon Dragon handle them all by himself. After thinking for a while, Eve had followed the other heroes to the Overlord plane. I am here to help you deal with the light types, Your Majesty. The Dark Enchanter smiled sweetly. Everyone was dumbfounded. Gatter knew Su Yuan wasn't someone simple. However, he was still taken aback when he saw the Dark Enchanter being so obedient in front of Su Yuan. n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. As for Evelyn and Lena, they were utterly baffled. Lena, especially, was shocked. The Dark Enchanter was her hero. With her as her hero, Lena's journey as a lord had been very smooth. All the enemies she had ever faced had been defeated by the Dark Enchanter. No one ever could match her power and her strength. However, the current situation was something that she could never have predicted in her wildest dreams. Her formidable hero, her most trusted partner, had turned to the enemy's side in an instant. Yuan was conflicted, even more so than the others. She knew Su Yuan wasn't ordinary among the dark-type heroes. She still believed it was because of his powerful auxiliary skill that everyone respected. She had always assumed the White Dragon Saint and the Fallen Angel respected him because of his auxiliary skill. It was similar to how doctors were respected when they visited the area during wartime. However, Yuan hadn't expected someone as powerful as the Dark Enchanter to give up in front of Su Yuan so easily. Is it because of Scammer Su's charm? Yuan felt sour as she watched the Dark Enchanter chatting heartily with Su Yuan. An indescribable feeling emerged in her heart. All this time, Yuan had never felt threatened that her hero would be snatched away from her. He was a lazy bum, after all. He occasionally tricked her, but he spent most of his time sleeping. So, Yuan let him be. The other lords would definitely not accept such a lazy, scamming hero. So, she was secure in the knowledge that no one would take him away. Yuan had never felt like this, even with the Flower Fairy. The Flower Fairy was a woman, but she was always well behaved. She always respected Su Yuan. She was more like a follower than anything else. So, Yuan didn't feel worried. Apart from her, the White Dragon Saint, the Fallen Angel, and the Radiant Envoy were all men. They followed Su Yuan around like obedient little puppies and nothing more. But now, the current situation made Yuan uneasy. She was on her guard. The Dark Enchanter was being too persistent. Yuan feared that the Dark Enchanter might snatch Su Yuan from her. Just as Yuan was about to say something, Su Yuan instructed the Dark Enchanter to free the others from petrification. Of course, Your Majesty, said the Dark Enchanter. The Dark Enchanter aimed the staff at the three stone heroes. She chanted an incantation. After a short while, a black bolt of lightning shot out from the staff and hit the Fallen Angel. At a speed that was visible to the naked eye, the Fallen Angel turned from a stone statue back to a creature of flesh and blood. The Fallen Angel was a little stunned after he recovered. When he saw the Dark Enchanter pointing her staff at him, he dodged instinctively. The Dark Enchanter then aimed at the White Dragon Saint. A bolt of black lightning hit him, and he recovered as well. The battle had ended. The Dark Enchanter was turning them back to their original forms. When the last hero, the Radiant Envoy, returned to his original form, all three of them stared vigilantly at the Dark Enchanter. Why are you looking at me? The Dark Enchanter snorted. If it wasn't for His Majesty, I would curse all your generation to turn to stone. The three heroes understood the situation. Su Yuan saved them in the end. He had instructed the Dark Enchanter to turn them back to flesh and blood. Lena sobbed. Eve, what about our resources? All our resources are gone. With Yuan activating the desperate battle and Evelyn and Gatter tricking her, they had snatched away all of Lena's resources. The Dark Enchanter looked at Yuan. She noticed that Yuan was staring at her with great hostility in her eyes. This is going to be difficult, thought the Dark Enchanter. She understood that Yuan was Su Yuan's lord. Therefore, she had a close relationship with him. So, Yuan's territory and resources were also Su Yuan's resources. If she asked for the resources back, it would be like asking the Dark Demon Dragon to return them. The Dark Enchanter couldn't possibly say that to him. She couldn't ask Yuan to return the resources. But she needed an explanation for her lord. After thinking for a while, the Dark Enchanter looked at Evelyn. Evelyn's hero was a light-type hero, but Evelyn was black of heart. She had schemed everything. Besides, Evelyn and Lena were old enemies. The Dark Enchanter realized that there was no harm in shifting the blame to Evelyn. Since the Dark Enchanter couldn't ask Yuan to return the resources, she would target Evelyn, who had tricked Lena. The Dark Enchanter looked at Evelyn and the Radiant Envoy. Were you the ones who tricked my Lena? She pointed her staff at Evelyn. Lena wanted to say that it was Yuan who had snatched away her resources. After thinking about it, she kept her mouth shut. She wanted to deal with Evelyn first. She and Yuan were ordinary competitors, after all. But Evelyn and Gatter had tricked her. If not for them, her troops wouldn't have accepted defeat. 144 Fighting to show off in front of His Majesty, the Dark Demon Dragon. The Dark Enchanter pointed her staff at Evelyn as if she was going to attack her. Evelyn was in despair. The only one who could save her now was Yuan. But she had shifted all the blame to Yuan and offended her. No one would save her now. The Radiant Envoy stood in front of Evelyn, blocking her from view. He looked at the powerful dark enchanter and then at Su Yuan. The dark types had gathered. The radiant envoy accepted his fate. He had no way to escape from the current situation. However, even if was defeated here today, there would always be more heroes from the light types standing against the dark types. He still had hope. The dark enchanter turned around and glanced at Su Yuan. Her gesture was clear. She was asking for his opinion. If he told her to stop, she would. At this moment, the dark enchanter turned around and glanced at Wish. Su Yuan yawned lazily. The light types will never submit to us completely. If we let them live, they will pretend to be on our side on the surface while secretly plotting our downfall. The dark enchanter understood Su Yuan's implications. He wanted her to kill the radiant envoy. The radiant envoy and Evelyn realized that this was their end. The radiant envoy had accepted his fate, but Evelyn wasn't like him. She trembled in fear. Yuan had snatched away her resources. If she were to die here, she would have no resources to resurrect herself in her territory. She would truly die. No, she cried. I can't die. She grabbed a fistful of her hair on both sides. Her face twisted in despair. She still couldn't understand the relationship between Yuan and Su Yuan. She still assumed that the White Dragon Saint was Yuan's hero. I agree that I was involved in tricking your lord, said Evelyn. But I did that because she threatened me. Evelyn still pointed fingers at Yuan. Perhaps she didn't have to die here yet. Lord Lena was also furious. She remembered that she was dragged into the desperate battle duel space, which was activated by Yuan. Yuan had then taken away all her resources. She couldn't be left alone either. Lena knew that the Dark Enchanter was respectful of the Black Dragon. However, she was also confused about why he would help Yuan. She didn't understand what relationship Yuan and Su Yuan shared. Lena thought that Su Yuan wouldn't really care for the current matter. The Dark Enchanter smiled mysteriously as she spun the staff in her hands. She pointed the staff at the Radiant Envoy and Evelyn. Black lightning shot out. They couldn't escape. The Radiant Envoy realized that the White Dragon Saint and the Fallen Angel had already surrounded him. Together with the Dark Enchanter, the three of them formed a triangular formation and surrounded him, not giving him an opening to escape. As the black lightning struck, the Radiant Envoy stood there quietly, waiting for his death. However, Evelyn screamed hysterically, trying to escape. She was struck down by the black lightning before she could even take a step. Evelyn looked at Lena and the others with a venomous gaze. Even if I die here, I won't let you all have it easy. Evelyn had always been the kind of person who couldn't let others live in peace if her own life was hell. At the last moment, when Evelyn turned to stone, she opened the dimensional portal to her territory. In an instant, numerous light-type troops surged out of the portal. This was Evelyn's last bit of madness. She wanted to summon all the troops at the last moment of her life. If this could cause even a little bit of trouble for the ones present, Evelyn would be satisfied. Yuan, Lena, and Gatter took a deep breath. They didn't expect Evelyn to be so ruthless. Looking at the numerous light-type troops, Yuan and the others opened the dimensional portal to their own territories and summoned their troops as well. Su Yuan's gaze was fixed on Evelyn's territory core. Su Yuan still needed elemental hearts for his chaos realm. Just as Su Yuan was about to make a move, the White Dragon Saint realized his intention. The White Dragon Saint flew forward. Master, leave it to me. The White Dragon Saint flew impatiently toward Evelyn's territory to take away the territory core. The fallen angel, who was at the side, was confused. But from the White Dragon Saint's expression, the fallen angel understood that the territory core was important to Su Yuan. How could he leave such an important job to the White Dragon Saint alone? The fallen angel looked at the White Dragon Saint, who was about to step into the portal to go to Evelyn's territory. He attacked. Numerous dark tentacles shot forward and wrapped around the White Dragon Saint, pulling him back. You just fought a battle. You must be tired. You should rest, said the fallen angel. Leave this to me. The fallen angel laughed and flew toward the dimensional portal. The White Dragon Saint was stunned. Even before this, there were many troops who obediently followed Su Yuan. However, all of them were weaker than the White Dragon Saint. He was the most powerful creature under Su Yuan's command. But now, the fallen angel was going to snatch away all the credit for his hard work. ****, muttered the White Dragon Saint. You say you are worried that I might need rest. Then, what are these tentacles? Why are they binding me? The White Dragon Saint was furious. He waved his claws and tore the dark tentacles apart. However, the fallen angel had already entered through the dimensional portal. He was too late. This time, the fallen angel was about to get the territory core. He would get the credit for it. The White Dragon Saint was angry at himself for not being on guard against the fallen angel. He had been too complacent. n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. Just as the White Dragon Satin was filled with regret, black lightning arched from above his head and hit the fallen angel's wings. What? The fallen angel realized something was wrong. 145. The White Dragon Saint and the fallen angel's mutual deception. The black lightning seemed to weigh 1,000 tons. The White Dragon Saint saw the fallen angel's wings gradually turning into stone. The fallen angel lost his ability to fly and fell down hard on the ground. ****, shouted the fallen angel. Eve, what do you mean by this? The fallen angel was furious at being ambushed by the Dark Enchanter. He turned around and looked behind him. The Dark Enchanter pointed the staff at the White Dragon Saint. Wait, said the White Dragon Saint. Eve, what are you doing? The White Dragon Saint couldn't think straight. Why was the Dark Enchanter attacking them suddenly? Could it be that she had changed her mind and no longer wanted to listen to Su Yuan? Is she going to disobey the Dark Demon Dragon's orders? The White Dragon Saint wondered. Maybe she wants to kill us all, so she can be the only underling of the Dark Demon Dragon. The White Dragon Saint's eyes widened as the black lightning shot toward him and struck his wings. The White Dragon Saint, who was flying in the air, felt his wings become heavy, and he temporarily lost the ability to stay aloft. He fell straight to the ground. Boom! The White Dragon Saint's huge dragon body smashed a huge hole in the ground, filling the air with dust. In the distance, the fallen angel laughed. Ha ha ha, said the fallen angel. You aren't any better. The fallen angel had been ambushed by the Dark Enchanter and felt very depressed. When he saw the White Dragon Saint suffering the same fate, he felt better. Eve? What's the meaning of this? The White Dragon Saint roared in anger. If we delay the master from getting his hands on the territory core, will you take the responsibility? He knew that he couldn't beat the Dark Enchanter, so he brought up Su Yuan. The White Dragon Saint and the Fallen Angel both wanted to run through the dimensional portal for Su Yuan. It was to get the territory core for Su Yuan. At that moment, they were representing Su Yuan. If the Dark Enchanter attacked them to hinder them from getting the territory core, the consequences would be dire. The White Dragon Saint hoped that the Dark Enchanter would see some sense and release him so that he could save face in front of Su Yuan. The Dark Enchanter smiled. You both have fought a hard battle. You must be tired. Leave this to me. The White Dragon Saint and the Fallen Angel finally understood what she meant. She was trying to take the credit? The Fallen Angel dragged his petrified wings and ran toward the dimensional portal. Numerous troops attacked and tried to stop him, but he was unstoppable. Even if his wings were useless, he still had his legs. The Fallen Angel took advantage of the Dark Enchanter's diverted attention toward the White Dragon Saint and ran for the portal. The Dark Enchanter faced the White Dragon Saint, so her back was turned toward the Fallen Angel. She couldn't see what he was up to. The White Dragon Saint saw the Fallen Angel and warned the Dark Enchanter. Look, that D*Ned Birdman is running toward the portal. Upon hearing this, the Dark Enchanter let fly another bolt of black lightning toward the Fallen Angel. It hit his legs. His legs slowly turned to stone. He couldn't run anymore. The Fallen Angel had only to take a few steps to take the territory core, but, at the most crucial moment, he was betrayed by the White Dragon Saint. You're dead, shouted the Fallen Angel at the White Dragon Saint. The White Dragon Saint laughed. Birdman, just stay there obediently. The White Dragon Saint rolled his eyes. He had a brilliant idea. He got up and ran toward the dimensional portal. To stop the Dark Enchanter from attacking him, he explained as he ran. Don't misunderstand. I am just going over there to deal with the Fallen Angel, he said. I want to attack that dog while it's down. The White Dragon Saint successfully passed through the portal, and the Dark Enchanter didn't attack him. The plan was going smoothly. The White Dragon Saint saw that the territory core was getting closer and closer. Then, suddenly, the White Dragon Saint's legs sank. His legs had turned to stone, and he couldn't run anymore. The Dark Enchanter walked through the portal and took the territory core into her hands. Numerous troops disappeared suddenly. Without the territory core, they couldn't exist. The Dark Enchanter took the territory core and walked past the White Dragon Saint. Humph, you're really dishonest, she said. Do you still want to lie to me? The Dark Enchanter hadn't suspected the White Dragon Saint at first. She had genuinely believed that he had a beef to pick with the Fallen Angel, so she had let him go. But then she noticed something. The Fallen Angel was very close to the territory core. If the White Dragon Saint wanted to deal with him, then he would be too close to the territory core, too. What if the White Dragon Saint directly took the territory core? The more she thought about this, the more doubtful she became. The White Dragon Saint and the Fallen Angel had tried to trick her before, after all. She understood that the White Dragon Saint was probably aiming to collect the territory core by using the Fallen Angel as an excuse. The Dark Enchanter had then shot her black lightning at the White Dragon Saint's legs. Both the Fallen Angel and the White Dragon Saint had lost their ability to move. This time, no one could take the credit for getting the territory core besides her. The Dark Enchanter held the territory core happily and walked toward Su Yuan. She could tell that Su Yuan was interested in this thing. If she gave this to him, it would be counted as a huge contribution. She could gain favor from the Dark Demon Dragon himself. The Fallen Angel and White Dragon Saint cursed as they watched the Dark Enchanter leave. Both the Fallen Angel and the White Dragon Saint had been very close to the territory core. They had been only a few steps away from success. In the end, the Dark Enchanter had taken the fruits of their labor right from under their noses. I hate this. If not for you, I would have gotten the territory core, exclaimed the Fallen Angel. He glared at the White Dragon Saint. The White Dragon Saint didn't back down either. It's because of you. If you hadn't acted so blatantly obvious, she wouldn't have figured out we were going for the territory core in the first place. n/o/vel/b/n.c//om. The White Dragon Saint and the Fallen Angel started arguing. They blamed each other for their failures. The Dark Enchanter, on the other hand, held the territory core and approached Su Yuan proudly. 146 Is he your hero? Su Yuan took the elemental heart from the Dark Enchanter's hands. The 12 dark energy balls behind him glowed, and one of them absorbed the elemental heart. Not bad. Su Yuan praised. The praise made the Dark Enchanter euphoric with happiness. n/o/vel/b//in.c//om. However, the Dark Enchanter's lord, Lena, didn't feel as joyful. This was because the other two lords who had tricked her, Gatter and Yuan, were still alright. Eve, these two. Lena pointed at the two of them. She could not let go of her loss so easily. Yuan had snatched away all her resources, and Gatter had hit her on her head several times. She wanted to settle her score with the two lords. When the Dark Enchanter heard this, she frowned. She thought that her lord was a little too difficult to please. The Dark Enchanter glanced at Yuan. Before he could say anything, Gatter ran and hid behind Yuan. Gatter was terrified of the Dark Enchanter. Your Majesty, I did what I did according to your instructions. Please don't abandon me. Gatter was very anxious. He had a powerful hero like the fallen angel, but his hero seemed nothing in front of the Dark Enchanter's power. His only hope now was Yuan. Yuan would definitely be able to protect him. Lena's heart sank as she saw Gatter hide behind Yuan. If what he said was true, then he was working for Yuan, and the Dark Enchanter respected Yuan. *amn it, thought Lena. She was getting a headache. It would be terrible if Gatter received protection from Yuan. Lena looked at Yuan. Yuan was still annoyed by the Dark Enchanter. Why are you looking at me? She snapped at Lena. Are you still sulking that I took away your resources? Gatter was hiding behind Yuan. So, Lena thought that Yuan was easy to deal with since she didn't have anyone to protect her. Yuan snorted. Are you trying to steal the resources back? My team stole your resources not only for me but also for Yuan. When she said this, she wasn't staring at Lena. Yuan looked directly at the Dark Enchanter. Her gaze was full of hostility. The Dark Enchanter sensed Yuan's anger. A surprised voice interrupted the tense atmosphere. What? Said Lena. That thing is your hero. Yuan turned to glance at Lena. She appeared cold and aloof. Her words were clear enough. She was in no mood to explain further. Her resources were also Yuan's resources. If Lena was dissatisfied with the recent developments, she would have to take her resources back from Yuan. The task was undoubtedly impossible for Lena. Yuan nodded at Yuan, acknowledging her. Lena didn't say anything further. From the way the White Dragon Saint and the Fallen Angel reacted, it was clear to see that Yuan was someone powerful. Even a strong light-type hero like the Radiant Envoy had temporarily submitted to Yuan and followed his orders. An existence powerful enough to make a light-type hero submit to him. How powerful was Yuan exactly? Lena's hero, the Dark Enchanter, was one of the most powerful dark-type heroes, and yet, she was fawning over Yuan at the moment. While Lena was still in shock, the Dark Enchanter walked to her with a troubled expression. Lena, this is not easy, she said. Maybe we can consider the stolen resource as a contribution to His Majesty. Lena felt even more frustrated. Her most trusted hero was giving up? Lena had no choice but to give up too. After talking to Gatter, she realized that there was no second or third place in this competition. The rest would be eliminated except the one person who would hold all the gems. Lena handed over her gem. The gems of all other contestants would be snatched away by Yuan sooner or later. Anyway, there were still 6 lords left. Lena didn't want to cooperate with Yuan. Yuan had colluded with Evelyn and tricked her. She had stolen all of Lena's resources. Gatter, on the other hand, had hit her on the back of her head mercilessly. She hated them from the bottom of her heart. Her hero had also given up. Lena had no choice but to forget about what had happened, at least for now. They gathered to discuss the next course of action. Now, they had gathered together to discuss a plan to get rid of the remaining 6 lords. While Yuan discussed the plan to trap the 6 lords, some lords had received a message from the Radiant Envoy before he died. It says a powerful enemy has appeared, said one of the lords. The heroes of the 3 lords were all of light type. When they received the message, they joined forces. The specific situation is still unknown, but if the Radiant Envoy couldn't even send a complete message, the enemy indeed must be too powerful. The 3 lords had gathered to discuss and decode the information from the message sent by Radiant Envoy before his death. 147 We must join forces to fight against Yuan. Yuan. That is the only name clear in the message n/o/vel/b//jn.c//om. The 3 lords gathered and discussed. The Radiant Envoy had been petrified by the Dark Enchanter's power. However, at the last moment, he used all his strength to send a message. When the message reached the other lords, it was barely legible. The heroes connected the broken message and finally reached a conclusion. The Radiant Envoy seemed to have encountered an unimaginably powerful enemy. And this enemy's name was Yuan. The 3 heroes looked at the lords. Among the heroes, they had never heard of someone called Yuan. They thought that Yuan wasn't a hero but an overlord. Yuan, said one of the lords. That name is very familiar. I heard it somewhere. I think I also heard that name before, said another lord. They recalled where they had heard of the name. She was a fellow contestant from the Star Academy? The overlord searched on the internet and found Yuan's information. All the information about the final contestants was on the internet. So, she has sneaked into the competition. She's very strong. Even the Radiant Envoy was killed before he could send a complete message. The 3 heroes and the 3 lords discussed gravely. They gradually came to understand that Yuan might be unimaginably powerful. I checked the video of her match. Her hero never showed himself. They both are very mysterious. An overlord checked the recording of Suwon's previous match in school. They found out that Suwon's hero was something that looked like a small, black dragon. However, the creature looked very lazy. Even in the selection tournament, when Suwon fought, her hero didn't make a move. Oh, it is no wonder the Radiant Envoy was killed before he could even send a complete message. It seems that Suwon's hero is not as simple as he looks. They all looked into the distance, thinking about this overlord and her hero. The heroes couldn't access the interface like their lords, so they didn't see the information on it. They had yet to find out that Suwon's hero was the Dark Demon Dragon. It looks like we need to join forces to get rid of that mysterious and powerful enemy first. Although the lords were usually arrogant and didn't want to team up with others, they knew what had happened to Evelyn and her hero, the Radiant Envoy. They were not weak people. One could imagine how powerful the enemy was. So, they decided to form an alliance to get rid of this common enemy. I feel that if we fight alone, Suwon will wipe us out one by one. We need to work together to eliminate her first. The three lords set aside their pride and joined forces for a common goal, to eliminate Suwon. The three lords then used their own ability to gather more information. This is not good. The three lords looked very somber. Lord Gatter, with his hero, the Fallen Angel, and Lord Lena, with her hero, the Fallen Angel, have joined Suwon's side. We can't win against all of them. The three lords had assumed that it would be possible for them to defeat Suwon if the three of them joined hands. However, they realized the futility of their plan. It won't be just the three of them fighting Suwon alone. Suwon had powerful allies by her side. If they fought against Suwon's team, their defeat was apparent. I guess this is the only way. One of the lords made up his mind. Evelyn has been eliminated. 9 more contestants are still in the arena. Besides Gatter, Suwon, and Lena, there are still 6 lords left. Maybe we can find the other 3 lords and band together. The 6 of us might have a chance against the 3 of them. These 3 lords were smart but very arrogant. But they had no choice but to increase their numbers if they wanted to stay alive. Just the 3 of them might not be able to defeat Suwon. How strong is the Dark Enchanter? One of the lords asked. The light mage of one of the lords grimaced. Although I don't want to admit this, I am no match for her. The light mage was quite powerful, but the enemy was stronger. For a light mage to admit that she was no match for someone, Suwon's hero must be indeed too powerful. Everyone, we shouldn't hesitate. My light mage can't deal with the Dark Enchanter. We need the help of another person. Maybe 2 against 1 might be enough when it comes to the Dark Enchanter. Don't forget, if we lose too many troops fighting with the Dark Enchanter, there would still be Suwon's hero to deal with. What about the Fallen Angel? The discussion shattered everyone's pride. They realized the situation was dire, so they set their arrogance aside and decided to join forces for real. Somewhere in the arena, in a canyon, Lord Bevan analyzed the current situation with his hero, the red-eyed black dragon. He was contemplating how he should proceed. Suddenly, a beam of light arched from afar. It was the S-class hero, the Light Mage, 148 planning to make it into the finals. When Lord Bevan saw the Light Mage approach, he was nervous. His hero, the red-eyed black dragon, was about as strong as the Light Mage. If they fought together, it was hard to tell which one would win. D***MN it, muttered Lord Bevan. I was just looking for a place to hide. How could he find me here? As a lord who was well versed in the ways of the competition, the first thing he did after entering the arena was to find a place to hide. N/O/vel/b/in.c//om. By the time the other lords were almost done killing each other, he would have made it into the finals. At least, that was his plan. However, he had been discovered. Lord Bevan cursed. The red-eyed black dragon beside him snorted coldly. He was spirited for a fight. Light Mage, said the red-eyed black dragon. Come then. Let's continue with the old feud between the light and the dark. But the Light Mage did something unexpected. She waved her hand and clarified. Don't misunderstand. I am not here to fight. Instead, I want to offer an alliance. An alliance. Lord Bevan thought he was better off alone. He didn't know about the long-lasting feud between the light-type and dark-type heroes. Therefore, he wasn't as shocked as he should have been. Red-eyed black dragon was stunned. His first thought was that this Light Mage was bluffing. The enmity between the light types and dark types spanned centuries. They could never ally with each other. When the two creatures faced each other, it was even difficult to restrain themselves from fighting on the spot. Alliance? That's impossible, said the red-eyed black dragon. The Light Mage explained, it's true. Believe me, I am also as baffled as you. I never imagined there would come a time when we would work together. But, the enemy we encountered this time is too powerful. The Light Mage told them everything about Suwon and her hero, who had managed to defeat the lords till now. She told them about the other 2 lords who had joined her side. The red-eyed black dragon fell silent. He hadn't expected that there would be someone so powerful in the competition. Our current plan is to join forces with the remaining lords. The 6 of us can unite to defeat the 3 lords. After that, the final champion will emerge from among these 6 lords. The Light Mage told Lord Bevan that if he agreed to this alliance, he only had to appear on the top of the snow mountain when the sun rose. Then, the Light Mage turned into a beam of light and disappeared. Only Lord Bevan and his hero, the red-eyed black dragon, were left now. Blackie, what do you think we should do? Asked Lord Bevan. The red-eyed black dragon was deep in thought. The light types are all hypocrites. You can't believe anything they say. The red-eyed black dragon believed that the enemy was too powerful, and they wanted to join forces. However, he also knew how the light types were. I am sure the light types will try to use the alliance to their advantage. If we join them, they might stab us in the back right when we fight the enemy. Lord Bevan nodded in agreement. Blackie, your guess might be correct. The rest are all scum, they will stab us in the back. Lord Bevan was sure that the others would use him and his hero to get rid of Yuan and the other lords, and then they would stab him in the back. However, I don't think we have a choice, said Lord Bevan. If we refuse their offer of alliance, then they will come after us first after they join forces with the other lords. He wanted the other lords to fight among themselves. However, he knew that the other lords weren't stupid. The 3 light-type heroes and their lords had already banded together. The other lords wouldn't take the risk. After all of them joined forces, they would seek out those without a side to eliminate first. If Bevan was in charge, he would have done the same. The ones who remained neutral couldn't be trusted. Who knew if they would take advantage of the battle and join the winning side at the last moment? Even if we join them, we have to make sure we don't reveal our trump cards, said Lord Bevan. It's 6 against 3, after all. We just need to fight a little. Reserve your strength and wait for the final showdown after the enemy is killed, said Lord Bevan to his hero. He believed that the 6 against 3 was an easy win. The 3 lords would definitely suffer a crushing defeat. The outcome of the battle was already decided. Hence, Lord Bevan thought he could contribute to eliminating the 3 lords without much effort. The red-eyed black dragon nodded. But we don't know anything about the enemy. After some serious consideration, the red-eyed black dragon felt that it was inappropriate to agree to an alliance with the light mage so soon. At the very least, he wanted to investigate further and find out about the enemy before making a decision. What if the 3 enemies only have a grudge against the light types? Asked the red-eyed black dragon. What if they leave us alone if we remain neutral? The red-eyed black dragon considered the possibility that the 3 enemy lords just might be seeking to eliminate the light types and not the whole contestants. If that was the case, Lord Bevan just needed to hide and wait for the outcome. They could even reap the benefits from the spoils. However, if they agreed to this alliance, they would be dragged into a bloody war. Blackie, what you say makes sense too, said Lord Bevan. Let's do this. Let's go and check on the enemy. Lord Bevan decided to listen to his hero, and they both decided to gather more information about the enemy. That way, they could make a more informed decision on which side to choose. 149 Act as our spy. For now, there were no lords fighting among themselves in the arena. However, everyone could feel that this was the calm that came before the main storm. As for Yuan's team, everyone discussed which lord they should attack first. Suddenly, the fallen angel became vigilant. Who is it? The fallen angel waved his hand and countless shadows appeared in the sky. The dark enchanter had also sensed something. She looked in the direction where the fallen angel had deployed his shadows. This aura. Red-eyed black dragon. After a while, a giant dragon encased in black flames appeared in the sky. It was indeed the red-eyed black dragon. The red-eyed black dragon had used a special black flame clone to investigate. The red-eyed black dragon had been very curious about the enemy before this. He couldn't understand what kind of enemy could make light types and dark types cooperate even temporarily. Now that he knew who the enemies were, the red-eyed black dragon felt relieved. It's just the fallen angel, Lufacai, and the daughter of the legendary dark magician Marshall, the dark enchanter, Eve. Both the fallen angel and the dark enchanter were too powerful, especially the dark enchanter. If she went all out, she could defeat 3 heroes at once. The dark enchanter had allied with the fallen angel. It would be very difficult to take them down if they were working together. The red-eyed black dragon was shocked when he saw them. The white dragon saint flew into the air and roared. Red Eyes, what is this? What about it? He asked. Have you forgotten me? The white dragon emissary saw the red-eyed black dragon gazing in admiration toward the dark enchanter and the fallen angel, but he did not seem to notice him. Hence, the white dragon saint was dissatisfied. Although the white dragon saint wasn't affiliated with anyone as their hero, he was still a force to be reckoned with. Is the red-eyed black dragon blind? Or did he ignore me intentionally? Thought that white dragon saint. n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. The red-eyed black dragon only noticed the presence of the white dragon saint when he questioned him. You are with them too? It is no wonder they are joining forces to deal with you all, said the red-eyed black dragon. The red-eyed black dragon was getting a headache. The white dragon saint and the fallen angel weren't as strong as the dark enchanter, but they were still very powerful. It would be difficult to defeat these 3 heroes, especially if they were working together. Even with a 6-on-1 scenario, it was difficult to guess who would win. The white dragon saint and the red-eyed black dragon were on good terms. They had met many times and they had a good relationship. Join forces to deal with us, said the white dragon saint. He perked up at the news. The white dragon saint thought that this was his chance to show off. The dark enchanter, Eve, had taken away his chance when she snatched the territory core from under his nose. If he could obtain critical information from the red-eyed black dragon, it could still be counted as an important contribution. The white dragon saint had an advantage. He and the red-eyed black dragon were practically friends. Red Eyes, what do you mean? Who has joined forces to deal with us? Asked the white dragon saint. The red-eyed black dragon hesitated. He was still in a dilemma. He and the white dragon saint were competitors, after all. The red-eyed black dragon felt that he should first consider his own lord's interest before doing anything. The White Dragon Saint saw him hesitating. Seeing that the red-eyed black dragon was not going to respond to his questions, the White Dragon Saint quickly mentioned Su Yuan without giving the fallen angel and the dark enchanter a chance to show off. Red Eyes, you should answer the question honestly, especially since His Majesty, the Dark Demon Dragon, is here, said the White Dragon Saint. Do you really want to go against His Majesty's will? The White Dragon Saint said this in one breath. He felt different. It was so good to have a backer. As for the red-eyed black dragon, he was stunned at the White Dragon Saint's words. Dark Demon Dragon? Since when did the Dragon Clan have a new king? The red-eyed black dragon recalled the recent events in the hero plane. The Dark Demon Dragon. He remembered everything that had happened in the hero plane. His intentions hadn't been to fight for the lords in the Overlord plane. He had descended to the Overlord plane because he had wanted to follow the Dark Demon Dragon. The White Dragon Saint flew to Su Yuan's side. Hurry and greet His Majesty, said the White Dragon Saint. The red-eyed black dragon looked at Su Yuan. Su Yuan had reversed the changes in his body, so he looked very ordinary. However, the red-eyed black dragon had seen the Dark Demon Dragon before. He was familiar with his aura. He recognized Su Yuan at a glance. Your Majesty, said the red-eyed black dragon. It's an honor to finally get to see you. Su Yuan yawned lazily. I remember you from the upper realm. The red-eyed black dragon was speechless. He had talked with the Dark Demon Dragon momentarily in the hero plane. He didn't expect Su Yuan to remember him. It's my greatest honor to be remembered by you, Your Majesty. By this time, the red-eyed black dragon had brushed aside his concerns for his lord and the need to gather information on the three lords. I apologize that I am using a flame clone to meet you, Your Majesty, said the red-eyed black dragon. It is rude of me to meet you like this. I will come and meet you personally. The red-eyed black dragon couldn't wait to meet Su Yuan physically. As for concerns for his lord, he had forgotten all about it. He had intended to gather information for Lord Bevan and cause some trouble, but now, he abandoned his plans. No need, said Su Yuan. If you come here with your real body, you will be suspected. Yuan took this opportunity to spin her own web. What my hero means is that, if you come here with your real body, others might get suspicious of you, so you can't act as our spy. You can go back and report to us on every move the enemy lords make. Yuan was too lazy to explain everything. But ever since the Dark Enchanter had joined them, she had been looking for a chance to show off. She emphasized the word my hero whenever she referred to Su Yuan. 150 The Anti-Yuan Alliance gathered at the top of the snow mountain. Yuan emphasized that Su Yuan was her hero. The White Dragon Saint noticed that Yuan had been doing it more often than before. However, he was used to it. He had seen Yuan become very close to Su Yuan, so he didn't think much of it. However, others were familiar with it, especially the Dark Enchanter. When she saw Su Yuan refer to Su Yuan repeatedly as my hero as though she owned him, the Dark Enchanter, Eve was angry. She glared at Yuan. Don't be so rude to His Majesty. The Dark Enchanter couldn't accept the fact that a simple human overlord declared such ownership upon the Dark Demon Dragon. Yuan wasn't willing to back down, so she glared right back at the Dark Enchanter. The atmosphere was tense. The fallen angel and the White Dragon Saint exchanged glances with each other. They were gloating. They were happy to see the Dark Enchanter and Yuan fight. Both of them were someone they couldn't afford to offend. So, it was good to see those two fighting among themselves. The atmosphere was so tense that a fight could erupt at any time. The red-eyed black dragon took a stand and interrupted the scene. His flame clone bowed respectfully to Su Yuan. Your Majesty, should I pretend to ally with the light types and steal information for you? The red-eyed black dragon had planned to come back and hang around Su Yuan, but from Su Yuan's implication and Yuan's suggestion, it seemed he could fulfill another function. Su Yuan nodded, acknowledging Yuan's plan. The White Dragon Saint flew to the red-eyed black dragon. Red Eyes, tell us when you get to know about the enemy. Ever since the White Dragon Saint's intention of making a good impression on Su Yuan had been thwarted by the Dark Enchanter, he remained vigilant. Whenever there was a chance to show off, he grabbed at it. Originally, the red-eyed black dragon had intended to take away his clone completely without leaving a trace for fear of being discovered by the light-type heroes. However, his plans had drastically changed. He retracted everything except a wisp of black flame at the scene. The wisp of flame spoke. The one who met me and my lord was the Light Mage. The plan against you was initiated by the three light-type heroes, namely, the Light Mage, Starlight Swordsman, and the Rainbow Pegasus. The black flame flickered as though it would extinguish at any moment. The red-eyed black dragon was very cautious. He made sure to leave behind the smallest wisp of black flame because he didn't want to be discovered by the light types. 3 light types, muttered the White Dragon Saint. This is fascinating. It seems to be like the light types are using us as an excuse to fool you. They are trying to lure the lords who want to remain neutral in this fight. The war between light types and dark types had raged on since the beginning of time. However, there were still many heroes who refused to join either side and remained neutral. The White Dragon Saint was now certain that the 3 lords joining forces against them had light-type heroes. As for the other 3 remaining lords, one of them was Lord Bevan with dark-type hero the Red-Eyed Black Dragon. There was no information about the other 2 lords, yet. If the other 2 lords had heroes who neither belonged to the light nor the dark, then it would be difficult to recruit them to the cause. They would definitely refuse if the light mage invited them to fight the dark types. So, she had used an excuse of getting rid of a common enemy to lure them into joining the three lords. The light types were tricking other heroes and lords to join them in the fight. After the red-eyed black dragon left Su Yuan and Sowan's area, he materialized into his real body near a gorge. I investigated the enemy, he said. Let's go to the top of the snow mountain to meet other lords. We must unite and eliminate the enemy. The red-eyed black dragon had a plan in mind. He didn't tell his lord the truth and kept it a secret for now. Lord Bevan didn't know anything about what had come to pass. He believed his hero when he said the enemy was strong, and they needed to ally with the other lords. What's wrong? Are the enemies too strong? Asked Lord Bevan. Lord Bevan was curious to know more about the enemies. The red-eyed black dragon looked solemn. Yes, they are very powerful. If the six of us don't work together, we have no chance of defeating them. Lord Bevan sucked in a long breath. He only now realized how serious the matter was. If his hero was reacting like this, then Yuan must be unimaginably powerful. Blackie, let's go, he said. We must meet up with the other lords before Yuan and the others can kill us by surprise. Lord Bevan hurriedly followed the red-eyed black dragon to the peak of the snow mountain. The lords who wanted to ally would gather there. Seeing the anxiety on his lord's face, the red-eyed black dragon was very satisfied. There was a reason why he did not tell his lord the truth. He knew that his lord might not be able to pretend to be scared if he knew the truth. If his plan was exposed, it would ruin the dark demon dragon's plan. Therefore, the red-eyed black dragon decided to hide everything from his lord. He would only reveal the truth at the last moment. On the way to the peak of the snow mountain, Lord Bevan met the two other lords. The six of them had formed an alliance. The three lords with light heroes were already waiting for everyone at the top of the snow mountain. As for the remaining three lords, they met on their way to the top. One of the lords had a nature hero, the Thorn Fairy. The Thorn Fairy had long, fiery red hair, and her entire body was covered in mysterious patterns. She had a beautiful figure, but her hands and hair were covered with all kinds of thorny vines. She looked like a poisonous rose, beautiful and captivating, but with the ability to kill. The other lord's hero was a nine-headed snake, a hydra, n/o/vel/b/in.c/om.